He found you running a booth in a precinct. He assumed you were dead broke and hadn't eaten. He gave you his last $100. To repay him, you offer a reading. No one thought it'd solve that old drug case. The killer was their own inside man. But just as you were about to reveal the truth, he cut you off cold.
Whether it's a scam or not, you've picked the wrong spot. Obstruction of justice. I continue.
He expected you to take the hint and back off. But your next words stopped him dead in his tracks. I've got a lead. Zhao, he paused mid-step at that. Then he narrowed his eyes.
What kind of lead?
Didn't see that coming. Zhao, he laughed dryly.
You're in the round. Get out of here. Now.
But the words had barely left his mouth when a black Audi screeched to a halt by the precinct steps. A woman came stumbling out, frantic.
Officer, is there any news? My little girl, have you found my little girl?
The hard edge on Zhao Yi's face vanished in an instant. He strode forward quickly and helped the woman to her feet.
Mrs. Lee, get up. We're checking the cameras. The whole secondary unit is out in the field. You'll be notified the second we have anything.
Those words only made the husband standing nearby more agitated.
You people said this was the golden 48 hours. The clock's almost up and you still have absolutely nothing?
Zhao, he fell into a heavy silence at that. There really wasn't anything. It's like the girl vanished into thin air. The cameras only caught her getting into a van with stolen plates. Before it disappeared straight into his handset zone. And just as Zhao, he was about to explain further, the woman grew even more frantic. She grabbed Zhao Yi by the sleeve.
Please, you have to save Min Min. She's only 7.
Her sharp, piercing cries echoed across the empty precinct entrance. Zhao Yi stood there, momentarily at a loss. Right at that moment, a jarring voice cut through, completely out of place. Want the kid? Draw a card. All froze. Zhao immediately wheeled on you and roared.
Shut your mouth. It's past the point for causing trouble.
He didn't notice Li Guoqiang frozen stiff. He saw your sign, specializing in homicide. When people are desperate, even a single straw, they'll clutch onto it for dear life. So Li Guoqiang shoved Zhao Yi's hand away. He staggered right up to you.
You can pinpoint my daughter? Old Li's a damn fraud.
Zhao Yi rushed after him, trying to pull him back. Li Guoqiang threw him off with a violent jerk.
Back off. You can't find her, so are you going to stop me from trying? How much? Just name your price. I'll pay anything.
Left hand cuts the deck. Draw 1. Zhao Yi stood off to the side. His hand rested on his holster. His face was stone hard. If the charlatan dared call the kid dead, or tried any extortion, he'd have the cuffs on right there. Li Guoqiang reached out with a trembling left hand. His fingers hovered over the stack for a split second. Then he pulled from the middle. The card was flipped. There was 3 of swords reversed. 3 blades piercing a heart, but in your eyes. The image on the card began to warp and restructure. Next second, the system status report flashed directly onto your retina. 3 of swords reversed. Active distress is degrading. Indicates suppressed cries for help. Non-mortality signal. Parsing environmental signatures. Damp metal percussion. Volatile chemical odor. You got it. Delivered the crucial intel. She's still alive. The moment those 4 words hit the air, the woman stopped crying instantly. She scrambled over, practically crawling. Li Guoqiang's body went limp with relief. He almost collapsed to his knees, but Zhao Yi just clenched his jaw, eyes burning into you.
Where?
You watched the card, voice dead calm. North end of the city. Near the water. Wide open area. You'd hear bells ringing. The words landed. Zhao Yi's brow jumped involuntarily. North. Water. Bells. That's the abandoned old shipyard district. There's an old colonial-era clock tower there. It still tolls on the hour. You kept going. And the person who took her, you know them. He has a strong odor of paint on him. Not fresh paint. It's soaked into his skin. Years of exposure. Think. Who fits that? The words sucked the air right out of space. Li Guoqiang's mouth fell open. His pupils contracted wildly. A few seconds passed. He forced a name from his throat. Old Lou. The woman beside him caught on immediately. She shrieked. The construction foreman.
We had a fight over wages. He made threats. He came Tuesday. Smelled just like that.
Zhao Yi's face went pale. He snatched out his phone and called second unit.
Trace that construction foreman, Lu Jianmin. Get a location on him right now.
Zhao, he was already moving as he talked, charging towards the cruiser at the curb. The Li Guoqiang sprinted after him like they'd lost their minds. Sirens split the air. The cruisers roared out of the gate and vanished into traffic. Everyone else was losing it. You just calmly slipped that 3 of swords back into the deck and reshuffled. Valid readings remaining. 1 out of 3. 40 minutes later, 3 cruisers screamed back into the compound. 2 detectives hauled a man out. He was wearing work coveralls, splattered with color paint stains, hands cuffed behind his back, head hanging low. The Li Guoqiangs had their arms around. A small girl wrapped in a blanket, sobbing uncontrollably. 2 female officers guided them onto an ambulance. The kid was safe, found in a basement down at that abandoned dock. Back at the major crimes building, Zhao, he didn't join them in the box. He walked straight up to you, voice raw. We got him. Right where you said he'd be. You barely looked up. That's your win. I just read the cards. Zhao, he crouched down, leveling his eyes with yours.
Cut the crap. You knew it was a kidnapping. Withholding evidence, or acquiring information through illegal means, still a crime.
I didn't withhold anything. I spoke up the second they walked in. Zhao, he locked his eyes onto yours. But those eyes were too calm. Still water. Dead water. Even staring down at Detective Lieutenant. Your pulse probably didn't even spike. Who the hell are you? You laughed dryly and pointed at the wooden horse nearby. Haven't been paid for that reading yet. Keep it. Call it karma. Zhao let an angry, incredulous laugh and started to speak. Next second, a white SUV pulled up to the curb. The door swung open. A young woman in a lab coat strode over fast, a yellow manila envelope in her hand.
Linwan, Chief Medical Examiner, Forensics Division.
Lieutenant Zhao, the river DNA results are back. No match in the database.
Zhao, he straightened up, rubbing the bridge of his nose.
Nothing again. So all those males. You filtered for the missing person's fingerprints?
Linwan handed him the file.
Not male. Robust bones, high density. The pelvis was fragmented, but it trends male. Yet every missing male has been ruled out.
Zhao, he took the folder. Feeling the headache, started to drill back in.
This case went cold for 2 weeks. A single torso. No head. No limbs.
You sit off to the side, your eyes falling on that evidence file. The system panel flickers to life again. A red reticle locks onto the file. You laugh dryly. A second client appears. It's not a man, you say abruptly. Lin Wan stops dead in her tracks. She glances at the fortune teller on the ground. Zhao Yi just furrows his brow.
And what do you know?
You point a finger at the bag in Lin Wan's hand. A female body. Your lead's wrong. That's why you can't find her. The words hit Lin Wan like a physical blow, freezing her in place. Sheer flashes across face.
Sir, the scientific identification. The transverse diameter of the third lumbar vertebra and the pelvic. Fragment angle both conform to male characteristics.
You just love gold. Attach smile.
And your next words will make him freeze on the spot. Sit. You point at Lin Wan, right in front of you. Draw a card. I'll tell you why. Zhao Yi's just about to lose his temper, but Lin Wan waves him off. Intrigued, she lowers herself to sit down. All right. Lin Wan looks you square in the eye. I, too, am curious to see if metaphysics can beat anatomy. She casually pulls a card and tosses it. The Empress. Upright, but within the system's field of vision. The scepter in the Empress's hand is shattered. A black mass nests in her abdomen. An Empress upright variant. A facade of abundance. Biophysiological analysis. Long-term androgen ingestion. Secondary skeletal masculinization. Reproductive system atrophy. You eye the card. Voice ice cold. She was an athlete. A thrower. Hearing this, Lin Wan's expression shifts. Long-term anabolic steroid use, you continue, led to pronounced skeletal masculinization, which is why the data you collected reads as male. Lin Wan's mind races, searching her memory banks. This scenario does exist in forensic medicine, technically, but it's exceptionally rare in actual casework. Also, your finger taps the card's surface. The Empress is the mother. She miscarried right before death, or had just given birth. Impossible, Lin Wan blurts out. The uterus is missing. How can you possibly tell? The pubic symphysis. Check its dorsal aspect. Old pitting there indicates childbirth injuries. Fresh tearing. You pause. That's a miscarriage. Hearing jargon like that coming from the mouth of a street psychic. Something was deeply off. Lin Wan's expression hardened. She stood up, grabbing the case file. Lieutenant Zhao, I need to re-examine. You believe him? Zhao Yi jabbed a finger at you. This punk's been running his mouth. I didn't do a cross-section on the pubic symphysis, because the default assumption was male. Lin Wan spoke rapidly. True or not, that's a blind spot. If the victim was a female athlete, we can narrow the search parameters by several hundred times. Lin Wan turned and sprinted inside. Zhao, he stood his ground, watching Lin Wan's back before looking down at you. If you're wrong, Zhao, he ground his teeth. You're not going anywhere tonight. You said nothing. You simply drew the Empress card back into your deck. Ding. Valid readings. 2 of 3. You glanced at your phone. 20 minutes left. 1 to go. Suddenly, you called out to Zhao Yi. Lieutenant Zhao. Zhao Yi's face was a question mark. What now? Last readings on the house. You spread the cards. In a fan across the table. Let's unpack that knot in your chest. Zhao Yi stopped dead. His back stiffened. I don't have one. Everyone does. Your hands never stop shuffling. Especially cops. Zhao Yi ignored you, turning to walk into the building. He didn't need a fortune. He needed evidence. You didn't press it. You just sat there. Time ticked away, second by second. 0:50. Right then, a window on the 3rd floor of the homicide building was shoved open. Lin Wan leaned out, shouting down into the courtyard. Her voice was shaking. The lieutenant was right. There's evidence of trauma on the pubic symphysis. Tests show steroid traces. She spoke loudly. Zhao Yi, who had just reached the entrance, stopped abruptly. He looked up at the 3rd floor. It's really a woman? Lin Wan yelled back. A woman. I checked missing sports academy students. A shot putter's been missing for 3 months. Lieutenant Zhao, we got the right direction. In that moment, Zhao Yi's hand trembled slightly. He pulled out a cigarette, but couldn't light it. 2 cases. 1 kidnapping, 1 dismemberment. And this punk running a stall out front had nailed them all. Zhao Yi hurled the lighter to the ground, spun around. He stared, but you checked your watch. 5 minutes. You looked at Zhao Yi. Well, Zhao Yi took a deep breath and started walking towards you. But just then, a screech of tires echoed. From the intersection at the end of the street, a silver sedan lost control and slammed into the barrier at high speed. The sickening crunch of the impact. The pavement shook as the car flipped and skidded on its side. It finally smashed into a stone pillar at the Detective Bureau's entrance. The mangled front end belched thick smoke. Get them out. Zhao Yi reacted instantly, a federal shout tearing his throat. As he sprinted towards the crash, Xiao Zhang, stationed at the gate booth, burst out as well, a fire extinguisher in hand. You, however, stayed on a camp stool. Watching Xiao Zhang, you recalled a reading from half an hour ago. That crimson aura on his face signaled imminent bloodshed. Stay away from the left. You shot up, screaming with all your might. The tank's on the left. It's gonna blow. Your voice was a raw scrape, swallowed by the howling wind and the first wail of distant sirens. Zhao Yi heard you, but he was too far away. Xiao Zhang did, blinded by the imperative to save lives. He charged straight for the driver's side. The left side. Zhao Yi's command was immediate, a roar. Xiao Zhang, fall back. Too late. Xiao Zhang's hands had just reached for the warp door, when fire belched from the chassis. A shockwave of shrapnel and flame erupted. Xiao Zhang was hurled backward, crashing hard into a landscape divider 5 meters away. An agonized scream cut through. Xiao Zhang clutched his left leg. Blood gushing as flames painted the sky a hellish orange. Zhao Yi charged in, dragging Xiao Zhang back by his vest. Officers swarmed the wreck, emptying extinguishers on the flames. 5 minutes later, the fire was out. The ambulance hauled Xiao Zhang and the driver away. Xiao Zhang's left tibia was fractured, plus a deep laceration from the shrapnel. His face smeared soot and ash. Zhao Yi stood by the ruined flower bed, gasping, and turned to you. You'd already sat back down on your camp stool. 0:58. Zhao Yi walked over, his steps heavy with a new gravity. The look in his eyes no longer profiled you as a fraud, or a suspect. The look reserved for an unexplainable anomaly. How did you know? Zhao Yi's voice trembled. I said watch your left leg. You spread the cards. And 1 minute, still. Detective Lieutenant Zhao. Zhao Yi didn't hesitate this time. He dropped heavily to the ground. The state of his dress, slacks, utterly irrelevant now. He extended a hand, still black with grime and slick with oil, and pulled a card. He flipped it over. Justice reversed. The image. The goddess's scales tipped, her sword pointing downward. You stared at the card, your pupils constricting slightly. The system's analysis was even more staggering than you'd anticipated. Justice reversed. The perversion of law. Internal corruption. Critical intel. The gun. It shored a single round. You lifted your head and met Zhao Yi's gaze. Detective Zhao, I made your case 3 years ago. Your informant died. The moment those words left your mouth, Zhao Yi's body went rigid. A scar pulled taut. And a top secret file within the department. You always thought the cartel found him out. Your voice was quiet, meant only for the 2 of them. But the cards indicate otherwise. Zhao, he stared at you, his eyes a roadmap of fresh blood vessels. What are you implying? You pointed to the building behind Zhao Yi. Most lights were out. The leak. The man who pulled the trigger. He's inside this building. Right here. You look at Zhao Yi, each word a hammer blow, and he's standing right next to you. His sidearm is still missing that one round. Hearing this, Zhao, you felt a chill shoot up from his heels to the base of his skull. The ambient noise of the wind seemed to just die out, leaving only your hair-raising diagnosis hanging in the air. Right then, a system prompt echoed in your mind. Ding. Valid calculation limit. 3/3. Mission complete. Calculating reward. You ignored the system's chime. He slipped the cards back. You then swiftly folded the tablecloth and collapsed the small table. You packed fast, exiting smooth. Shifts over, Lieutenant Zhao. With that, you turned and melted into the deep night. Zhao, you remained on the ground, frozen in that position, unmoving, until the cigarette ash burned his fingertip. He jolted back to his senses and looked back at the brightly lit police headquarters. The building that once made him feel utterly safe and sacred, now loomed menacingly in the darkness. Like a gaping, ravenous maw, Zhao Yi shuddered, walking steady. Control just vanished. Your head swam, your lungs constricted, fighting for air. You swayed, grabbing a lamppost for support. He coughed blood metallic. Ding. Host assisted in solving a major serial case. Perfect rating. Reward pending. Malignant cellular activity in the brain reduced by 8%. Remaining life expectancy increased by 60 days. Bonus reward, 2 million renminbi in cash. You pulled out your phone, the screen lighting up, the brightness searing your tired eyes. A bank notification slid into view. Current balance, 3 million yuan. 3 million. Bitter smile. When your stomach seized, you clutched the lamppost. Just bile. No point earning it if you don't live to spend it. You straighten up, wiping the corner of your mouth. But instead of heading to a hospital, you cut through 2 back alleys. You enter a rundown building, a room barely 100 square feet. Nothing but a bed, a flimsy wardrobe, and a table with a broken leg. You toss your bag on the bed and collapse right after. Next morning, Municipal Oncology Center, Specialist Outpatient Wing, attending psychiatrist Ling Guoxiang. MRI scan in his left. New scan, right out of the machine. In his right hand, last month's scan. His brow furrows tight. He turns to the intern. Something's wrong with the machine. Was the 3.0T MRI calibrated this morning? The intern replies, Sir, I calibrated it first thing today. It was working fine for Director Zhang's checkup just before this. Ling Guoxiang raises the scan again, holding it up against the light box. You sit across from him. Your frame is still gaunt, clothes hanging loose on you. But that air of desperation is gone. Director Liu, you say, popping a peel cherry into your mouth. Swallowing the pit whole. How long do I have? Ling Guoxiang points at the white shadow on the film. The tumor margins are showing signs of calcification, and the mass has contracted. Slightly, but it's there. This defies all pathology. A month ago, your scan, the glioblastoma was deep-rooted, spreading like ivy, pressing on the optic nerve and motor cortex. Back then, Ling Guoxiang gave you 3 months max. But now that invasive growth has been forcibly arrested, it's even retreating. What have you been taking? Ling Guoxiang leans forward, inching closer. Some folk remedy from a back alley quack? Or did you buy targeted therapy drugs online? He dreads patients self-medicating, yet he's drawn, against logic, to a miracle. You pull a tissue out, wiping your hands. No folk remedies. A better mood, meddled, made some money. Ling Guoxiang looks like you swallowed a portal. If good moods cured cancer, why would we need doctors? You ask bluntly. So is it misdiagnosis? Ling Guoxiang shoots you a hard look. Turns to the intern. Get old Zhang from imaging in here. Tell him to bring the raw DICOM data. 10 minutes later, the exam room is packed. Head of imaging, deputy chief of neurosurgery, and 3 rubbernecking residents. Murmurs and sharp breaths ripple through the room. It's definitely smaller. The margin clarity looks post-radiosurgery, but he hasn't had any. Could be an autoimmune storm. The intern who swore you wouldn't last 3 months. The one who privately advised pulling the plug. Just go home. Get your affairs in order. He's in the corner now, subconsciously backpedaling half a step, putting distance between you. You sit at the edge of the crowd, listening to them argue in jargon you can't decipher. You don't care about their mechanistic explanations. The system's reward is empirical, tangible. The piercing ache behind your eyes, felt. The tremors in your hands, gone. That's sufficient data. Enough. You rise. You cut through the specialist symposium. Dr. Liu, write the prescription. Still breathing. Still treating. Ling Guoxiang refocuses. He stares, then, treatment. Yes. Of course. At this trajectory, with strict management, living with the tumor, a year isn't off the table. Ling Guoxiang's fingers strike the keyboard. Same protocol as before. Max out the temozolomide. Best available. You place a black card on the desk. Import limits, cost, I don't care. Mild side effects, maximum analgesia, top shelf, all of it. Ling Guoxiang's hand freezes mid-keystroke. He remembers you, the kid who haggled over a few hundred, hesitating over the cost of a diagnostic panel, settling for the cheapest generics in the end. Ling Guoxiang clears his throat. This is significantly cost prohibitive. Your response? I'll drop $500,000 at the cashier on my way down. Upgrade me to a private room. Chemo sessions require filtration and humidification. Specifically, the consultation room flatlines into silence. The intern sneaks a glance at the black card on the desk. Swallows hard. The nurse who took your vitals earlier? Pity's gone. Ling Guoxiang didn't bother asking where the money came from. The doctor's job is to treat. Since the means are there, use bevacizumab, combine it with tumor-treating fields therapy. After ordering, you left the inpatient building. Passing a 5-star hotel next to the hospital, you stopped and went inside. 2 live streamers were broadcasting in lobby. Guys, fresh intel. Completely verified. Our tech forensics guys ran a comparison. The tarot master stationed outside the police headquarters. The build, the voice, even that canvas bag, matches the so-called fortune teller who destroyed. Those scammers at the civil affairs, same person. You pause mid-bite. The crab meat suddenly tasteless. Next table's woman gasped on camera. This master can not only expose scumbags, but also solve crimes. That's insane versatility. The phone video continued its report. The whole net is hunting this master. Chairman Wong raised the bounty to $1 million. 1 reading. Case file sealed, though. An inside source confirms they closed a major case that night. Guys, whoever gets a clear, front-facing photo of the master is set for life. Hearing this, you lowered your head and quickly stuffed the salmon from your plate into your mouth. The seafood here is fresh, with a hint of sweetness, but you had no appetite left. You don't want to be an influencer, and certainly not a circus freak. The system status report has temporal and spatial limitations. Leaving the operation zone, you're just an ordinary terminal patient. If cornered and unable to produce a reading on demand, That's total ruin. You might even get torn apart by desperate believers. Moving. You swallowed the last bite of steak and wiped your mouth. Need tight security. You stood, trying to be small, and walked swiftly out of the restaurant. Before long, downtown, the sales office of Summit One. You sit on the sofa, clearly uneasy. It's not the money, it's the lights, too bright. Chemo makes your eyes sting under these lights. Across from you, Xiao Wang waves a laser pointer over the scale model, talking himself hoarse. Wang's losing confidence. This client is weird, pale as a ghost, and hasn't said a single word. If not for that 7-figure balance during the background check, he'd have called security already. Look here. Wang points. Penthouse, best river view. 300 SQM. Flat, facing north-south. Perfect feng shui. You rule the city from here. A true status symbol. You just feel a wave of vertigo. Then you speak slowly, too high. Take me up there. I need to see it. 10 minutes later, they stood inside the showroom on the 40th floor. He yanked the curtains open. Sunlight flooded in. It ricocheted off the glass curtain wall of the opposite building. Light hit the floor. You groaned, stifling it. You shielded your eyes. Your tumor throbbed with the light. Look at this light and view. He shouted. Catch sunrise every morning. Shut it, you hissed. Close the curtains. He didn't quite catch on, but hit the remote anyway. Curtains light shut. Light dimmed. Your wire-top body finally relaxed. But then, another sound reached you. A low-frequency howl, inaudible to most. Chemo sharpened your hearing. High wind shear. Air squeezed between towers, vibrating glass. It drilled straight into your brain. Too loud. You pressed your temples. Loud? Mr. Jiang, this is triple-pane acoustic glass. German import. You can't even hear thunder outside. You raised a hand, pointing a corner of the office tower opposite. You were simply observing the physics. That reflection hits the master bedroom dead on. The wind sound is from the airstream hitting the sharp angle. But to the agent, your gesture was something else entirely. Dressed in black, sunglasses on, face drained of all color. Pointing out the window, talking about things he couldn't perceive. A chill crept up the back of his neck. You were battling a headache. You forced out, glares too harsh, wind shrill. But filtered through his ears, the meaning warped completely. The color drained from the agent's face. He recalled a previous client who'd backed out. He complained of night noises, voice shaking. Master, you're kidding. Did they open this unit? You couldn't spare the energy to explain. It was too exhausting. You turned and headed for the exit. Something else. Lower floor. Quiet. Away from that corner sight line. Scurried after you. He stared at your retreating figure. No longer just an eccentric rich guy. You'd become an impenetrable mystic. Half an hour later, you were both standing in building 3 on the 5th floor. This unit backed onto the complex's central park. Camphor trees framed the window. Their shade filtered the sun and cut out the noise completely. Inside, the pounding in your head subsided. Quiet. Shaded. Comfortable. This one you exhaled. The paperwork was processed fast. The unit came fully renovated. Furnished and applianced. You didn't buy. Just leased it for a year. You didn't know if you'd live to see next year. Buying would just be a hassle. By evening, the movers arrived. This wasn't moving. It was a purge. You had the crew clear out the moldy mattresses and the broken-legged table from the basement. You kept only one box, a few changes of clothes, nothing more. A canvas bag and a folding stool from the Civil Affairs Bureau and the police station. You sank into the sofa, the cushion swallowing you as tree shadows swayed outside. No more decay stench. No more drunk neighbors screaming. No more worrying about the basement flooding. You close your eyes. This is the cure. But the silence didn't last. As you drifted off, static crackled inside your skull. You opened your eyes and sighed. Couldn't even get a hot meal in. Before the next shift starts. New task. Designated location. Spring Vine International Bilingual Kindergarten. Main gate. Time. 16 to 1700 hours. Method. Osteomancy and graphology. Domain. Future prospects. Innate talent. Objective. 3 clients. Accurate readings. First the Civil Affairs Bureau, then the Major Crimes Unit. Places tied to weddings, funerals, life, and death. Now to kindergarten. You picture kids chasing each other, screaming for someone to feed them. Osteomancy and graphology. Reading the fortunes of kids who can barely write their names. Prospect for what? You muttered. Playground boss. Spring Vine International Bilingual Kindergarten. You knew the name. The city's most elite preschool. 30 grand a year. Anyone sending a kid there has serious pull. These parents aren't like the civil affairs couples. Easily spooked by smooth lines. Not like the desperate families at the station. Grasping straws, ready to believe anything. These are people who value their children above their own lives. Setting up a bone reading stall there, you'd be lucky if security doesn't drag you off as a kidnapper. You glanced at the little stool beside the sofa. They're really raising the stakes, you thought. No choice. Counting the reward you just earned. You have less than 4 months left. Skip a task. And the malignant cells won't wait. You walk to the window. The city lights outside had blurred into a sea of neon. Fine, you murmured, running a hand through your hair. Tomorrow, I go meet the little overlords. You turned around, found a pen and paper from the canvas bag. If it's graphology, you have to look the part. And you need a name for the stall. Write fortune teller, and security shows up before clients. You thought for a moment, then put pen to paper and wrote 4 words. Classical enlightenment. Beside it, you added a smaller line. Identifying hidden genius, interpreting inked potential. You set the pen down, staring at the paper. A different sales pitch is all it takes. Fortune telling becomes high-end aptitude assessment. You finished the last character. Folded the red paper you bought for 50 cents at the print shop. 30 minutes until the operation window opens. Location, Spring Vine Kindergarten. Grab your canvas tote. Tuck that low stool under your arm and head out. Spring Vine International Bilingual Kindergarten. Edge of the elite district. Almost dismissal time. The 4-lane road out front is in total gridlock. Mostly luxury cars. The spirit of ecstasy on a Rolls Royce. Flashes silver in the sun. A few Bentley Mulsans parked in a row. Through the tinted windows, you can see white glove chauffeurs sitting rigid and alert. A couple of nanny vans with dual plates are waiting. Black slide doors slightly ajar. Uniformed Filipina made standby with water bottles and towels. You got out of the taxi and stop by the flower bed 5 meters left of the main gate. This is the bottleneck for pickups. You drop your canvas bag, pull out the stool, and unfold it, followed by a faded blue cloth. Spread on the concrete. Finally, you pull out a cardboard sign. Front sign, bone reading, talent assessment, destiny by 3. 3 readings, then I pack up. Just you sit down. 2 security guards in black tactical uniforms. They march over with anti-riot forks. Hey you, stop right there. These guards are way more ruthless than the ones at City Hall. Both over 6'1". Their footsteps are heavy. Setting up shop here, you spit out a sunflower seed shell. Private school entrance. No soliciting. The lead guard points at a security camera nearby. Move along, or we'll be forced to take action. You don't budge. Pointing at the seam in the paving stones, you state, this is a municipal public sidewalk. The school's red line starts above that step. I'm not on it. The guard looks down at the line. You are in fact sitting 4 inches outside it. No dice. You're causing a public nuisance. The guard reaches for the cardboard sign. This is a public space. You put the seeds back in your pocket and pick up your phone. Opening complaint portal. I'm not blocking the tactile paving. I'm not obstructing a fire lane. You lay a hand on me. I'll file a complaint for excessive force. Maybe add a viral video. The guard's hand freezes midair. Captain. The other guard mutters. The lead guard pulls his hand back. Then move back. Don't block the parents. With that, they retreat to the steps. Their eyes never leaving you. You keep cracking seeds. The parents waiting nearby already have their eyes locked on this scene. A few young mothers in expensive designer suits clustered together, Birkin bags in hand, pointing and gesturing in your direction. What's with this guy? Why haven't the guards dealt with it? Divination by bone structure? What is this? A medieval carnival act? Scammers aren't even trying. The vibe is so unsettling. Pallet guy belongs in quarantine, not a school. Keep the baby far away from him later. Would anyone bat an eye if we said he was a junkie? You hear that? But you didn't even flicker an eyelid. And right then, a woman in the crowd, draped in a burgundy velvet gown, removed her sunglasses. She studied your profile for a few seconds, then fished out her phone and pulled up a grainy video. It was footage that went viral a few days ago. The City Hall psychic clip. The resolution was garbage. Slumped on a tiny stool. That posture says it all. Radiating uninfluenced the world. A perfect match for the figure in the video. It's him, isn't it? The woman murmured. Who? Mrs. Chung, you know him? A short-haired socialite beside her asked. Look at this video. Mrs. Chung handed the phone over. Isn't he the guru who busted the marriage ring? She squinted at the screen, then back at you. That was a publicity stunt. The web's all saying it was staged. The police issued a statement. How could it possibly be a stunt? She lowered her voice. So, the major crimes unit thing? I heard he had a hand in it. My husband says half the major players are hunting him. Seriously? Is it true or not? Only one way to find out. A chime rang. The school gates swung open. The parents, so poised a moment ago, surged toward the entrance. A stream of kids in preppy uniforms poured out, marched out in neat rows. Mrs. Chung's eyes lit up. She waved frantically at the formation. Ho ho, over here, sweetie. A chunky boy, blazer buttons about to pop. Barreled out of line. An Ultraman action figure was clutched in his fist, cookie crumbs still smeared on his cheek. Mommy, I'm hungry. The little stout bellowed. I want fried chicken. Mrs. Chung grabbed her son, but instead of heading for the car, she hauled him towards the flower bed. Ho ho, be a good boy. Forget the chicken for a sec. See that mister over there? Mrs. Chung pointed at you. You just happened to look up, and your eyes met. Mrs. Chung recoiled half a step. Her hand clenched her phone. Master, she whispered. Her tone a far cry from the catty whisper she'd used with a friend. Are you here for consultations regarding the children? You brushed the shells into your garbage pouch and dusted off your hands. Talent assessment. Future readings. A grand procession. Pay what you want. That cheap? The word just slipped out. The parents' cluster froze on the spot. Here, the single lesson starts at $3 grand. So, take a look at my how-how. Mrs. Zhang pushed her son forward. I need to know, is he Harvard material or Yale? We've already started an Ivy League fund. The chubby kid dodged. No way. I want meat. You reached out and squeezed the plump arm twice. Very soft. All fat. You couldn't even feel the bone. With that touch, lines of red data bloomed. Above the kid's head. Bone density, medium. Muscle memory type, fine motor control wrist/American finger. Sensory acuity, gustation S-class. Olfaction S-class. Focus, high-temp ingredients. Aptitude, top-tier red case chef. You withdrew your hand, looked at Mrs. Zhang, then at the kid, still yelling about meat. You fell silent for 2 seconds. Harvard and Yale? He's got no shot. Not in his lifetime. You didn't sugarcoat it. At these words, the smile on Mrs. Zhang's face vanished. You added, even if you bought his way in, he'd never graduate. A few suppressed snickers rippled through the crowd. Mrs. Zhang's face flushed red, then drained white. Master, that's a bit extreme, don't you think? Our how-how may like to eat, but he's very smart. His piano teacher says his hands are big and strong. You sighed. Ma'am, you want the truth? Of course. You pointed to the street not far away. Forget Harvard. But at the New East Culinary School, he'd be a goddamn prodigy. The chatter around you died instantly. A moment of dead silence. Then the crowd erupted in howls. New East? Oh my God, I can't. That's savage. Spent millions on school. Just to end up here. Some parents clutched their bellies. Others slapped their thighs. Even the bodyguards had to turn away. Shoulders shaking. Mrs. Zhang's face swelled purple. What? Mrs. Zhang pulled her son back. Tap fear in Zhang's face. Do you know how much we spend on his cultivation a year? Piano, equestrian, golf. Tutors alone cost us $2 million a year. You're saying he's a cook? Her diamond necklace heaved with her ragged breathing. A con artist. I knew it. Security. Security. Where the hell are you? She shrieked. Zhang Feng wasn't fazed by her volume. He stayed planted on his little stool, lifting his eyes. Past the woman to the chubby kid, picking his nose. Spending and talent aren't connected. Zhang Feng pointed to the kid's wrist. Your son's wrist bones, even though they're buried in fat. If you feel carefully, you'll find his carpal bones are significantly wider than average, and the radial styloid process exhibits exceptional flexibility. In physiognomy, that's a prehensile palm. Mrs. Zhang froze. That sounds impressive. It is impressive. Zhang Feng nodded. He's born with the hands of master saucier. His knuckles are thick and stubby, his palms dense and heat-resistant. Precision temperature control. And most importantly, Zhang Feng paused, looking at the chubby kid. Hey, little man, do you actually enjoy playing the piano? The kid, who'd been squirming nonstop, finally stopped fidgeting. No. How shouted. The piano sounds like crap. And that metronome thing. This ticking drives me crazy. Mrs. Zhang snapped. How? What nonsense? Didn't you just play Twinkle Twinkle for Grandma yesterday? That was just to scam Grandma into buying me a burger. How bluntly exposed the truth. The crowd burst into laughter again. Zhang Feng asked again. Then what do you like doing? How immediately perked up, tossing aside the mud in his hands. I like playing with mud. Rolling it into perfect little balls. Hao gestured excitedly with his hands. And Mom, your cooking is the worst. It tastes like nothing but salt. Mrs. Zhang's face flushed crimson. She couldn't utter a single word. Hao grew more animated as he spoke. Auntie Zhang's red braised pork is the best. I know her secret. I peeked when she was cooking last time. She put a huge chunk of yellow rock candy into the pot, then poured in black water, covered it, and simmered forever. At those words, the surrounding laughter ceased. The well-informed parents recognized it instantly. That's the critical technique for red braised pork belly. A 5-year-old didn't just observe the process. He memorized every detail and can even recount it verbatim. Zhang Feng looked at Mrs. Zhang. Your son's taste sensitivity is 10 times the average. His ability to deconstruct flavor is a gift from nature. 40 pound-weight black and white keys is effectively smothering a future 3 Michelin star head chef. Mrs. Zhang stared at her son's glowing face, an expression she had never once seen when forcing him to practice. She suddenly remembered the expensive set of German Steinway son's piano at home, now caked in dust. Yet the kitchen pots were what this kid always loved to tinker with. Could be he's just destined to be a cook, though the blow to her ego was nearly impossible to accept. The evidence was undeniable. Mrs. Zhang clenched her jaw, pulled a wad of pink bills from her limited edition handbag. Probably over $2,000. She didn't bother to count, and threw it onto the blue cloth before Zhang Feng. You're ruthless. She grabbed Hao's hand, turned, and walked away unsteadily. Halfway to the car, she stopped and looked down at her son. You actually want to learn to cook? Hao nodded hard. I want to learn to make giant chicken legs. Fine. Let's sign you up for a junior pastry class first. Ding. Valid divination count. 13. The system status report chimed his mind. Zhang Feng gathered the stack of cash. He pocketed it. The crowd fell dead silent. Wow, the guy's actually legit. That chubby kid never cared about anything except eating. Can't believe he was read like a book. Maybe I should give it a shot. The crowd stirred. Their hesitation evaporated. Parents started shoving each other, pushing forward. They scrambled to the spot right in front of him. Master, my son zones out constantly. Check if he's got the makings of a top-tier researcher. Zhang Feng ignored the noise, his gaze fixed on a man forcing his way through the mob. The man wore gold-rimmed glasses, a sharply tailored 3-piece suit. His hair was immaculate. He dragged a little girl by the hand. The girl wore a crisp school uniform, back ramrod straight. Her face was blank, no expression, standing completely still. Move. Excuse me, move. The man pushed through the crowd. He planted himself in front of Zhang Feng's stall. Master, what you just did proves nothing. The man adjusted his glasses. The fat kid was clearly a glutton. That was a lucky guess. Zhang Feng looked up at him. What do you want calculated? I don't need a calculation. The man pulled the girl from behind him to the front, chin raised. Smug. I'm here to give you a real test. I don't want you psyches. I want to see if you can spot real gold. He pointed at the girl. This is my daughter, Lin Xiaoman, a certified prodigy. Memorized Tang poems by 3. Multiplication and division 3 digits by age 5. She's self-studying calculus. The crowd gasped. Wait, that's Lin Xiaoman? Didn't she win the last math Olympiad? Forget fortune-telling. She's Ivy League bound for sure. The man soaked in the praise, puffing out his chest. Go on. See if she's Einstein reincarnated. Or maybe Marie Curie. Zhang Feng said nothing. He looked at the girl, Lin Xiaoman. She was only 5 or 6, but her face had none of a child's natural energy. Just a blank void. She stood there, hands folded in front, posture picture perfect. Motionless. Zhang Feng reached out his hand. He moved to stop him, then remembered, just palpation. He pulled his hand back. Zhang Feng's palm settled gently on the back of the girl's head. A slight chill. The girl flinched, but didn't pull away. The instant contact was made. Zhang Feng's fingers stiffened over the girl's skull. No golden glow. No talent detected. No red-coded specialty markers like Hao's either. The girl's cerebral cortex rendered in a washed-out gray. The telltale sign of overuse. A burnout indicator. A dense, pitch-black fog coil between her brows. Skeletal growth retardation. Malnutrition. Hyperstress. Cerebral status. High-frequency memory region overheating. Logic center near dormant. Psychological status. Severe terror. People pleaser. Dissociative fugue precursor. Verdict. Simulated S rank. Rote memorization. A rank. Zhang Feng's hand lingered on the girl's head far too long. Long enough for the man to grow impatient. Can't read her? He sneered. Never seen such perfect bones, have you? Zhang Feng slowly withdrew his hand. He saw the man's face, vain and utterly smug. Then he looked down at the girl, perfectly immobilized. The girl sensed Zhang Feng's gaze on her. The corner of her mouth pushed upward, delivering a rehearsed, perfectly calibrated, obedient, docile smile. Zhang Feng picked up the insulated thermos from the table, unscrewed the lid. He's no prodigy. Zhang Feng drank, moistening a dry throat. She's a polished actress. Chapter 12. Genius prodigy? Horror nursery rhyme? What do you mean? The man's face flushed crimson. He glared at Zhang Feng. An actress? Calling a 5-year-old a fraud? He shoved his daughter forward. Xiaoman, recite for him. Preface to the Prince of Tong's Pavilion. Like flipping a switch. Lin Xiaoman's practice smile didn't waver. Her lips parted and closed rapidly. Archaic prose streamed out, steady, emotionless. Yuzhong was the former commandery. Home to the new prefecture. 3 rivers border, 5 lakes girdle controlling wilds. She stared straight ahead, eyes unfocused, producing a continuous stream of meaningless syllables. For a 5-year-old child. Gasps rippled. A full recitation? Incredible. My kid can't even get through quiet night thoughts. The man straightened his spine. Lifting his chin, he stared down at Zhang Feng. You hear that? That's your so-called actress. That's her act. Zhang Feng listened. The girl reached lonely wild fly with the sunset glow. He touched between her brows with one finger. The girl's voice faltered. She swayed slightly. A flicker of confusion passed through her eyes. She had no idea what she'd been reciting. Zhang Feng looked at the man. He just etched those sounds into his memory. Like a tape recorder. So what? Being able to remember is a skill. The man shot back. It's a skill. But at what cost? Zhang Feng pointed to the girl's hands. Look at her index fingers. Everyone's eyes followed. Her hands were clasped tightly, knuckles white. The nails on her index fingers and thumbs were bitten to the quick. The cuticles were torn and bloody. That's textbook anxiety. Zhang Feng's words made the man's face drain of color. He tried to hide his daughter's hands. And her bone structure. Zhang Feng didn't stop. Flat occipital bone. This bone structure signals a hypersensitive, paranoid child. Desperate for validation. Zhang Feng stood up. He crouched, eyes level with hers. Hey kid, when you looked at your father just now, I didn't see love in your eyes. Jiang Feng's voice was barely a whisper. I saw pure fear. One wrong word, no sleep tonight. One wrong answer, locked in the dark study. You're terrified of getting locked in that windowless study. The girl's body started to tremble. The perfect, rehearsed smile on her face began to crack. The man panicked. Shut up. You're leading the child on. I'm calling the cops on you. He reached for his daughter. Xiao Man, let's go. Don't listen to this lunatic's crap. The man's hand barely touched the girl's shoulder when a scream ripped through the air. Lin Xiao Man, who'd been silent all this time, suddenly exploded. She threw off his hand, curled up tight, clutching her head. Songs echo off-pungly. Geese cry through Hingyang. Sobbing, she still recited, face smeared with tears. Words tumbled out faster, tripping over themselves. I'll stop. I'll stop. Dad, please don't hit me. Towering peaks pierced the sky. Parents scrambled back. Some kids burst into tears. The man's hand froze. His face went white. He couldn't finish. His explanation crumbled into silence. The girl's breakdown was real. The bone-deep terror in her voice was undeniable. She wasn't performing genius. She was performing survival. He wasn't performing genius. He was performing survival. To avoid disappointing her father. To escape punishment. She forced herself to become a machine. Jiang Feng got his feet. He brushed the dust off his pants. Pick a kid to see a shrink. Jiang Feng looked the man dead in the eye. There's still time. Wait a couple more years. Once his mind breaks, you lose your prodigy. You'll have the makings of a high-functioning sociopath. He'll self-destruct and destroy you too. The man froze, staring at his daughter, sobbing on the ground. The project he'd always held up as his greatest achievement was shattered to pieces. Trembling, he knelt down. Unbidden, he clumsily embraced his daughter for the first time. No more memorizing. No more. Daddy, sorry. He lifted the still twitching child into his arms, forgot the school bag on the ground, and stumbled frantically toward the Audi parked at the curb. The door slammed, and the car fled. Ding. Valid divinations. 23. The system chimed again. Jiang Feng let out a breath. Silence swept over the scene. Everyone was staring at the young man, seated on the tiny camp stool. After a momentary hush, the crowd erupted. Master, please read my son. Yeah, my boy's a bit slow, but he does what he's told. Master, I'll pay 100,000. I'm not trying to cut the line. I just need a slot. Hold on. I'm the VP of Tianshan Group. Let me through. Luxury cars gridlocked the street. Billionaire bosses were shoving each other, like housewives at a wet market. Jiang Feng frowned. He glanced down at his phone. 16:55. 5 minutes remaining. Just then, a low, guttural engine sound overrode the noisy chatter. It wasn't the roar of a sports car, but the distinct, heavy timbre of a high-displacement executive sedan. The crowd fell silent instantly. The traffic lining the curb seemed to part on its own. A stretched black Lincoln limousine rolled to a stop at the roadside. The driver stepped out, white gloves on, and respectfully pulled open the rear passenger door. A foot, clad in a black cloth shoe, touched the pavement. Then, a dragon-headed cane struck the ground with a commanding thud. A silver-haired old woman stepped out. She wore a gray, traditional tank-style jacket. Not a single piece of jewelry on her, save for a string of agarwood prayer beads around her wrist. The moment the assembled tycoons and socialites saw this old woman, they froze in terrified silence. The men who'd been loudly shouting about being the VP of so-and-so group immediately bowed their heads, too terrified to breathe. The city's commercial king, the matriarch of the Shun family. She leaned on her cane. Slow but resolute, she approached Jiang Feng's stall. The dense crowd parted instinctively, carving out a silent path. Jiang Feng stopped packing up his gear. He watched the old woman approach. In his vision, a blazing golden aura around her head, a sign of immense influence. Yet beneath that light pulsed a thread of dark death chi. The old woman halted before Jiang Feng. Her calm eyes gave him a flat, clinical assessment. Young man, the old woman spoke. Her voice, slightly hoarse, carried undeniable authority. One last reading left. 1. Jiang Feng responded. What do you want calculated? Chapter 13. The billion-dollar heir? No, a fortune scatterer. Jiang Feng studied the elder before him. Behind her, four bodyguards in black suits fanned out, facing the crowd, forcing a 3-meter empty zone into existence. The surrounding noise instantly dropped a level. Jiang Feng shoved the uneaten sunflower seeds back into his pocket. Succession viability check. The old woman's dragon head cane slammed the ground. With a muffled thud. Let's see if this material can hold the Shun family empire. The little boy standing at the old woman's side, in a tailored suit, his bow tie slightly crooked, was about to pick his nose. She slapped his hand, making him pull back instantly. But he didn't care. His eyes locked onto an ant beside Jiang Feng's stall. This is the Shun family's only heir, young Master Shun. The fee? Whatever you want. Jiang Feng pointed the small camp stool in front of him. Have him sit. The old woman gave her grandson a shove. The boy shuffled over, sullen. He plopped down on the paint-chipped stool, his butt squirming twice. Seemingly finding it too hard, Jiang Feng extended his hand. Bone reading. The bodyguard behind the old woman stepped forward instantly. He reached inside his jacket. She stopped him. Let him act. Jiang Feng's palm covered the boy's crown. A warm touch. The hair was fine and soft. Lines of crimson text materialized before Jiang Feng's eyes. Skin done. Broad brow. No ridges. Zero authority. Incomplete occipital chain. Broken wealth node. Wing assessment. Nostrils flared. Outer base thin. Classic funnel leak morphology. Palm reading characteristics. Wide finger gaps. Flat palm plane. No treasure bowl formation. Travel star elevated at the temple. Rootless. Drifting fate. Fortune scatterer. Class S. Elite explorer. Class A. Familial asset destroyer. Class SS. Jiang Feng's hand paused 3 seconds on the boy's occipital bone. He ran a hand down the spine. Flexible vertebrae. This kid has a naturally restless nature. Jiang Feng pulled his hand back. He pulled a wet wipe from his pocket and cleaned his fingers. Jiang Feng met the old woman's eyes directly. I'll ask you one question, as per protocol. I'm 70. Cut the crap. She gestured for him to get to the point. This boy can't be the heir. Several eavesdropping parents nearby stopped their conversations. A few bodyguards tensed up, their jawlines tightening. The old lady's grip on her cane tightened, her knuckles turning white. Why? Jiang Feng pointed at the little boy's hand. Take a look at your grandson's hand. Long fingers, thin palm. When he closes them, a piece of cardboard can slip through the gaps. Born with sieve hands. Water flows through, no trace. Gold passes through, no sound. He then pointed to the boy's forehead and his wanderer's star. The bone structure is very prominent. The sheen is bright. It means deep down he can't be contained. He won't stay in this city, let alone an office. if you plan to hand him a multi-billion-dollar empire and chain him to the chairman's desk signing documents. Jiang Feng paused for a moment, watching the little boy squash ants with the tip of his leather shoe. Within 10 years, he'd sell off Shin Corp for a ticket to sail around the world, or mortgage a subsidiary company just to see the penguins in Antarctica. The old lady's wrinkles bunched up, her face turning ashen. Are you telling me the sole heir to the Shun family is a screw-up? The bodyguards stepped forward again. Their shadows completely swallowed Jiang Feng's small stall. Jiang Feng sat on his camp stool, his posture unchanged. Being a screw-up is relative. Jiang Feng picked up his thermos. A business failure, but a prodigy in other fields. What fields? The field of spending money. Jiang Feng's tone was even and calm. He's innately drawn to novelty, insatiably curious about the unknown. If your family has more money than you can spend in several lifetimes, letting him spend it is actually a form of good karma. He'll become a top-tier explorer or philanthropist. The fortune he scatters will buy him renown and experience. But if you insist he must earn money, you will gamble away your entire burial fund. Silence fell all around. The old lady stared daggers at Jiang Feng. She didn't blink for a long time. After half a beat, she looked down at the grandson who hadn't said a word. Xiao Bao, the old lady spoke up. Do I still want to be chairman? The usually restless young master Shun snapped his head up. Grandma, can a chairman go catch lions? The old lady paused. No, that I don't want to be one. He shook his head. I want to go to Africa. I want to go to the South Pole. I even want to go to Mars. This preschool is so boring. We have to recite things every single day. The boy's cheeks were flushed with excitement. It was an expression he had never worn at home. Usually, this kid just slumps around with zero energy. Talking about going to Africa just now made him come alive. A spendthrift brat, the old lady murmured to herself, repeating Jiang Feng's words. Suddenly, she threw her head back and laughed out loud. Huh, fine. A spendthrift brat. The old lady slammed her cane hard against the ground. The Shin family's been in business for 3 generations. Our fortune doesn't mean a damn thing if we can't even afford to support one prodigal grandson. Then these past decades of work have been for nothing. She turned around to look at Jiang Feng. Young man, you're the first person who dared to walk right up to me and call my grandson a loser. The old lady gestured to the bodyguard beside her, who was and held them out with both hands. Here, the old lady tossed the eyes down onto Jiang Feng's blue cloth. Whoever in trouble, drop Shin family name. Jiang Feng didn't take the black card, nor did he glance at the card. Instead, he swiftly grabbed the blue cloth, the 4 corners, screwed up shells, card design, and the $2,000 in cash. Jiang Feng stood up, stuffed the junk into his canvas bag, and tucked his stool under his arm. His movements were smooth and practiced, without a moment's hesitation. Hey, miss it, and it's on you. Jiang Feng waved a hand dismissively, without looking back. Leave the black card on the money is extra karma. Take on too much, and I can't handle the weight. With that, he slipped into the crowd that still hadn't dispersed, a solid wall of muscle composed of parents and bodyguards. Using his wiry frame, he pushed and squeezed his way through in no time. Past hands before his eyes. Hey, complete. Calculating ward. Only cellular activity in the brain, reduced by 10%. Remaining lifespan, plus 40 days. Ward, 3 million deposit. Jiang Feng quickened his pace. That crushing weight pressing down on his lungs had vanished. His breathing was clear. He even felt the urge to slap the hood of that Rolls Royce a couple of times. He flagged down a cab that had just dropped off a passenger, yanked the door open, and slid in. Anywhere's fine, driver. Leaving a crowd of people staring blankly. Old Mrs. Shun watches Jiang Feng disappear into the distance. She bends down, picks up the card, and flicks it lightly. Interesting. Chapter 14. The entire internet is hunting for that black jacket. Jiang Feng sits in the corner of his sofa. The fork makes 2 lazy circles in the noodle tub. He circles the sauerkraut beef noodle tub twice. The curtains are drawn, leaving only sliver light. The midday sun hits the floor. A blinding sharp line cuts the room into heavy shadows. He takes a sip of the broth and picks up his phone. At the top of the trending hashtags, a few deep crimson words hang. He taps. Clicking. Outside the kindergarten, his cap was pulled so low. His face was hidden, but that black tactical jacket on him, and that chipped, paint-faded little windstool, every loose thread and scratch is now circled in red. Comments fly. Is this a power fantasy novel plot? Pointing at old Mrs. Shun, telling her, your grandson's a failure, and then just walking away clean? The my Shun family can afford him line was truly ruthless. Am I the only one focused on that fortune-telling guy? You can't even see his face, and I can tell he's hot. Wake up, sis. I've already found it. That jacket's a 2-year-old bargain brand. Discontinued long ago. And that little stool, 9.90 with free shipping from a discount site. This legend's entire outfit doesn't even break the 200 mark. Now that the true sage treats money like dirt, drops a $5 million black card without even glancing. Jiang Feng shoots mouthfuls off, woke up noodles, staring at the comments on his screen. Treats money like dirt. I'm just not short on cash right now. Ding dong. The doorbell rings. Jiang Feng puts down his noodle tub and walks to the door. He peers through the peephole. A delivery driver in a yellow uniform, holding a bag of fruit in one hand. Jiang Feng opens the door, his face mask still on, his hood still pulled up. Your fruit. The delivery driver hands over the bag. As Jiang Feng takes it, the driver stares at his jacket for exactly 2 seconds, and suddenly breaks into a grin. Bro, you hopping on the trend too? Jiang Feng doesn't catch his meaning. Huh? You know that psychic prodigy? The delivery driver points at his jacket. This look is everywhere now. Black tactical jackets, and tiny wooden stools. Just past one by the park. A whole row of cosplayers out there, all pretending to be the master. The driver looks him up and down. But man, yours looks legit. Even got the cuff wear and tear down. Where'd you buy it? Shoot me the link. Jiang Feng glanced at his cuffs, faded ghostly white from overwashing. Pinduo. Jiang Feng muttered. 2 for 51. Gotta split the deal though. Dong Chong gave him a thumbs up. Good luck. Hope you outrank that master someday. The delivery guy hummed a tune as he walked downstairs. Jiang Feng closed the door and stepped in the bathroom. He stripped off the jacket that on the defined feature. On a wanted poster. Tossed it in the washer. Jacket's burned. Can't even buy groceries without a crowd. The following 3 days, Jiang Feng didn't step 1 foot outside the door. He lived off delivery orders and online shopping. He ordered a few plaid button-down shirts online, a pair of black frame glasses, and a bucket hat. As long as no one made him, he could keep living. Outside, hell broke loose. The Shun matriarch made a statement. Whoever finds this master, the Shun family owes them a favor. A favor like that was worth more than a 5 million reward. His phone vibrated on the table. The screen flashed. Zhao Yi, the only cop who had his back. Jiang Feng answered. Yeah, still alive? Zhao Yi's voice came, flipping case files. So far, so good. Don't wander around for the next few days. Zhao Yi paused what he was doing. Several ranking officers in the bureau are asking about you. The Shuns hunt you too. You're the golden ticket now. In a live or not, I haven't broken any laws. I know. Zhao Yi paused for a beat. That case, thanks. Xiao Zhang got to keep his leg. He won't be a detective again, but he transferred to a desk job. MHM, if you get into trouble, or if someone starts harassing you, call my number. Okay. He hung up. Zhang Feng walked to the window, pulling the curtain back to widen the gap. Dark. The city's neon lights bled the night sky a deep red. 3 days in hiding. His food order was down to 0. His cold soup dregs at the bottom of his noodle cup. A faint static crackled in his mind. ZZT. Here it comes. Jiang Feng tilted his head back and drained the cold broth. Immortal or con man, doesn't matter. Everyone clocks in for work. New task issued. Location: Panju and Antique Market. East Gate morning session. Time window: 9 to 11 o'clock. Method: Glyphomancy domain. Antique authentication treasure hunting. Objective: 3 clients. And successfully expose forgery or authenticate a genuine article. Jiang Feng studied the task panel. The Antique Market. That place is crawling with master storytellers. 1 brick shard, and they'll spin in First Emperor Saga. Trying to do artifact readings and glyphomancy in a place like that. It's basically begging to get cut down to size. He glanced at the remaining lifespan, ticking on the panel. 98 days. No choice. Jiang Feng turned and walked to the closet. He grabbed a new blue plaid shirt and put it on. Facing the mirror, he messed up his hair. He put on the non-prescription black-framed glasses. The person in the mirror looked dull and stiff, like a recent grad. Still job hunting as a programmer. Not a trace of the master remained. Good. Jiang Feng nodded at his reflection. Chapter 15. Spotting truth in a sea of fakes. 9 a.m. Panji Ayuan's bluestone pavement radiated heat. It was a sea of people, mostly old-timers, in Mandarin jackets, walnuts clicking in their palms. Plenty of selfie stick wielding. Streamers shouted at cameras amid cramped stalls. Muddy clay pots, jade bracelets, silver coins. In a chamber pot, supposedly used by the first emperor himself, Jiang Feng found an empty spot by a wall. To his left, a cellar of excavated bronzes. The vendor was busily rubbing shoe polish onto a bronze wine vessel. To his right, an ancient coin dealer had a sign hanging up. Unique heirloom. Trade for an apartment. He sat down his camp stool. He spread his blue cloth and pulled out a printed sheet. He taped it to the floor. Glyphomancy for authenticity. No fee if wrong. 3 reads only. Plain song typeface. Size 4, looking like it was snipped off a corporate document. He sat. He pulled a napkin from his pocket, snagged at breakfast, and wiped his glasses. The coin dealer to the right was a bald, middle-aged man named Wang. I was holding a round coin, the swivel, blowing on it by his mouth. Hearing the commotion, he glanced sideways at Jiang Feng. Checkered shirt, jeans, sneakers. Buddy, Lao Wang tossed the coin back onto his stall with a clink. You're in the wrong place. Job fair's a left turn ahead. This is Antique City. Jiang Feng breathed on his lenses. He put on his glasses. Just a side gig. Lao Wang laughed. His mouth opened, revealing yellow teeth. He gestured around. This trade needs sharp eyes and knowledge. You read characters to spot fakes, making us look bad, or clowning around. Sharp eyes? I doubt it. Jiang Feng pointed at the pile of coins on Lao Wang's stall. That batch of Kangxi Tongbao is all laser engraved. No one with a good eye buys them. Lao Wang's hand trembled. Cigarette ash fell onto his shoe. Hey, you can mess up your own meal, but watch what you say. He lowered his voice, glaring at Jiang Feng. Know the unwritten rules? See the truth, but keep your mouth shut. Jiang Feng didn't respond. He took out his stainless steel thermos and sipped some hot water. The cramping in his stomach eased slightly. I don't assess objects. He put down the mug. Only truth. Real words, real goods. Old Wang scoffed, turning away, dismissing him. You'll go hungry. Sure, there are plenty of fools, but none dumb enough to trust a fortune teller here. No one stopped at Jiang Feng's stall. Passers-by glanced at the sign, chuckled, and moved on. Everyone trusts the experts with their magnifying glasses, not a recently laid-off programmer. Jiang Feng stared at a weed in the pavement crack. Counting leaves. Sitting here is the mission. The cancer cells throw a rave in my brain. Boss, you can appraise authenticity? A voice sounded from above. Jiang Feng looked up. A young man in his early 20s stood before him. His sunshirt was soaked through with sweat. He clutched a newspaper bundle like his life depended on it. Looking back every 2 steps. His neck was stiff. A newbie. Thinks he struck gold. Dying to show off, but terrified. Can appraise. Jiang Feng pointed to the paper on the ground. Graphology. Write a character. I'll appraise it. He froze. No need to see it. No magnifying glass. What's in your bag? The energy is in the character you write. The young man hesitated. Other stalls charged $200 with a line. Here, it said no pay if inaccurate. Fine. He crouched down, placing the package on his knees before taking the pen. He thought, then wrote, bow. His strokes were crooked. Boss, got it at a street stall over there. He lowered his voice, peeling back a newspaper corner. Silver and eerie, cyan blue, hue peaked out. The vendor said it's a Ming Dynasty folk kiln blue and white bowl. Hey, mercy, he needs hash 5,000 yuan. In this shape, worth at least 50. Old Wang craned his neck, saw that corner of blue, curled his lip, and pulled his head back. Blatantly fake. That market's flooded with that stuff. Jiang Feng didn't look at the bowl. He stared at Bao. The system deconstructed it. Red lines zip between strokes. Top part is Mian. The bottom is you. The young man nodded eagerly. Yes, yes. Value a treasure. The Mian represents a home. Or roof. Jiang Feng's tone remained flat and steady. Here, the roof radical is too wide, smothering the jade. Not from an official kiln. Not even a folk kiln. It was fired in a small family workshop. The young man's smile froze. AF folk kiln still has value. Now, look at the jade part. Jiang Feng's finger landed on the dot stroke within you. This dot, you pressed too hard. The ink bled, meaning appearing. It doesn't sit centered. It's at the base. It indicates the bottom of this item has something to hide. Jiang Feng looked at the young man. The jade character on the base. A sign has been repaired with jade dust glue. A new forgery technique to fake antiquity. Mask the fresh firing. The guy pretending to scroll on his phone nearby twitched. Jade dust layering? That method just hit the street this week. How does this punk know? The kid clutched the bowl tight to his chest. Impossible. I checked the mark. Great Ming, Zhenhua period. Crisp lettering, even shows where. Crisp because it was carved yesterday. Wear and tear because it was taken sandpaper. Bullshit. The kid stood. You haven't even touched it. What give you the right? I did my homework. This blue's called Somali blue. Want to know if I'm lying? See for yourself. Jiang Feng reached into his pocket, dropped a 1 yuan coin on the blue cloth. The coin hit the floor. Got the guts to smash it. What? The kid's eyes went wide. I paid 5,000 yuan for this. You want me to smash it? If it's real, that's 50 grand. I'll cover you for 100,000. Jiang Feng tapped his canvas satchel. I'm good for it. If it's fake, the break exposes a glue layer that whitens with heat. You'll catch a sharp chemical stink. The kid stared at Jiang Feng. He stared at the bowl. The thrill vanished. His palms were sweaty. Pathetically, if it's fake, 5,000 yuan is 2 months living. You could risk it. Take a lighter to the base. Jiang Feng offered a different approach. The kid's hand was shaking as he fished in his pocket. Pulled out a disposable lighter. Just one pass with the flame. If it's genuine, it won't char. He turned the bowl over, exposing the old Great Ming mark. The flame surged, licking at the base. 1 second. 2. A pungent, acrid chemical stench bloomed. The grayish, aged surface of the base blistered and blackened. The patina layer softened and sloughed away, uncovering the stark, fresh white porcelain beneath, and a line of faint blue text they'd missed during the grind down. Microwave safe. The kid's grip went slack. That Ming vase, worth 50 grand, flew into the air. Smash! The bowl hit the blue stone, shattering into jagged shards. Fragments skittered to old Wang's feet. He glanced down. The fractures were blindingly white. No impurities whatsoever. Standard modern high-pressure injection molding for kaolin paste. The base had indeed separated into 2 distinct layers, stuck together with a transparent glue that hadn't even fully dried. 2 seconds of silence. The kid stared at the wreckage, at the fragments, at the microwave safe label. His face turned liver red. My 5,000 yuan. He collapsed backwards onto the ground, voice cracking with a sob. Old Wang, still holding his cigarette, flinched as the ember burned him. The book dropped. His gaze locked dead on Jiang Feng. Didn't even touch it, just from writing a single word. And he deduced the base was glued. Jiang Feng ignored the young man's breakdown. Ding, valid divination count. 1 to 3. He bent down to pick up the coin. He blew the dust off it and pocketed it. Next. CH-16. This junk might be a national treasure. Instead, it pushed 2 layers deeper inward. Word about the glued bowl base had spread fast. The looks directed at Jiang Feng were completely different now. An old man in gray squeezed through the crowd. His hair was graying, a folding fan clutched in one hand. The other hand cradled an elongated brocade box, elbow prop high. Fearful someone might bump into it. Young man, let me give it a try. The old man set the brocade box on the blue cloth before Jiang Feng, both hands guarding its edges. I won't comment on that bowl, just now. Auction houses disagreed on my painting's value. The old man lifted the brush to write. Jiang Feng's gaze fell upon the word. System flickered. Ink deconstructed by red lines. External frame outlined. Central field bounded. Glyph analysis. Field aligned. Boundaries distinct. Indicator scanned. Grafted flower. Sever chapter. Core intent pure. Perimeter forged. Jiang Feng scanned the chi above the old man's head. White chi entwined with strands of gray threading. I want the truth. Jiang Feng asked. The old man nodded. Naturally. No need to open it. Jiang Feng pointed to the character on the paper. Field in the center. Field boundaries distinct. But the strokes surrounding this field component. The ink tone matches perfectly. The forest severed. He froze. What? The painting's core is real. Jiang Feng's voice remained level, but this painting's inscriptions, colophons, and seals. The border was cut from a different work, and spliced together here. The trade term is reanimated corpse. The crowd buzzed. Spliced? So it's a fake? Not fake. The core is genuine. The man paled. He opened the box, hands trembling. A landscape scroll. Paper yellow with age. Look open door old at a glance. The seam between core and border, though restored. A closer look still revealed the paper grain's lack of continuity. I studied it for a full week and couldn't be sure. The old man sighed. Rolling it up. Experts swore it was authentic. But the colophon's style always felt wrong. So spliced. He clasped his hands and bowed to Jiang Feng. Without your insight, I'd have lost millions. The old man pulled a red envelope from inside his coat, bulging thick. Placed it down, turned, and left. Ding. Valid divination count. 2 to 3. Jiang Feng pocketed the envelope unopened. One more reading. Let me see your jade pendant. Hold on. I was here first. The crowd churned like a boiling pot. A tattered old scrap collector with a burlap sack. Shoved around. He'd been gathering bottles. The surging mass of people carried him right to the front. Hey! Someone from behind pushed the old man hard. He settled and rushed forward, almost crashing his stall. The burlap sack on his back hit the ground with a loud clang. A dull, solid thud. Get lost, junkman. Move it, old man. This is for antique appraisals. Several nearby vendors joined in the mockery. Old Wang, coin seller, pinched his nose and fanned. Flushing, he grabbed his sack to flee. Wait, Jiang Feng spoke. The old man froze mid-step, utterly bewildered. What's in the sack? Jiang Feng's gaze fixed on that burlap bag. The old man hunched his shoulders. It's nothing. Just some scrap iron I found at the riverside construction site. It's heavy. Thought I could sell it for scrap. Get a meal. Take out. Let's see it. The old man hesitated a moment. He loosened the sack's opening. A black, grimy, rust-covered lump of iron emerged, its shape irregular. Like a farm relic, caked in mud and weeds. A wave of jeers erupted, bringing scrap metal for appraisal. If this master can read this junk as gold, I'll eat this whole stall. Old man, that iron's maybe worth 50 cents a pound. Stop wasting time. His face swelled with shame. He fumbled desperately, trying to shove the lump back inside. Don't move. Jiang Feng's voice was quiet, but it cut through the noise. The old man froze. I can't read. Only know how to write the character for iron. Used to haul loads at an iron foundry. Just write iron. The old man's trembling hand picked up the pen. He scrawled a crooked, misshapen character for iron on the paper. The radical was on his large. The lost radical nearly flew off the page. Metal recedes. What's lost is found. Confirmed. Not common iron. Dense earth and water energy. Tang Dynasty iron ox. Broken horn. River treasure. Gathers the vital energy of the land and water. A national treasure. Jiang Feng's hand, resting on his knee, tightened on the fabric. He adjusted his posture. He looked up at the deeply wrinkled old man, still visibly ashamed from the mockery. Sir, Jiang Feng took the red envelope and pushed it in front of the old man. This. The old man recoiled. Your fee. Jiang Feng stated. The surrounding laughter died instantly. Has the master lost his touch? Paying a junkman? That's scrap iron. Worth over 10,000? Jiang Feng didn't acknowledge him. He stood up, walked over to the burlap sack. He pointed at the grimy metal chunk. This character means iron. Beside it, corpse on the right, gold on the left. Its golden shine is long gone, revealing its true nature. Old man, what you got here isn't scrap. Jiang Feng's voice cut through the noise of the market. This is a leg from the great iron oxen. Passing the dynasty called the Yellow Rivers. Look at this section of weather pattern here. And these remnants of an inscription. Jiang Feng pointed at a faint pattern under the rust. A national treasure. Those 4 words dropped like an anvil. Silence. Then, louder laughter erupted. National treasure. Is this fortune teller crazy? That junk's a Tang dynasty iron ox? Then my chamber pot must be from Emperor Qin's tomb. Expressionless, Jiang Feng looked at the old man. Sir, whatever you do, don't sell it for scrap. Go out, turn left 200 meters. Museum acquisition office. Tell them you dug it up from the old riverbed. Is this real? The old man stared at Jiang Feng, then looking at the money. Take the money. Grab a cab. After you hand it over, the state gives you an honor certificate and a reward. Enough to retire on. The old man didn't understand anything about Tang dynasty iron oxen, but he understood the look on Jiang Feng's face. A look utterly devoid of mockery. He grabbed the red envelope, hoisted the burlap sack, and gave Jiang Feng a deep bow, then bolted for the exit. Asterisk ding. 3 divinations complete. Calculating reward. Congratulations, host. Limit cellular activity in the brain reduced by 5%. Lifespan remaining increased by 30 days. Congratulations, host. Cash reward required. 1 million RMB. Asterisk. Without lingering, Jiang Feng quickly packed his stall, folded his stool, and vanished into the crowd. Hey, don't go. Running off after a con? We're not done here. That junk was truly a national treasure. Uproar erupted behind him. 10 minutes later, Jiang Feng was in the back of a taxi, long gone from the district. The market PA crackled to life. The voice urgent. Attention, urgent broadcast. Urgent broadcast. The elderly gentleman in possession of the black iron artifact. Please report to the management office immediately. Repeat. A critical lead on a class, 1 national artifact. Provincial experts are already on site. The entire Panjiayan morning market exploded into chaos. All the buyers and vendors who months ago had been knocking stared at Jiang Feng's now empty spot, jaws hanging. True alchemy, turning scrap into gold with a touch. Chapter 17. He had money, but couldn't buy that moment. The bank account balance just increased by another million. Combined with his previous savings, Jiang Feng's net worth now exceeds 5 million. For a terminal patient who, just a few months ago, was agonizing over a few $1,000s in medical bills, it's a fortune. But he's nowhere near as happy as he imagined. The AC in the downtown luxury mall is cranked up high. Jiang Feng is wearing that cheap blue and white checkered shirt, sneakers on his feet, and carrying a few paper bags with high-end logos. He just bought a few changes of clothes. Didn't try them on. Just gave his size and swiped the card. Passing an imported goods supermarket. He goes in, grabs 2 of the most expensive yogurts, and pays. Twists off the cap. Before, when he drank yogurt, he'd always let the layer clean from the lid. A habit born from poverty. Now he just glances at the thick residue and tosses the lid straight into the trash. This feeling. Jiang Feng takes a sip of yogurt. It's rich, but all he tastes is cloying heaviness. It's boring. He walks out of the supermarket, passing a high-end bridal atelier on the 2nd floor. And a massive floor-to-ceiling display window sits. A crystal-encrusted fishtail wedding gown. The lights hit it, glittering and radiant, so beautiful you can't look away. A young couple is inside for a fitting. The girl is spinning in the dress. The guy won't stop taking pictures, his eyes full of light. Jiang Feng stops. He stands outside the window, shopping bags in hand. That unswallowed mouthful of yogurt still in his mouth. The glass reflects his silhouette. Pale, gaunt, eyes hollow. 5 million. The money can buy this dress. Buy every accessory in the store. Can you buy 1/2 of the happy scene he once desperately craved? The material half. But he can't buy the other half. If he hadn't gotten sick, he'd get the age to settle down too. Maybe he'd be like that guy. Goofily holding up his phone, stressing about dowries and mortgages, but also full of drive for the future. Now, all he has is the past. No future. His stomach churns. The chemo's after effects are kicking in again. Jiang Feng takes the mostly full. He tosses the yogurt and walks away. Back at his newly rented apartment, just out of the elevator, Jiang Feng sees someone standing at his door. It's Zhao Yi, the detective lieutenant of the major crimes unit. No uniform today, just a rumpled jacket. Clutching a bag of apples, he stood outside in the hallway. He was about to knock when a chime made him turn. How did you find this place? Jiang Feng asked. Zhao. He simply shook his phone in his hand. It's a surveillance grid. You weren't hiding. Records are easy to pull. Jiang Feng pushed the door open. Come on in. Zhao. He stepped inside and placed the apples on the coffee table. He swept a quick analytical gaze around the apartment. High-end Reno, but for one chip child-sized stool. No personal items. It felt cold like a showroom. It's not a case. Zhao. He stood rigidly in the living room. He rubbed his hands nervously, strange for a tough cop. It's personal. Jiang Feng poured himself a glass of water. He sat down on the sofa. Take a seat. Zhao. He sat. The sofa was soft, but he sat bolt upright. My sister. Xiaoya. Zhao. He started. She's been off lately. She's sick. I feel relieved she's actually sick. Zhao. He frowned deeply. You're in full panel hospital. Brain scans, MRI, blood work. All clear. Nothing physically wrong. But she hears someone talking. Hallucinations. More than just voices. Zhao's voice dropped low. She visits the same dark place in her dreams. Behind a wall, a dry scraping sound. When she wakes, her nail beds are packed with grime and dust. This sounds like a case for a psychologist or a psych ward. She's currently an inpatient at the city center for mental health. Diagnosed acute schizophrenia. Meds are useless. Yesterday, during visitation, she grabbed my hand and said, he's almost out. Zhao, he lifted his head. A police surfaced in his eyes. You have a special skill set. I observed the details on those 2 previous cases. You can just go and see her. Take a look. Jiang Feng set down his water glass. At this precise moment, he hadn't received any mission directive. Meaning now, he's just a terminal cancer patient. No supernatural perception. No aura or luck reading. I'm not picking up on anything right now. Jiang Feng gave him the unvarnished truth. His eyes instantly him. You're right. It all depends on destiny. I'm desperate. He stood, ready to leave. Seeing Zhao Yi's hunched shoulders, Jiang Feng remembered. He remembered Zhao Yi at the precinct entrance. How he threw himself into danger to save others. Wait, Jiang Feng rose to his feet. Take me there. Let me see. Zhao Yi whipped around, shocked. You really go? I can't promise I'll see anything. Jiang Feng grabbed his tactical jacket from a hook. I'm not a doctor either. Just want to go and see if he'll talk. Zhao Yi's car reached the municipal lot 20 minutes later. Center for Mental Health. The grounds were eerily quiet, fenced with high walls and razor wire. The ward was at the back, fronted by a sprawling garden. Recreation area for the patients. Jiang Feng followed Zhao Yi into the garden. It was 10 a.m. The sun was warm. Patients in blue and white striped gowns shuffled across the lawn. Some mumbled to themselves. Others gestured wildly at the air. The moment Jiang Feng's foot touched the garden turf, A familiar mechanical hum in S's mind crackled to life without any warning. New objective received. Jiang Feng stride hitched for beat. Location: Mental Health Center Garden Bench. Window: 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Method. Dream analysis. Domain: Truth of the subconscious. Target: engage 3 clients and successfully deconstruct their dreams. Jiang Feng stared at the task panel display. Right. Held a smile, hugging the corner of his mouth. This damn system's timing is impeccable. What's wrong? Zhao Yi, noticing he'd stopped, glanced back. Jiang Feng lifted his head, his eyes fixed on a nearby bench, turning inscrutable. Well, Jiang Feng said to Zhao Yi, I'm getting that feeling again. Chapter 18. Sometimes the words of madmen are true. The asylum garden wasn't chaotic. Aside from the occasional shrill laugh or low mutter, most patients were lost deep within their own realities. Jiang Feng walked to an empty bench and sat down. Zhao Yi took up a position 2 meters behind him, hands clasped behind his back, scanning the perimeter. Jiang Feng pulled out his chipped little camp stool, placing it beside the bench. On a torn-out scrap of notebook paper, he scrawled 2 words, dream decoding. He found a stone, weighed the paper down on the armrest of the bench. Less than 2 minutes later, the first client arrived. A man in his 30s, gaunt with sunken cheeks, clutching a long black umbrella in his hand. Beneath a blazing sun up above, he still shrank himself in the shadow of that umbrella. The man crouched down in front of Jiang Feng. The canopy of the umbrella tipped low. Are you the new mushroom? His voice was barely a whisper. Jiang Feng looked at him. In the system's visual field, swirling above the man's head was a damp, gray mist swirls above him, its edges constantly decaying. I'm not a mushroom. Jiang Feng stated, I interpret dreams. The man flinched. He slowly raised his head, revealing bloodshot, fractured eyes. I had another dream last night. What did you see? I became an umbrella. The man gestured weakly at the black umbrella in his hand, but the canopy was torn. Rain leaked through, freezing rain. It seeped into my bones and cracked on the inside. Am I dying? Zhao, he frowned behind him. Jiang Feng remained silent. Words surfaced in the system. Dream element, broken umbrella. No shelter, cold rain, deep erosion, subconscious mapping, recent loss of maternal figure, primary anchor, core trauma, not fear of death, but connection severance. Jiang Feng looked at the man's cowering form. You're not broken, and you won't die. The chill you feel? The one who held your umbrella is gone. He froze. You're waiting for them to come back and fix this umbrella. Jiang Feng continued. But you know they're never coming back. That's why you feel the leak. It's not the umbrella that's broken. It's the space beneath it. Empty. The man's lips began to tremble. The black umbrella, held so steadily before, slid his grasp. Sunlight struck his face directly. Unflinching, tears burst. Mom. He crumpled down. I miss my mom. I want to hold the umbrella for her just once. Minutes ago, the lunatic who believed he was a mushroom vanished. On the ground remained only a son who'd lost his mother. A nurse gasped, hand covering her mouth in shock. He'd been here a month, only crouching with that umbrella. Been anyone who tried to take it. Ding. Valid divination count. 1.3. Jiang Feng picked up the black umbrella, placing it back beside the man's hand. It's okay to cry. The umbrella's here. Hold it yourself now. He clutched it tightly. His sobs became raw, guttural wails. The nurse rushed to help him away. Zhao Yi watched their retreating figures in silence. Jiang Feng shifted his gaze to a spot under a tree, not far away. A young girl stood there. A hospital gown hung loosely on her frame, long hair disheveled. Deathly pale, she stared at the dirt, completely motionless. Zhao Yi's spine stiffened. Xiaoya. It was Zhao Yi's sister, Zhao Xiaoya. Hearing the voice, Zhao Xiaoya turned her head with sluggish delay. Her eyes were unfocused, drifting as she walked over, and sat down before Jiang Feng. My brother says you have a gift. Her voice was raw. Can you hear it? Hear what? Scratching? Zhao Xiaoya drags her fingers across the wooden armrest of the bench. A grating screech fills the air. Scritch, scratch, scrape. She holds her nails up in front of Jiang Feng. Caked under the nails, plaster dust, and dry blood. They sound losing my mind. Zhao Xiaoya fixes her gaze on Jiang Feng. Doctors say it's hallucinations. Your brother says it's stress. But I know it's real. Someone's scratching right inside the wall. Zhao Yi cuts in. Xiaoya. The next room is vacant. Nobody's living there. Zhao Xiaoya screams. There, I asked someone. He's counting. 1, 2, 3. Timing when I fall asleep. Even in my dreams, he never stops scratching. Dream residue. Subject exhibits extreme hypervigilance. Oral fixation. Logic's consistent. Sensory loop active. Auditory overload from a real source. Environmental profile analysis. Sound originates from the crawl space in the target's bedroom wall. Frequency matches nails on concrete. Metaforensic anomaly detected. Trap resentment insane. Live victim. Suffocating hate. Jiang Feng's head snaps for Zhao Yi. Lieutenant Zhao. He cuts through Zhao Xiaoya's scream. Zhao Yi freezes. What? She's not crazy. Jiang Feng's words come rapid fire. He points at Zhao Xiaoya's blood-crusted fingers. The sound she hears, yes, real. Wind sweeps the garden. She roots down Zhao Yi's spine. You're saying there's really someone next door? Not next door. Jiang Feng stands. Inside the wall. Check the wall in her bedroom. Specifically, the shared partition. Jiang Feng stares Zhao Yi down. There's a concealed space in there. There's something. Or someone. Zhao Yi's face goes pale. As a detective, a dozen scenarios flood his mind. A peeping Tom, a psychopath, or a body sealed in the masonry. We move. Now, Jiang Feng kicks the stool aside. Immediately, that person isn't dead yet. He's still scratching. Zhao Xiaoya's trembling stops. She looks at Jiang Feng, tears streaming down her face. Finally someone believes me. Zhao Yi yanks out his phone, dials the major crimes unit. He parts into it, bring the forcible entry tools. My house. Tear down Xiaoya's bedroom wall. Right now. Now. Ding. Valid divinations. 23. Chapter 19. The secret in the wall. Zhao Yi roars the last word into the phone. His chest heaving, he grips the cracked screen device. Knuckles bone white. The wind of the garden dies. Zhao Xiaoya's sobs stop. She lifts her swollen eyelids. Watching my brother, who always preached science. Jiang Feng sat down on the bench. He unscrewed the thermos and took a sip of water. Jiang Feng screwed the cap back on as he waited. 10 minutes. Enough time for them to tear down a wall. Zhao Yi didn't sit. He paced the gravel path. Leather soles grinding stone with a brittle, crunching rhythm. Jiang Feng glanced at the phone screen by his foot. 10:45. One more reading. 15 minutes left. Steady steps approached, shoes hitting pavement. A man in a white coat drew closer. Rimless glasses. A stethoscope hung from his neck. 2 ballpoint pens in the pocket. The badge read, attending psychiatrist. The doctor stopped in front of the bench. He swept his gaze past the agitated Zhao Yi, paused on Zhao Xiaoya huddled at the edge, and finally settled on Jiang Feng. The paper reading dream analysis. Interesting. The doctor adjusted his glasses. He sat down directly beside Jiang Feng. Heard a master was here. Just curious. Connect with the patients. Zhao Yi stopped pacing. Frowning, he stared down. Who are you? Ward 6 attending, Li Wenjie. Finished rounds. Master, I don't believe this. Lately, recurring nightmares. Disturbing ones. Jiang Feng turned his head and said. Li Wenjie leaned back against the bench, fingers interlaced on his knees. Long, immaculate fingers. Nails short, smooth. I dream of surgery. Li Wenjie's tone was flat. Routine work. But the moment I bring the scalpel down, the blade goes soft. He released his hands, gesturing downward with his palm. Blade curls on contact, no matter what. I switch blades. Still soft. Patient watches. No matter how I cut, there's no blood. I woke up drenched in sweat. Li Wenjie looked at Jiang Feng. Light reflected off his lenses. My own analysis? Functional anxiety caused by tenure evaluation pressure. What does the master think? Jiang Feng said nothing. In his vision, Li Wenjie's white coat was spotless, pristine. But around those hands, coils of crimson threads were wrapped tight, digging viciously deep into the flesh, revealing muscle and bone. Scalpel softens. Medium failed. Deep mapping shows. An aversion to indirect contact. A craving for direct touch. Red marks on fingers. Homicidal intent. Contained. Not a healer. A butcher. Jiang Feng stared at those long hands. It's not the pressure. Jiang Feng finally spoke. It's that you find the scalpel gets in your way. For a split second, Li Wenjie's expression froze. In a way, the scalpel was a barrier between you and the flesh. Jiang Feng spoke without question. You're tired of touching life through cold metal. Your subconscious is telling you to drop the knife. Jiang Feng looked up. You want to use your hands. You want to reach inside. Feel the warmth. Feel the pulse. And then squeeze. A deathly stillness fell over the garden. Zhao, he spun around, his hand flying his lower back. Li Wenjie's interlaced fingers came apart. His right index finger tapped on the fabric of his slacks. Tap. Tap. You're quite the comedian. Li Wenjie rose to his feet. Cold reading. A total lie. I'm a doctor. I save lives. A fabrication? You know the truth yourself. Jiang Feng picked up the camp stool from the bench. Steady. Surgeon or killer. I suggest a long vacation. Or turning yourself in. A muscle twitched to the corner of Li Wenjie's eye. He gave Jiang Feng one long, final look. He fled without a word. Jiang Feng watched his retreating back. Ding. Valid divinations. 3/3. Mission accomplished. Calculating reward. Congratulations, host. Limit cellular activity in brain reduced by 5%. Lifespan increased by 30 days. Congratulations, host. Cash reward. 1 million credits received. The cell phone vibrated. The phone in Zhao Yi's hand rang. He answered. Speaker on. A power drill stopped, followed by heavy breathing. Lieutenant Zhao. We cracked it. Unbelievable. The detective's voice was booming. Xiaoya's bedroom. A hidden crawl space. In the gap between the two buildings, the expansion joint. From next door. Soundproofed. Only half a meter wide. Where is he? Zhao, he roared. Caught him. Lived there 6 months. The walls were covered in holes, facing right at the head of the bed. He made the scratching at night. Xiaoya's hand flew to her mouth. Her body trembled violently. A sharp, piercing cry tore from her throat. It wasn't madness. It was real. Her hallucinations were real. Zhao, he ended the call. The phone slipped onto the grass. He hugged his sobbing sister. His jaw clenched. Jiang Feng picked up the camp stool. He pocketed the analysis. 11 p.m. Wait, Zhao, he called out. Wait. Jiang Feng stopped, but didn't look back. Dr. Zhao let go of her. He strode over in a few quick steps. That Li Wenjie has issues too. Jiang Feng turned his head. He gestured with his chin towards where Li had gone. Check the surgeries he performed, especially the fatal ones. See if the cause of death actually matches the records. Cross-check missing person cases near the hospital. The veins on Zhao Yi's neck bulged. Thanks. Shouldering his canvas bag, he walked off in the midday sun. Once outside the gates of the psychiatric hospital. Chapter 20. I'm just on hot pot. No more readings. The 3-day downpour had finally stopped. When Jiang Feng woke, it was getting dark outside. Fumbling in the dark, he found his phone and hit the screen. Missed calls and WeChat messages. All from Zhao Yi. He was confirming Li Wenjie was in custody. Human specimens were found in his hidden basement. Jiang Feng tossed the phone back on the pillow. He reached up and touched the back of his head. That crushing pressure he'd felt for months had mostly lifted. His body was still lean, muscles a bit slack. But the suffocating weakness and verge of death were gone. Instead, a wave of raw, primal hunger hit his stomach. It wasn't post-chemo nausea. It was the visceral demand of his gut for food. Jiang Feng swung out of bed. On the back hung the black tackle jacket, infamous across the whole internet now. He didn't touch it. He grabbed a gray hoodie from the closet instead, pulling it on. Put up. Find a mask. Black frame glasses. Half an hour later, he walked into a downtown joint. An old-school hot pot place called Shu Jiuxiang. Primed in a rush. The room was roaring, a white fog rising from every table. Jiang Feng snagged a corner booth. Keyword order. 2 tripe, 1 goose gut, 1 pork aorta, half-pound fresh beef. Brown sugar rice cakes. The fiery red broth was bubbling up a storm. Jiang Feng grabbed a slice of tripe and dumped it in. 7 seconds. Dip in garlic sesame oil bowl. Crisp, tender, scorching, spicy. The fat slid down. He exhaled. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Now he felt alive again. You hear about that sick doctor they busted at the psych ward? Yeah, they're saying the divination guy pointed him out. For real? Does this dude live at the police station or what? He's everywhere. They're calling him Jiang the Oracle online now. I heard someone put a 2 million bounty on his address. Jiang Feng listened to the gossip about himself, while dumping the duck intestines into the pot. If these people knew the legendary Jiang Banxian, next door wolf down duck, guts greedily, they'd probably chug that entire pot of red broth on the spot. Grandma, I want that one. The long thing. A childish yet tyrannically demanding voice came from the next table. Jiang Feng froze, chopsticks clutching a duck gut strand. That voice, it sounded familiar. He tilted his head, peering through the gap in his hoodie. He saw an elderly woman and a little boy sitting at the next table. The old lady wore a plain cheapao, her hair silver white, and was wiping the mouth of a chubby little boy with a napkin. For brawny men were seated loosely around them. Only a clear broth pot and vegetables sat in front of them. Their eyes continuously scanned the surroundings. Mrs. Shun, and that money-scattering brat, Shun Xiaobao. Jiang Feng immediately ducked his head, his face nearly buried in the bowl. Just my luck. That's too spicy for you. Grandma Shun coaxed her grandson, try this shrimp paste. No, I want what that mister is eating. Shun Xiaobao hopped off his chair, His chubby finger pointed straight at Jiang Feng. Look how good that mister makes it look. I want that too. The eyes of several nearby tables shifted, following the trajectory of Shen Xiaobao's hair. Jiang Feng wore cap, his mask pulled down under his chin. He held the duck intestine, not sure whether to eat it or put it down. Shen Xiaobao ran over, gracefully at Jiang Feng. He stared at the churning chili oil in the pot and sniffled. Suddenly, he looked up, fixing his gaze on Jiang Feng's eyes for a few seconds. It's you, Shen Xiaobao yelled. You're the mister who touched my head. Jiang Feng's chopsticks trembled slightly. Is this the so-called natural talent of an apex explorer? An absurdly sharp memory. Xiaobao, don't run off. Grandma Shun walked over, leaning on her cane. She glanced at Jiang Feng, her gaze lingering on the exposed part of his eyes. The wrinkles on the old lady's face softened as she smiled. I thought it was too much of a coincidence. Grandma Shun sat down directly across from Jiang Feng, waving off the bodyguards who were about to rush forward. Young man, I've been looking everywhere for you these past few days. Jiang Feng sighed. He stuffed the duck intestine in, chewing hard. Since his cover was blown, there was no point pretending. He removed his glasses and pulled up his mask, hiding most of his face. Ma'am, I'm just trying to eat here. Jiang Feng's voice was a little hoarse. It's my off-duty time. Nearby diners, alerted by the noise, turned their heads one by one. Isn't that old Madame Shun? Who's that sitting across from her? Wait, even though that guy's wearing a hat. Someone pulled out a phone and aimed it this way. The Oracle. The exclamation detonated inside the restaurant. The usual chaos of the hot pot joint fell silent for a beat. Then, a louder, more explosive uproar erupted. Dozens of stairs pinned Jiang Feng in place. Someone rushed over, bowl in hand. Master, it's really the master. Master, an autograph. Master, give me the lottery numbers. Flashes blinded in a wave, camera shutters clicking nonstop. The four bodyguards immediately formed a protective circle, shielding Jiang Feng and the Shun family members. Jiang Feng stared at the scene. The beef on his plate lost all appeal. Back off. Clear the way. Old Madame Shun slammed her cane on the floor. What's the fuss about a meal? Keep filming, and I'll smash your phone. The old lady's fury kept the crowd from pressing too close, but they still held phones high, recording from the perimeter. Jiang Feng put down his chopsticks. Ma'am, this meal is over. He pulled a napkin to wipe his mouth. Thanks for your help the other day. No need for formalities. Old Madam Shun looked at him. About my grandson, you were right. I've had him follow the butler to buy groceries these past days. This little brat haggles harder than anyone. He spent half an hour haggling over a $2 scallion. Beside her, Shen Xiaobao puffed out her chest. That vendor tried to rip me off. The scallion leaves were yellow. Jiang Feng cracked a small smile. Master, someone shouted from the edge. Since we met, just give one reading, okay? I'll pay 100 grand. I'll pay 200. Jiang Feng stood up, glancing at the wall clock. 8 p.m. Sorry. Jiang Feng pointed at the clock. I believe I said I don't do readings outside working hours. He gestured to his own pale face. And I'm a patient. I need rest. After that, he pulled his hoodie lower, nodded to old Madame Shun. I'm borrowing your security detail. Old Madame Shun waved. See the master out. For guards cleared a path, physically forcing an opening through the crowd. Jiang Feng kept his head down and swiftly left the hot pot restaurant. The glass door slid shut, cutting off the chaos left behind. He stood at the curb, a cold gust hitting him, making him shrink back. This kind of public frenzy, it gave him a worse headache than chemo. He was about to hail a cab home. A cold, mechanical voice echoed deep in his skull. Jiang Feng stopped in his tracks. Right after dinner, a new assignment pinged. Jiang Feng closed his eyes. The system must have him under full surveillance. It always waits until he wants to clock out. At Starlight Media Tower, below the influencer base. Time window, 2,100 to 2,300 hours. Protocol, physiognomy scoring. Target, aesthetics, wealth, career. Mission, profile 3 clients. Provide a numerical score of corresponding analysis. Jiang Feng opened his eyes. Less than 500 meters away, the building loomed against the night. A colossal LED screen broadcasted a loop of the hottest female streamer's dance video. Beneath it, a swarm of micro-influencers clustered, phones in hand. Luxury cars cycled through the valet. The city's most superficial, fake place. Face scoring. He walked right into a firestorm of face-driven diners. Faces carved up by countless cosmetic procedures. He had to critique their looks and career paths. The system was trying to max out his aggro level. Jiang Feng rubbed his still empty stomach. Fine. He turned and walked towards the grotesque, glittering tower. Let's see what these beauty filters are actually hiding underneath. Chapter 21. Out of a perfect 10, you're a 3. Beneath Starlight Media Tower, a city that never sleeps. A giant LED screen covering the whole facade. Looped highly edited clips of top streamers. Aggressive neon bruised the skyline purple. The plaza was packed. Hundreds of tripods stood in a dense formation. A steel forest. Behind each one stood a girl with meticulously applied makeup, or a man in heavy foundation. Countless ring lights blazed, bleaching their faces in ghostly white. The cacophony fused into a single, crushing sonic wave. Fam, shout out to the #1 donor for the rockets. Follow the stream. Host takes you on a ride. Smash like 100k hearts. I'll do a handstand shower. Jiang Feng sat in the shadows by the flower bed. Police are punk, stopped screaming his act, and glanced sideways at Jiang Feng. He took 2 steps back, his eyes full of disdain. Jiang Feng ignored him. Finally, he produced a piece of cardboard. Taped to the step, score faces. Be brutal. Scale of 1 to 10. Packing up after 3 readings. The black marker scrawl was thick, aggressive. Whole setup reached intense effort. Jiang Feng unscrewed his face. Took a sip of water. 9:05 a.m. No customers yet. Everyone here is too busy performing for their cameras. No one saw the ghost pale fortune teller in the corner. Then a commotion erupted by the building's entrance. A few bodyguards in black suits shoved through the crowd, clearing a path. Move. Out of the way. A woman walked in the center, wearing a tight white slip dress. A pink fur coat draped over her shoulders. Her hair was classic, long, straight, and jet black. Her skin glowed eerily under the lights. This was Ninjiang. 15 million followers across all platforms. A top-tier streamer hailed as the pinnacle of innocent allure. Just off her stream, phone still in hand, conducting her wrap-up outdoor live broadcast. Guys, I'm so exhausted. Just left the building. Ninjiang spoke in a cloying, high-pitched baby voice for the camera. Swaying gently, she asked, "Want to see me remove my makeup?" "Silly, I'm wearing no makeup today." She passed the flower bed. Her peripheral vision caught Jiang Feng's stand. She stopped. Ninjiang stared at the crude cardboard sign, then looked at Jiang Feng, sitting there in shadows. That miracle calculator has been all over the net lately, even stealing some of her thunder. Time to ride that wave. Jiang winked at the camera lens. "Guys, look what I found. A master. I heard that super popular fortune telling guy is in our neighborhood. Could this be him? She adjusted her phone's angle, framing Jiang Feng into her shot. The stream's comments exploded. Whoa, black jacket, little stool. It really is that miracle calculator. Ain't it go? Make him read your face. Let him see what a real goddess looks like. And Jiang watched the scrolling chaos, the comments and rising views. She smirked on her 10-centimeter stilettos. She clipped her way in front of Jiang Feng. A thick wave of gardenia perfume assaulted his senses. Jiang Feng just raised an eyelid. Master, she smiled. Then Jiang bent down, her neckline dipping low, showing Jiang Feng her proudest assets. I heard your ratings are brutally honest. So, score this face for me. She leaned in close. Skin so flawless, not a single pore visible. Eyes so huge they almost filled her face. Out of a perfect 10. How many points do I get? Jiang's confidence was absolute. She's a goddess-tier beauty, a template for plastic surgeons. Nearby influencers stopped streaming and gathered around. Phone lenses zeroed in on the scene. Jiang Feng locked his gaze on that face. The system interface unfurled across his retina. Crimson wireframes traced the woman's facial contours. Data cascaded down like a waterfall. Bone structure scan complete. Jaw reduction. Osteotomy. Asymmetrical. 2 millimeters off. Silicone. Nose implant. Ear. Cartilage tip. Abnormal light detected. Eye work. Epicantoplasty. Cantoplasty. Double eyelid surgery. Thread lift shows heavy degradation. Full facial augmentation. Forehead. Temples. Apple cheeks. Chin. Hyaluronic acid overinjected. Migration tendency detected. True skeletal age. 42. The light in Jiang Feng's eyes dimmed. That seemingly flawless face transformed before him into a crawling, grotesque mask, cobbled together and barely holding on. 2 out of 10. Jiang Feng spoke, his voice low. Amid the square's noise, it cut through with brutal clarity. An smile froze on her face. The live chat comments halted for a single second. Then they erupted in a frenzy. 2. Is he blind? Anin is only a 2. Is this master a joke? Or just a cheap stunt for attention? LOL, what a joke, a 2. That's lower than my dog's score. Anin stood up. Her expression darkened, but she maintained that sickly sweet, coquettish tone. Master, are your eyes failing? Maybe the lighting's too dim here. She flicked her hair back. I'll give you another chance, okay? Take a good, hard look. Jiang Feng twisted the lid back onto his thermos. It clicked sharply. One more point would make you cocky. Jiang Feng pointed at her chin. The tip is crooked, and then subconsciously touched her chin. Your jaw's been ground 3 times. Nothing's left to cling to. Right now, follow up, read this, stretch the lid. The threads under your skin outnumber the loose ones on your dress. Jiang Feng's cadence was steady, devoid of any emotional fluctuation, like reading an autopsy report. In your spousal palace, Jiang Feng pointed to her temples. Overfilled. The filler compresses your nerves. You've had migraines lately. And most importantly, Jiang Feng stared into her eyes. You are 42 years old this year, and then trembled violently. Nonsense. She shrieked. Her sweet, affected voice vanished in an instant, replaced by a coarse, gravelly honk. I'm 18. I'm all natural. She turned the phone camera on herself. Chat, back me up here. This guy's a complete fraud. Where do I look 42? Jiang Feng didn't even flinch at her hysterics. Your bone density doesn't lie. Cervical osteophyte formation. Lumbar disc herniation. Caused by years of hunching over screens and wearing high heels. These 2 decades of accumulated. How much longer are you going to play the 18-year-old girl, ma'am? Jiang Feng glanced at the corners of her eyes. At the fine lines not even Botox could erase. Your 3 kids back home probably barely even recognize this face anymore, do they? The words hit her like a sledgehammer. And in Jiang's face drained of all color. A shade of gray-white, no foundation to cover. She had 2 daughters and a son. The eldest is already in college. It was her most guarded secret. One not even her management agency knew. You. And Jiang pointed at Jiang Feng, her finger trembling violently. Dead silence around them. D-list influencers gaped, phones hanging. The legend of the fortune teller is true. And Jiang saw the strange looks from the crowd. Chat flooded with insults and refund demands. Her sanity just shattered. She let out an ear-splitting screech, covered her face and bolted. Her heels clacked out a frantic rhythm. Mid-flight, one shoe went flying. She didn't stop. One bare foot. She stumbled frantically toward her parked van. Ding. Valid divinations. 13. The system status report chimed in his mind. Jiang Feng settled back onto his small stool. The brief quiet in the square was broken. Looking eyes of surrounding influencers who'd been watching for sport shifted. Sharks smell blood. If it was fake, they'd mock. If it was real, an all-seeing master. Master, look. Rate me. I'll pay. I need a star chart reading. Master, what's my score? Am I going to blow up? The crowd surged forward like a tidal wave. Countless heavily made-up faces crammed into Jiang Feng's view. Countless camera lenses pressed almost to his nose. Jiang Feng frowned. He caught a nauseating stench of raw greed. Chapter 22. The Competitive Eater's Last Supper. The crowd swelled. Hundreds of influencers scrambling to get to the front. We're already starting to shove. Chill. Move your fake rack. You stepped on my shoes. Limited edition. Master, pick me. I've got 3 million followers. Jiang Feng pulled up the hood of his tactical jacket, slipped on a surgical mask. His view was just jostling thighs and twisted, eager faces. Too loud, stench unbearable. He clutched the canvas bag. The folding stool let out a groan of protest under his weight. Jiang Feng's voice was hoarse as he addressed the line. Impatience edged in. If you didn't queue, you're disqualified. Not serious, disqualified. Too much surgery, disqualified. He pointed ahead. You with the nose job. Step aside, you're blocking the light. Your nose is reflecting it. I can't see the contract. The male streamer covered his nose and slunk away in disgrace. Jiang Feng's rules, however bizarre, lent him a strange authority amidst the chaos. The crowd reluctantly shuffled into a crooked, disorderly line. Just then, a massive shadow barreled through the line. Move it. Move. Big bro coming through. A man of enormous girth squeezed his way in. He wasn't tall, but he had to be well over 280 pounds. His t-shirt was stretched to the point of deformity. His gut hung over his belt like a giant medicine ball. His face was a greasy sheen. His skin a sickly, waxy yellow. This was Achong, the glutton, a competitive eater famous for guzzling obscene amounts of brutally spicy, raw marinated seafood. Achong was holding a half-empty bottle of baijiu, shouting at his live stream phone with a slurring tongue. Boys, today we ain't binge eating. We're getting fortunes told. If this master gives me a 10 out of 10, I'll down this whole bottle of liquor right here live. He shoved his way right up to Jiang Feng and plopped down on the ground, making the floor tremble. A wave of alcohol and sour, unwashed stench assaulted the senses. Frowning, Jiang Feng leaned back. Master. Achong let out a boozy burp, revealing a set of teeth stained yellow by tobacco. Name's Achong. Take a look at my face. Does it scream wealth and power or what? My follower count's been blowing up lately. Pulled 50 grand in donations just yesterday. He patted his prominent belly with pride. This is all fortune. A big belly means big luck, right? Jiang Feng looked at him. His bitter face flickered online once more. But this time, it didn't highlight any cosmetic alterations. There was only a massive death aura, black as ink. This miasma was concentrated in Achong's stomach, its edges festering, dark crimson, and it was spreading to the surrounding organs. His well sector, the nose, is indeed a healthy shade of red, radiating a huge agitated energy around money. But his health sector, the bridge of the nose, is broken. The lifeline meridian there has been completely severed. That's money earned by trading away his lifespan. Blood money. Jiang Feng muttered under his breath. Achong didn't catch it. A house. What house money? Yeah. I'm actually buying a house. Paying in cash. Jiang Feng didn't assign a score. Instead, he asked a completely unrelated question. What did you have for dinner? Achong froze for a second. Then he grinned sheepishly at the camera. Nothing special, really. 10 pounds of spicy crawfish, 5 pounds of red braised pork belly, 2 pounds of marinated raw crab, and this bottle of 120 proof by Joe. What mess are you hungry? I got pig trotters in the van. I can grab you a couple. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Just hearing that amount of food is terrifying. Jiang Feng stared at his still smirking face. Your score is negative, Jiang Feng stated. Achong's grin froze halfway. And negative? Master, how can a score be negative? You're dying soon. When those 5 words came out, silence fell instantly. Even the cloud chasers far off stopped their racket. They all turned their cameras on him. Achong froze. Then he smashed his bottle. Glass shattered everywhere. The smell of alcohol filled the air. You're cursing me. He stood up, his fleshy face twitching, eyes bulging like bells. I'm healthy. Just had a physical. Only fatty liver. Who doesn't have that? And you say I'm gonna die? He waved his fist around, looking ready to start fight. Jiang Feng sat there, completely unmoved. He raised a finger and pointed at the corner of Achong's mouth. The corners of your mouth are black. Spleen and stomach chi failure. Your lower esophagus is already severely corroded. Over 80% erosion. The stomach wall is thin as tissue paper. You literally stretched it to its breaking point. Jiang Feng's voice was ice cold. You don't feel the pain because your pain receptors. Your stomach's numb from alcohol, or maybe painkillers. Achong's face changed color slightly. He had, in fact, popped 4 ibuprofen before going live. Right now, your stomach isn't filled with food. Jiang Feng stared at his obese gut. It's filled with blood. Stagnant dead blood. All your money can't buy a new stomach. An inexplicable panic began to wash over Achong, but his ego couldn't take the hit. Watch me. Bottoms up. Bullshit. I'll show you right now. Bottoms up. I'll show you what an iron stomach looks like. He bent over to pick up the half-full, shattered bottle on the ground. He wanted to prove he was still standing strong. Jiang Feng watched his every move. Call 911. Pump your stomach. Stop the bleeding. By 2 years. Jiang Feng's voice landed like a final sentencing. One more sip, and this is your last supper. Achong snatched the shattered base of the bottle. He raised the glass, grinning. Screw you. I'll drink if I want to. He tilted his head back. The harsh liquor burned its way down his throat. Then, in an instant, Achong's body seized up. The bottle base slipped from his grasp and clattered away. A strange, wet rattle came from his throat. A heartbeat later, his sallow complexion drained to a deathly pale white. Then came a bluish-purple hue. The brutality once burning in his eyes was now replaced by absolute, concentrated agony and terror. He clutched his stomach. His knees buckled. He hit the ground hard. A torrent of dark, crimson liquid spewed from his mouth, splattering across the floor. It wasn't alcohol. It was blood. Blood mixed with stomach contents. Help me. Achong reached out a blood-soaked hand. He grasped at air, vomiting blood. And his body collapsed like a mountain of dead weight. He convulsed, stilled. He's dead. He's coughing up blood. He's really bleeding out. Streamers gasped in terrified silence. The crowd quickly backed away. Only a few braver souls kept filming with their phones, their hands trembling violently. Jiang Feng simply sat there, staring down at Achong's fallen form. He didn't move to help. It wasn't cold-bloodedness. He knew it was already too late. This was cause and effect he had brought on himself. The wail of ambulance sirens pierced the distance. The hospital was nearby. Someone had already called it in. Paramedics rushed over, loading Achong onto a stretcher. His grotesquely swollen belly quivered with every shake of the gurney, looking like a balloon about to burst. All that remained on the ground was a horrifying pool of dark blood. The shattered bottle silenced everyone. No one would ever mistake this for a stage stunt for views again. The way they looked at Jiang Feng. On dread. No act. This was a pronouncement of doom. Jiang Feng didn't acknowledge anyone. He glanced at his phone screen. 10:58 p.m. A soft chime echoed. Successful readings. 23. 1 remaining. The crowd kept 10 meters away. Nobody dared to step closer. Jiang Feng's brow furrowed, his task unfinished. He stood to seize the initiative. He was about to ask if anyone else wanted reading. Right then, a black Rolls Royce pulled up silently at the curb. The license plate with a row of 8s. 8888. The door opened. A middle-aged man in a bespoke suit, flanked by 4 bodyguards, stepped out. Chapter 23. Clock out on time. Even God himself can wait. The temperature dropped a few degrees. The pool of blood Achong left behind was still wet. A cloying, metallic scent drifted up from it. The middle-aged man didn't look at the blood on the ground. He ignored the influencers, frozen in fear with raised phones. He walked straight toward Jiang's phone. His leather shoes clicked sharply against the tiles. He was Li Chung, the major shareholder of Starlight Media, the building's owner, a billionaire capital titan. He had watched the entire incident from his penthouse window earlier. From Aninchan's breakdown to Achong's collapse. A shrewd businessman, he believed only in profit, not God's. But now he had a problem. The company's IPO was stalled. Top streamers canceled. Cash flow was strangling him. He needed a definitive answer, even if that answer came from the occult. Li Chung walked up to the stall. He looked down at Jiang Feng. Master. Li Cheng's voice was steady, carrying his habitual, commanding authority. I own this building. I saw what happened. You got some skill. He waved his hand. A bodyguard behind him produced a check. Li Chung held it between 2 fingers. He placed it on a dusty little folding table, in front of Jiang Feng. 10 million. Master, please come upstairs for tea. Li Chang said, "Give me reading on company's luck and my personal prospects over the next few years." A wave of choked gasps rippled through the crowd. 10 million, just for tea and a reading? That was more than most people could earn in several lifetimes. 4 tips of a few $100 were sick with envy. Was this the treatment a true master got? All eyes were fixed on Jiang Feng. No one would turn down that kind of money. No one would dare refuse Boss Li to his face. Jiang Feng looked down. He was looking at his phone. The digits on the screen were flickering. 2259. 2259, master. Li Chang frowned. He thought it was enough. 20 million. Li Chang slid another check forward. As long as reading is accurate. From now on, you'll be Startle Media's Feng Shui consultant. Name your annual salary. This isn't just money. It's a class upgrade. Jiang Feng finally looked up. He glanced at Li Chang. But a reading takes at least a minute. There's no time. Per system protocols, the mission window closes at 2,300 hours. Once the window closes, he's just another fraud without a shred of real talent. A street-level con artist. Jiang Feng pocketed his phone. He reached out and took the 2 checks. A faint smirk tugged at the corner of Li Chang's mouth. No one ever walks away from money. Take them. Jiang Feng pushed the checks back toward Li Chang. Li Chang's smirk froze. What's this supposed to mean? Means I'm not taking your money. Jiang Feng stood up. He bent down and folded the 4 corners of the blue cloth. He put the sign away. Your tea is too pricey. I can't afford it. Besides, Jiang Feng pointed at the digital clock on a building in the distance. The numbers just flipped to 2,300 hours. Clock out time. Jiang Feng swung the canvas bag over his shoulder, tucked the beat-up camp stool under his arm. I got a hard rule. When it's time, it's time. Even if God comes. He turned down 20 million because his shift ended. A reason so absurd it was laughable, yet so staggering it left him speechless. Li Chang's face darkened. For years, he'd bent this city to his will. No one had ever dared to slap his ego like this. Not enough. Li Chang stepped forward, blocking Jiang Feng's path. Young man, no one sees a chance. I'll pay you double for the overtime. For bodyguards closed in, forming a human barricade. The tension ratcheted up to a breaking point. Jiang Feng stopped walking. He looked at Li Chang, his gaze eerily calm. Mr. Li, Jiang Feng spoke. It's not that I hate money. I'm just surviving. Your brow shadowed. The feng shui grid in this building has already collapsed. No amount of cash can plug that hole. Li Chang's heart lurched, missing a beat. What? Come back tomorrow for a reading. Jiang Feng reached out and nudged aside a bodyguard blocking his way. The guy was a 6'3" wall of muscle. But that seemingly effortless nudge from Jiang Feng made him step aside involuntarily. Jiang Feng pushed through the crowd without a backward glance. A slender silhouette, it cut through the crowd like a blade. Li Chang remained rooted to the spot. He crushed the 2 rejected checks in his fist. The paper snapped in the wind. He gave no chase. That young man's parting words has struck the deepest, most visceral fear inside him. This building's feng shui is ruined, known only to him. Boss, the lead bodyguard asked in a low voice, signaling retreat. Li Chang turned, staring at the vanishing silhouette of Jiang Feng. His eyes were unreadable. Track him. Find where he lives. I want him in my office first thing tomorrow morning. Jiang Feng shook off any potential tales. He took 3 detours before returning to his place. He tossed the canvas bag onto the sofa and collapsed. Exhaustion. The system had enhanced his body, but this kind of high-intensity mental drained him completely. The mission's over for today. Progress. 2/3. Unfinished. Saved. Alert. The host may continue the remaining. Divination tomorrow during the same time block. Jiang Feng let out a long, deep breath. The task didn't need to be finished within a single calendar day, just within the specified time window. He checked his banking app. That number chain remained, plus the Shun family's payment. And various rewards, he was officially loaded. But staring at the empty room, at the untouched, now soggy cup of instant noodles on the table, that familiar void crept over him again. He had the money. He bought himself more time. But this life still felt like a ghost's. Jiang Feng stood up and walked to the window. The city outside was still a blaze of glorious lights. He touched the back of his head. The tumor, there was like a sleeping beast. Quiet for now, but could wake at any moment. Gotta treat myself better. Jiang Feng looked at his reflection in the glass. Time for some serious retail therapy. Chapter 24, The City Blockade. I'll sleep in then. Dawn at number 1 Cloudcrest Estates had no birdsong, only the low hum of idling engines. Li Chang never went home. He stood by the stone lion at the main gate. The cigar in his hand burned down to the stub. Ash fell onto his custom Italian leather shoes. Behind him, a line of 20 black sedans sat waiting, part bumper to bumper. They sealed all 3 exits with airtight precision. 2 men in black suits stood at attention beside each vehicle, dark sunglasses on, hands folded in front. The manager stood in the booth, gripping his walkie-talkie. Sweat beaded on his forehead. He didn't dare call the cops. Li Chang is the boss of Starlight Media. More importantly, he's a notorious heavy hitter in this territory. The group chat was going crazy, so tried to leave for work. The men in black suits politely but firmly escorted them back inside. The sole reason given, ensuring the master's safety. The security chief walked over and reported in a low voice. We checked it out. That Jiang Feng lives in Building 5, Unit 502. He hasn't left since last night. No deliveries, no takeout. Li Chang flicked his cigar, but away. He crushed it under his shoe, grinding it in as he glared. Li Chang said, I don't believe he won't come out. The moment he shows his face, whether for groceries or trash. Invite him into the car. Li Chang raised his wrist and glanced at his watch. 8 a.m. The sunlight was becoming harsh. Li Chang pulled a bottle of Evian water from the car. He opened it and drank. He was waiting. Last night, that man refused. His $20 million check. He said he was off the clock. Playing hard to get. Li Chang had seen this act a million times. The young guy thinks he's a hot commodity, trying to drive the price up. Or maybe he wants something worth more than money. Like face. Li Chang is giving him plenty of face. These 20 cars. These dozens of men. This is the spectacle of power. In Building 5, Unit 502, the blackout curtains were drawn shut tight. The room was dim as night. Jiang Feng rolled over in bed. The pressure from the brain tumor peaked in the early morning. It felt like someone had poured mercury into his skull. He grabbed the painkillers and dry swallowed 2 pills. His phone vibrated under the pillow. Not a call, the alarm. Jiang Feng dismissed the alarm. He knew exactly what was happening downstairs since last night. He noticed the tail, but he doesn't care. Right now, he's just a terminal late-stage brain cancer patient who could drop dead at any second. What's the point of going down there? To get himself killed? Jiang Feng covered his head and slept. Downstairs, Li Cheng went from standing to sitting. His men had brought over a sun umbrella and a folding chair. The sun climbed higher. The asphalt began radiating a scorching, pungent smell. 10 a.m. noon. 2 p.m. Li Cheng's shirt was drenched through, clean to his back. That air of effortless control was slowly peeling away, replaced by a restless agitation. He kept checking his watch. 6 hours. Not a single twitch of the curtain in that window. The crowd of onlookers kept swelling. Passers-by snapped photos. Live streamers swarmed in, setting up their broadcasts right across the street. How big is Jiang the Mystic's ego? Just for one meeting. The hashtags were climbing the charts. Li Cheng's face was turning ashen. He intended to back Jiang Feng into a corner. Now he was the one in a citywide fishbowl. It was a goddamn farce. And he was the pathetic clown begging on stage. Knock on the door. Li Cheng bit out the words. The security head hesitated. Sir, security's tight here. If we force our way in. I said knock. Li Cheng snarled. Tell him my patience has limits. Just as the two guards moved to breach the building entrance, a blaring siren ripped through the air. WEO, WEO. A white ambulance, lights blazing, screeched to a halt in front of the complex, driving against traffic. The blocking driver in the black car didn't react in time. The ambulance showed zero sign of slowing down. It crunched right into the first car's front bumper. Move! Emergency! The driver's aggressive roar burst from the ambulance speaker. Li Cheng shot to his feet. The black cars were forced to clear a path. The ambulance barreled through, stopping right at Building 5. 5 minutes later, a stretcher was rushed out. Jiang Feng was on it. His signature tactical jacket was gone. He was in that old, gray hoodie instead. Oxygen mask on his face, eyes tightly shut. His complexion was paper white, lips completely bloodless. No act. Starving all day, intracranial pressure spiking. His current state required zero performance. 2 doctors in white coats pushed the stretcher, their steps swift. Move. Clear the way. A doctor shouted. Li Cheng rushed forward. Jiang Feng. Li Cheng blocked the stretcher's path, reaching out to grab Jiang Feng's arm. Don't play dumb with me. 20 million isn't enough. What's your price? The stretcher stopped. Jiang Feng didn't open his eyes. The doctor beside him stepped forward, positioning himself between him and Li Cheng. A middle-aged doctor in his 40s. Gold-rimmed glasses, badge reading emergency department chief. Jiang Feng had paid top dollar for this guy. From a private hospital. What are you doing? The doctor barked. I need to speak with him. Li Cheng pointed at Jiang Feng on the stretcher. He's faking it. Faking it. The doctor sneered. He pulled a CT scan from his pocket. Slapping directly at his Li Cheng's chest. Glioblastoma, stage 4. Severe intracranial hypertension. He could herniate at any moment. Just try touching him. If he dies here, that's premeditated homicide, and you're on the hook. Li Cheng froze. He grabbed the scan. He couldn't read the images, but the diagnosis on the report was explicitly clear. Anaplastic glioma, terminal stage. Recommend palliative care. Li Cheng looked at the man on the stretcher. Gone. Face hollowed out to nothing, breathing barely a thread. Hardly breathing. No grandmaster. This was a dying man. Every live stream camera in the vicinity zoomed in on the scene. Comments went wild. I have a question. Li Cheng's voice dropped low. Another time, the doctor shoved Li Cheng aside. We're resuscitating right now. Move. The doctor and nurse wheeled the stretcher around Li Cheng, making a rapid dash for the ambulance. A wheel clipped the curb. The stretcher jolted. Jiang Feng's brow furrowed slightly. A low, pained groan escaped his lips. Li Cheng stood frozen in place, watching the ambulance's rear doors slam shut. Sirens blared. The ambulance tore through the crowd blocking it, and screamed away. Li Cheng gripped the CT scan. His knuckles went white. He had lost. He could use money to blast open anyone's mouth. Can't pry open a dead man's mouth. Inside, the somber doctor from earlier exhaled in relief. He took off the glasses and wiped the sweat away. Boss, how was the acting? The doctor asked. Jiang Feng opened his eyes. He removed the oxygen mask and sat up on the stretcher. Not bad, Jiang Feng said. Had $2 grand. Thank you, boss. The doctor's face split into a broad grin. So where to now? Back to the hospital? Jiang Feng glanced at the cityscape blurring past the window. 3:30 p.m. Sun blazing. Skip the hospital. Jiang Feng rubbed his wrist, where the 4 line was still inserted. He yanked it out directly, pressed the wound. Head to the 4S shop. Doc froze. Buying a car? This stretcher's too hard on my back. Jiang Feng rolled his neck. His spine cracked grimly. Got work tonight. I need to buy a car where I can make money lying down. Chapter 25. I'll pay in full. Most expensive. This place is a cluster of luxury brand dealerships. The Mercedes Star logo rotates. The Porsche glass curtain wall glares back. The ambulance didn't stop in front of those showrooms. It combined Lexus and Toyota. Jiang Feng jumped out. He was still wearing that hoodie. On his feet, bare slightly misshapen. A band-aid on his hand, his face still pale. Thanks. Jiang Feng waved at the ambulance driver. The ambulance drove off. Jiang Feng stood for minutes. Glasses were still cold air blasting. The showroom was quiet. The salespeople, dressed in sharp suits, were clustered together in small groups, chatting. Seeing Jiang Feng walk in, no one came forward. In this line of work long enough, salespeople develop an eagle eye. Jiang Feng's entire outfit didn't clock in at over $200. He looked like he'd just survived a major illness. Nothing about him screamed a potential buyer. Just some moocher or mechanic. Jiang Feng didn't care. He was exhausted. That act just now drained a lot of his energy. He walked straight to the center of the showroom, where a massive black MPV was parked. The Lexus LM, also known as the king of market adjustments. This car isn't about cost performance. It's about status and comfort. Jiang Feng pulled the sliding door open. The interior was a 4-seat layout. Rear only had 2 massive captain chairs, separated by a huge privacy screen. He sat down. The seat was soft, the leather supple. Jiang Feng pressed a button on the armrest. Seat recline, massage on. Huh. Jiang Feng let out a long sigh. Back pain eased. What are you doing? A sharp rebuke came. A man with slick back hair, whose badge read sales manager, approached quickly. He frowned. Sir, this is a showroom model. No one sits in it. The manager pointed at the door. And if you dirty this car, you can't afford the detailing bill. Get out. Now. Jiang Feng didn't move. I want a glass of water. Jiang Feng said. I want some water. Jiang Feng, I said. Water? Convenience store outside, right? We don't do free water here. Security, get security. 2 guards moved in from the distance. But just then, a young woman, fresh out of school by the looks of it, shuffled over, cradling a paper cup. She looked timid, swimming in a slightly oversized uniform. Sir, water. She handed him the cup. It was warm. The supervisor shot her a death glare. Xiaolu, who told you to stick your nose in? Bringing a guy like him ruins it for real clients. The girl just stared down, but her hand stayed put, holding out the cup. Jiang Feng opened his eyes. He took the cup and let the liquid run down his throat. Warm. Good. Got this in stock? Jiang Feng spoke directly to the girl. She blinked, caught off guard. Oh, why yeah, one left. But it's marked up and there's a wait list. This one. Jiang Feng patted the seat beneath him. I don't mind. Let's just get this over with. The supervisor let out a wet laugh. Buddy, you got any idea what this costs? Pushing 2 million on the road. What? You running a fever? Delusional? Jiang Feng set the cup down. He rummaged around in his pocket for a moment. The supervisor and guards folded their arms, watching, waiting for the punchline of whatever this clown pulled out. Jiang Feng pulled out a black card. No fancy designs, just a sequence of gold digits. He slapped it down on the center console. A sharp, crisp crack. Swipe it. Jiang Feng locked eyes with the supervisor. Calm, dead-eyed. Full payment. Get the paperwork. I'm on a tight schedule. The air froze for 2 seconds. The supervisor stared at the card inside the car. He couldn't even place the bank it was from, but you couldn't fake that kind of material. Xiaolu scrambled to grab the card. Yes, sir. I'll get the machine. A minute later. Beep. The POS machine churned out a long receipt. Transaction approved. 2.15 million. His face went a sickly purple. Jaw dropped. Nothing came out. He just dropped over 2 million. No haggling. It sent a shock wave through the showroom. The manager sprinted out of his office, his jowls jiggling. Oh, an honored guest. Truly honored. He shoved the guys on the supervisor's side, plastering on a greasy smile. He leaned in. Sir, apologies. I'm a manager. Terribly sorry for the disrespect a moment ago. Please forgive this. Let's fast-track the paperwork. Jiang Feng didn't even look at him. He pointed at the young woman who was still in a daze, Xiaolu. Put the commission under her name. He nodded nonstop. No problem. Absolutely. Xiaolu, handle the paperwork for him. And make it quick. Xiaolu's hands were shaking with excitement. This commission exceeds her annual salary. One more thing. Jiang Feng straightened up. I don't have a driver's license. Do you provide a driver service? The manager hesitated for a moment. We usually only cover interior and maintenance. I'll pay the salary. Jiang Feng said. 20,000 a month. Needs. Quiet. Steady driver strong. If I pass out, they must carry me to a hospital. In the corner, a security guard organizing riot shields looked up. He was a middle-aged man, crew cut, dark skin, a scar running across his temple. Even in the uniform, his demeanor was clearly different. Sharp. I could drive. The guard walked over. The manager moved to snap at him, but Jiang Feng raised a hand to cut him off. Military service? Jiang Feng asked. Reconnaissance. Discharged. Just call me Old Chun. The man's voice was a low gravel. What be you driven? Rigs, cars, tanks, armored carriers. Jiang Feng smiled. You're hired. Jiang Feng tossed the car keys to Old Chun. Quit this job and follow me. You start tonight. Old Chun caught the keys smoothly. Without a word, he peeled off his guard uniform, revealing a black tank top stretched taut over corded muscle. 1 hour later, twilight was settling in. A brand new black Lexus LM pulled out of the industrial park, still unregistered. Temporary plates on display. Jiang Feng was sprawled in the back, holding a burger and coke that he just sent. Old Chun to buy. The cabin was dead silent. Soundproofing was impeccable. The chassis absorbed every bump. It felt like gliding. Destination boss? Old Chun gripped the wheel, eyes straight ahead. Jiang Feng took a bite of the burger. The calories gave a bit of strength. Starlight Media Tower. Jiang Feng glanced at the time on his phone. 8:30 p.m. 30 minutes until the mission window opens. It's not over yet. Jiang Feng swallowed. One final reading. Since Mr. Li is so desperate to know his future, let's go lay it all out for him. Old Chun didn't ask why. He pressed the accelerator, and a huge vehicle merged into rush hour traffic. Chapter 26. This isn't fortune-telling. It's a public execution. The plaza outside Starlight Media was packed tonight, because Li Cheng had cordoned off the entire area. Jiang Feng had rejected him last night, but he was absolutely certain Jiang Feng would show up. He recognized that look. It was the look of a businessman keeping a hook in the deal. The outer perimeter of the square was cordoned off with police tape. Last night's influencers were stuck. Outside, phones raised. Center cleared. Only a mahogany tea table and 2 antique armchairs remained. Li Cheng sat in one of them. He palmed walnuts, guards behind. An intimidating display of force. Boss, he's here, a guard muttered. A black MPV glided into the square. No police escort, no motorcade. Just that single vehicle, moving with the weight of an army. Crowd parted. Car stopped 5 meters away. The sliding door opened automatically. Old Chun got out first, wearing that black tank top, his muscle definition razor sharp. He set a stool by the passenger side. Then Jiang Feng stepped out, half a cup of unfinished cola in his hand. Still in that old hoodie, still looking unwell. But under the headlights, there was an eerie sense of detachment. Li Cheng stood up. Master Jiang. Li Cheng offered a cold, insincere smile. Quite the grand entrance. Nice car. Jiang Feng ignored him completely. He walked over to that small folding stool and sat down. This move was a direct snub, ignoring the priceless antique chair Li Cheng had prepared. The height difference forced Li Cheng to look down at him. Risk what? Mr. Li, Jiang Feng finally spoke. Drop the theatrics. Your tea table is too high. I prefer to look people in the eye. A muscle twitched at the corner of Li Cheng's eye. Right there, in front of everyone, he actually ordered the tea table and chairs removed. His men brought over a cheap, identical plastic stool. Li Cheng sat down opposite Jiang Feng. Flashes from cameras went insane. 2 men, worlds apart in status, were now sitting in the middle of the square, like 2 old men playing chess on the curb. Master Jiang, Li Cheng lowered his voice. Last night you said my building's feng shui was broken. I cleared this square today to hear your expert opinion. Money's no object. Just fix this mess for me. Jiang Feng looked at him. 100 hours, mission time. The system interface unfolded before Jiang Feng's eyes. A massive holographic architectural model overlaid the real Starlight Tower. Red warning cursors flashed frantically on the model's foundation and structural support columns. Mr. Li, Jiang Feng's voice picked up by the mic. On Li Cheng's collar, broadcasted. No feng shui. Feng Shui can't save you. Jiang Feng raised his hand, pointing to the skyscraper behind him. I'm reading the omens of a collapsing giant. Li Cheng sneered. Alarmist nonsense. Hong Kong's top Feng Shui master designed this building's energy grid. Jade belt embraces the waist, storing wind and gathering chi. A master can't grid, he yarned. Jiang Feng pointed directly at Li Cheng's face. Your palace's red turns purple, a sign of stagnant energy. It indicates your latest massive fortune came from a dirty source. It reeks of blood. Your children's palace has a clean horizontal break across it. An architectural physiognomy. The children's palace aligns with the southwest load-bearing pillar. Jiang Feng's voice suddenly turned razor sharp. That pillar is cracked, isn't it? The walnuts in Li Cheng's hand hit the ground with a sharp crack. His pupils contracted. That was confidential. Yesterday afternoon, the engineering department reported a structural crack in the southwest parking garage corner to avoid IPO audit risks. He ordered immediate blackout. Crews worked overnight to seal it, behind decorative panels and wallpaper. Only he and the head engineer knew. How the hell could Jiang Feng know this? What the hell are you talking about? Li Cheng shot to his feet, his voice cracking. My building's integrity is absolute. It passed all inspections. Jiang Feng sat on a small folding stool, looking up at him. Past inspection, Jiang Feng smiled. The smile was cold. When this tower's foundation was laid, to save time and cut corners, you used substandard rebar. The piles are short by 5 meters. To cover it up, you ran off the foreman who wanted to blow the whistle. Then you staged a little accident. Now that crack isn't a bad aura. It's a physics problem. Foundation subsidence. Uneven load on the shear walls. Jiang Feng held up 3 fingers. 3 days. If you don't reinforce it, within 3 days, this building will suffer a structural collapse. This isn't business, Mr. Lee. This is thousands of lives. You face prison, not a warning. Complete silence. Only the sound of wind howling across the plaza. Millions in a live stream held their breath. This wasn't fortune-telling. This was a live public execution. This was grinding Li Cheng's face into the dirt. Cut the stream. Turn off the live stream. Li Cheng roared, lunging for the nearest cameraman. The bodyguards surged forward, snatching phones from influencers nearby. Let's see who dares move. A thunder shout exploded through the air. Old Chen planted himself like an iron tower in front of Jiang Feng. No weapon in his hands. Just a single punch. The lead bodyguard flew back 2 meters. Police. Freeze. Sirens blared from the perimeter of the square. It wasn't because Li Cheng had called them. It was Zhao Yi. He'd been watching the live stream the whole time. The moment he heard the words thousands of lives and accident, he knew it was disastrous. Cops swarmed the square. The situation under control in seconds. Li Cheng collapsed on the ground. He stared at Jiang Feng. His eyes were filled with pure terror. The capital connections and tactics he'd always flaunted collapsed and disintegrated before this young man's few words. Jiang Feng didn't spare him another glance. A system chime echoed in his mind. Ding. Target lock. Li Cheng. Psychological defenses shattered. Crimes exposed. Valid divinations confirmed. 3 of 3. Congrats, host. Task complete. Reward settling. Reward. Brain malignancy reduced by 10%. Remaining lifespan increased by 60 days. Cash reward acquired. 5 million. A surge of cool energy swept through his body. Constant, frothy agony rooted deep in his brain. Ebbed away like the tide. Breathing became effortless. Even his vision sharpened considerably. Jiang Feng stood up. He folded the camp stool and tucked it under his arm. Time to clock out. Jiang Feng clapped Old Chen on the shoulder. Under the complex stares of cops and civilians alike, the two ducked back into the black Lexus. The door closed, sealing out all the chaos outside. Jiang Feng leaned back and closed his eyes. Where to, boss? Old Chen asked. Home, Jiang Feng said. I'm tired. Chapter 27, Settlement Reward. I want my house. The door closed, sealing out all the chaos outside. Jiang Feng leaned back and closed his eyes. Where to, boss? Old Chen asked. Home, Jiang Feng said. I'm tired. The black Lexus glided silently out of the crowd, merging into traffic. Tires rumbled over a manhole. Only the faintest tremor ran through the chassis. Jiang Feng didn't open his eyes. Half an hour later, the car halted at Cloud Top No. 1's gate. The head guard on duty peered out, registered the license plate. Ramrod straight, he jogged out. Officer salute fourth hood, that wasn't exactly regulation. He raised the barrier arm. The car glided in. Jiang Feng opened his eyes. I caught a glimpse of the security guard through the window. The lieutenant was still bowing. That's how the ruling class works. Lao Shen's voice drifted from the front seat, flat and steady. Jiang Feng said nothing. The car pulled up outside Building 5. Jiang Feng pushed the door open and got out. He stepped in the elevator and pressed the button for the 5th floor. The elevator mirror reflected a face, pale and drained. Back in 502, he tossed the camp stool and canvas bag by the door. He locked the door. No lights. He collapsed onto the bed. He switched to airplane mode. He dropped it onto the carpet. Finally, the world went quiet. Exhaustion washed over him like a tide. Jiang Feng plunged into a deep dream slowly, oblivious to the storm raging outside. While he slept, the internet went wild. Next morning, headlines were all one story. Starlight Media sealed for violations. Chairman Li Cheng detained for criminal investigation. Inside sources reveal the southwest corner of Starlight Tower. Steel failed code. Structure broke. Starlight shares hit limit down. Delisting procedures have been initiated. A small local story spread quietly. City Homicide Division confirms last night's public disturbance was triggered by a tip from a concerned citizen. Every article used the same photo, a still from that viral live stream. In the footage, a young man in a worn hoodie was sitting on a small camp stool, calmly facing a billionaire worth tens of billions, and delivering that earth-shattering verdict. If you don't reinforce it in 3 days, this building will suffer a structural collapse within 72 hours. It had all come true. He destroyed a company with a word. The nickname John the Oracle was now set in stone. The bounty for tracking down Jiang Feng online escalated from Granny Shun's personal favor to cold, hard cash put up by countless tycoons and power brokers. Someone offered $50 million just for one reading. Others were willing to trade company equity just for a face-to-face. The management office at Cloud Top 1 was getting flooded with calls, all asking for information on the occupant of Unit 502, Building 5. And the man at the center of it all, Jiang Feng, was still dead to the world. He had no idea how much time had passed. Jiang Feng was woken by hunger. He opened his eyes. Pitch black. Day or night. Unclear. He sat up. Something fell off. He took an experimental breath. Air flowed freely through his chest this time. That stone-like pressure on his lungs was gone. His lungs worked. He could even smell dust in the air. The dull, chronic headache had vanished, replaced by lucidity he hadn't felt in a long time. Jiang Feng stood up and walked to the window. He yanked open the heavy black curtains. Outside was dust. The orange sunlight flooded in without the usual pain. He rolled his neck, and the vertebrae cracked with clear crisp. Just then, a familiar chime echoed in his mind. Ding! Starlight Plaza mission. Perfect. Massive positive societal impact. Calculating rewards. Congratulations, host. Cellular activity in the brain reduced by 15%. Remaining lifespan increased by 90 days. Congratulations, host. Cash reward of 5 million acquired. A stronger heat surged from his spine's base. It flooded through his limbs, scouring every bone and muscle. Jiang Feng let out a comfortable grunt. He picked up his phone and turned off airplane mode. The phone started vibrating like it was having a seizure. Hundreds of missed calls, thousands of texts, and notifications. Jiang Feng didn't even look. He cleared them all. Right now, he only wanted one thing. He changed, put on a cap and mask, and walked out. Half an hour later, outside a trendy bubble tea shop downtown, Jiang Feng took a huge gulp of his sweet iced bubble tea. Sweet with tapioca slid in his throat. God, that's good. Since getting sick, even water made him nauseous, let alone this. He leaned on the railing, watching crowds, sipping his tea. This feeling was better than earning a few million. After finishing the tea, Jiang Feng's mood had considerably lifted. He took a cab home. His phone rang as he got out. It was an unknown number. Jiang Feng swiped to answer. Hello, is this Master Jiang? Mr. Jiang? A voice dripping with obsequious flattery came through the speaker. Who's this? Master Jiang, I'm your landlord. Huang, about your place. What's up? Jiang Feng stepped into the elevator. It's nothing important. It's an unknown number. Jiang Fenghua answered the call. Hello, is this Master Jiang? Mr. Jiang? An incredibly fawning voice came from the other end. Who is this? Oh, Master Jiang. I'm your landlord, Huang. Is there an issue with the apartment? Jiang Feng stepped into the elevator. No problem. Just letting you know, stay as long as you want. Seriously, don't even mention rent. The landlord's voice was dripping with sycophancy. Consider the place a gift. My tribute. Whenever you're free, I'll bring the deed over. We can transfer the title right away. Giving away a multi-million-dollar luxury property. Jiang Feng coldly pressed the close button. No, please, master. No charge. It's just, my business has hit a rough patch recently. Just a couple of pointers. 2 sentences. I'm busy. Jiang Feng added, and I'm terminating the lease. Keep the deposit. I'm moving out at the end of the month. No, master, don't move. Your presence here is a blessing. I'm begging you. Jiang Feng hung up without another word. He stepped out of the elevator, staring down the corridor at his apartment door. This place is compromised, from security to the landlord. Everyone knows he lives here. Soon, even taking out trash will be dangerous. He needed a place where no one knew him. 0 interruptions. Jiang Feng went back inside, opened a real estate app on his phone. He skipped past all the apartments and townhouses. Set a single filter. Detached villa. Big yard. Top-tier security. A development called Dragon Lake Estates in the western suburbs popped up. The tagline read, 1 home, 1 forest, 1 residence, 1 world. Jiang Feng tapped on an aerial shot. Every villa was shrouded in dense woodland. Widely spaced apart. Maximum privacy. He dialed the sales number listed. Yeah, I want to see a property. Yes, sir. Your name and budget? Now, Jiang Feng walked to the window. His eyes tracked the furtive figures already gathering below. I'll be there shortly. Before leaving, Jiang Feng casually picked up a small mirror from the table. His reflection looked much healthier. No longer that deathly, ashen pallor, but his gaze fixed on the center of his brow in the mirror. What was once clear in the system's diagnostic view was no longer so. A faint, yet unmistakably sharp, black line had materialized like a hairline fracture. Not a pathogen, not a hostile aura, an omen. Unquantifiable. Jiang Feng's mouth twisted into a bleak smile. Figures. The system's gifts aren't free. Like rent. The longer you stay, the steeper the cost. The next mission won't be so easy to bluff through. Chapter 28. The house hunting fiasco. Why is it so damn cold in here? Boss, heading out? Olchin stood in the living room doorway, dressed in a new black tracksuit. Yeah, buying a place. Jiang Feng grunted in response. The black Lexus LM pulled out of the underground garage. Old Chun drove smoothly. The only sound inside was the hum of the AC. 40 minutes later, we stopped at Longhu Villas. The sales office was a faux classical Chinese courtyard. 2 stone lions flanked the gate. The attendant, spotting the unlicensed Lexus LM, jogged over quickly. Bending down, he pulled the car door open. Welcome to Longhu Villas. Jiang Feng got out, wearing a mask and a baseball cap. A female sales manager in a pencil skirt and blazer approached him. Hello, sir. I'm Wang Qian, the sales manager here. You're the one who just called, correct? Yeah. Jiang Feng nodded. Show me the house. I want the most isolated one, far from neighbors. Wang Qian's expression flickered with surprise. Clients usually pick lots with prime locations. Top feng shui. Seeking seclusion is a first. She recovered instantly. Of course, we do have one. That fits your requirements perfectly. She led Jiang Feng and Old Chun onto an electric sightseeing cart. The cart weaved through the trees, bypassed a few artificial lakes, and stopped at the tip of a lake peninsula. A Chinese-style villa stood before them. White walls, black tiles, and a large courtyard completely overgrown with weeds. Long untended, it hugged the lake on 3 sides, with only one access road. Sir, this is the one. Lakeview Residence. Wang Qian took out a key and unlocked the carved wooden door. A damp, chilly draft rushed out to meet them. Old Chen stepped forward, placing himself protectively in front of Jiang Feng. Jiang Feng patted his arm and walked in by himself. The house was a bare shell. Bare concrete walls, floors, with lake-facing windows. Due to the angle of the light, the interior was somewhat dim. Jiang Feng took a breath. Cold air hit him, instantly numbing his headache. Excellent location. The land is about half an acre, with a floor area of 13,000 square feet. Wang Qian followed in, rubbing her hands together. It's just, this house comes with a bit of story. Jiang Feng turned to look at her. All the previous owners of this house. Wang Qian lowered her voice. Had things go wrong for them. The first owner was an internet company CEO. Within 6 months, his company went bankrupt. The second owners were a married couple, deeply in love. 3 months later, they started divorces. They lost everything in court. The last owner bought it, but never lived here. Heard they hired a master. Being energy here destroys wealth and breaks families. They tried to flip it immediately, but no one had the guts to take it. Wang Qian finished, watching for a reaction on Jiang Feng's face. Normally, I never tell a client any of this, but she saw they weren't ordinary people. She didn't dare hold back. Jiang Feng just laughed. He's not on a mission now. He can't calculate feng shui, but he has money, and this energy, it eases his symptoms. How much? Wang Qian froze. Sir, did you not understand what I just said? This house is bad luck. I asked how much. Jiang Feng repeated, his voice flat. The asking price was 100 million. Previous owner wanted it gone. He listed it for 50 million. Never sold. Current listing price is 30 million. Wang Qian gave a number. 8 million. Jiang Feng raised 8 fingers. Full payment. Right now. Wang Qian's jaw dropped. For a moment, she couldn't close it. Sir, are you? Is this a joke? 8 million won't even cover construction costs. Then no deal. Jiang Feng turned to leave. He just felt comfortable here. Not like he had to buy it. Ah, sir, wait, please. Wang Qian rushed after him. This unit was the dead weight of the entire development, sitting like stone around their necks for years. Maintenance fees were bleeding them dry. If she could sell, even at a loss, it'd be a major win for her. Sir, 8 million is too low. I can't make that call. I need to get approval from our director. You have 5 minutes. Jiang Feng stood in the yard, looking out over the lake. 3 minutes later, she hung up the phone and ran back. Sir, our director, our boss approved it. 1 hour later, all contracts were signed. Jiang Feng swiped his card. 8 million. Wang Qian stared at the transaction receipt. Still in a daze. $100 million mansion. Sold off for a song. The villa was about to be handed over to Jiang Feng. Wang Qian and her team left, falling over themselves with gratitude. Lakehart Peninsula fell silent. Only Jiang Feng and Lao Jun remained. Sunset light slanted through windows, shadows stretching across the floor. Jiang Feng walked into the cavernous living room, and in the very center of it lay down. The cold of the concrete floor seeped through his t-shirt, tempering the fever burning inside him. He pillowed his head on his arms and stared at the ceiling. No mission, no patience, no watching crowds, just through foam and the sound of his own breathing. This is perfect. No scheming, no pretending. If a problem comes up, just throw money at it. So this is the simple joy of being rich. Old Chun, the boss, walks in carrying 2 takeout boxes. I grab a couple of box meals. Jiang Feng sits up on the floor and crosses his legs. The 2 of them are right here in this vast empty hall, sitting on the concrete floor, eating 15 yuan box lunches. Old Chun and Jiang Feng dig into the rice. Yeah, here. Jiang Feng transfers some money to Old Chun with his phone. Old Chun's phone chimes. He pulls it out to look. His hand trembles. Transfer amount, 100,000. Boss, this is way too much. Old Chin's voice is a little dry. Buy some furniture. Jiang Feng says, beds, sofas, tables, chairs. Only one standard. Soft. The softer, the better. Whatever's most comfortable. Money's not an issue, but this body of mine can't handle anything hard anymore. Old Chin looks at Jiang Feng's pale face. He pauses, puts away his phone, and eats. Evening. Old Chin brings a large air mattress. He sets it up in the master bedroom. Jiang Feng takes a shower and lies down. This is the most peaceful sleep he's had in months. In the dead of night. Ding dong. The doorbell suddenly rings. It's jarringly out of place in the empty villa. Jiang Feng opens his eyes. Old Chun has already silently appeared at the bedroom door. A wrench in his hand, fished out from the car's toolbox. I'll go check. Old Chun says, his voice low. Together. Jiang Feng gets out of bed and throws on a jacket. The 2 walk to the foyer. On the security monitor, 2 people are standing at the door. Silver-haired old woman, leaning on a dragon cane. Next to her, a little boy in a small suit and bow tie. It's old Madam Shun and Shun Xiaobao. Old Chun glances at Jiang Feng. Jiang Feng frowns. He walks over and opens the door. Master Jiang, sorry to intrude. Congrats on the new home. Old Madam Shun says with a smile. Shun Xiaobao pokes his head out from behind the old lady, surveying the interior. Touch your head, uncle. Your place is huge. But how come there's nothing here? Is something wrong? Jiang Feng blocks the doorway. Relax. Old Madam Shun taps the ground with her cane. The Shun family owns this developer. You bought. I knew. She drops her smile and leans forward. Her mouth close to Jiang Feng's ear. I didn't come here to offer congratulations. She whispered, hinting at something very odd. Chapter 29, new assignment. This time, it's academic. Something strange. Jiang Feng leaned against the doorframe, not letting her in. Jean Haiyu's been unsettled. Old Mrs. Shun's voice was so low only the 2 of them could hear it. At the library, a few students had psychotic breaks. They all said they could hear pages turning on their own at night. She paused, watching Jiang Feng's face. Not my concern. Jiang Feng dismissed it. I'm not a private investigator. I know. Old Mrs. Shun smiled slightly. The Shun family is Jean Hai University's largest benefactor. I don't want this escalated, affecting the centennial celebration. Look into it, and the west suburb Hot Spring Valley is yours. Just transfer it to your name. Jiang Feng said nothing. Shun Xiaobao slipped out from behind the old lady, handed over a photo. It was a young girl. Sweet smile, in a graduation gown. That's my granddaughter. She's a student there too. Old madam, let me say it again. Jiang Feng pushed the photo back. I don't freelance. You know my rules. She watched him, long and steady, then took the photo. Sighed. Fine. She turned, leaning on her cane. I'll leave you. A cargo van rolled out from the villa's tree-lined drive. Stopped at the courtyard gate. Several workers hopped out, opened the cargo hold. Inside was a complete, brand-new Wang Wally desk and chair set. Intricate carvings, who had gleamed subtly in the night. Consider this a housewarming gift for the master. Old Mrs. Shin didn't look back. The master enjoys peace and quiet. This desk set is a perfect match for your study. Jiang Feng stared at the antique furniture. Old English. I prefer soft seating. Arrange a time for it to be returned. He spoke to Old Chin's back. I understand. Old Chin's spine stiffened. The truck drove off. Old Mrs. Shun's Rolls Royce disappeared into the night. No other sounds disturbed the lakeside peninsula. Jiang Feng closed the door, ready to head back to catch up on sleep. Then, that familiar electrical crackle sparked deep in his mind. Jiang Feng's step stopped. He closed his eyes. A sharp throb pulsed at his temples. New assignment location. Jinhai University Westgate, directly facing the library. Time, daily, 7 to 8 a.m. Method, academic osteomancy. Futures, paths, research fraud. Objective, receive 3 clients and expose the truth. Jiang Feng opened his eyes, staring hard at the time slot. Daily, 7 to 9 a.m. He pulled out his phone and glanced at the time. 2 a.m. 5 hours from now, he needs to be standing at the university gates. 8 a.m. classes. Jiang Feng practically spat the words through gritted teeth. This damn system is dragging me to Jinhai University. He kicked the shoe cabinet by the door. It didn't budge an inch. A searing pain shot through his toes. 6:30 a.m. The sky was still dim, a gray haze over the city. A black Lexus was parked on the road across from the west gate of Jinhai University. The heater inside the car was blasting. Jiang Feng, wrapped in a thick, long black down jacket, had shrunk himself into the back seat captain's chair, motionless. Boss, it's time. Old Chen's voice came from the front seat. Jiang Feng didn't move. Boss. Jiang Feng pulled his down hood even lower, leaving only his eyes exposed. I'm dead, he said, his voice hoarse. Old Chen paused, unbuckled his belt, and walked back. He opened the door. Freezing air rushed in. He bent down, reached directly beneath the down jacket, and hauled Jiang Feng up by his arm. He lifted him right out of the seat. Jiang Feng let out a miserable cry. Murder. Old Chen shoved the small, paint-chipped folding stool into his arms, and then handed him a sheet of A4 paper and a roll of clear tape. Work time. The cold wind sobered Jiang Feng right up. His mind flicked with slush. He looked at the tall stone school gate across the street, yawned, and tears welled up at the corners of his eyes. He didn't set up his stall in the usual way. He swayed as he crossed the road, walking up to the tall thinker statue in front of the school gate. The base of the sculpture was marble. Jiang Feng tore off a piece of tape. Slap. He stuck the A4 paper onto the statue's thigh. The paper had a few lines printed in bold font. Academic consulting. Specializing in confusion, failed classes, extended graduation, advisor problems, publication issues. If predictions are inaccurate, tuition will be refunded. Done. He unfolded his small stool at the statue's feet and sat down. Then he zipped the down jacket all the way up, pulled the hood tight, stuffed his hands in his pockets, curling into a ball. Only his eyes were left exposed. 7 o'clock sharp. More students gradually appeared, heading to early classes, riding shared bikes or clutching soy milk and steam buns. They were all in a hurry. Every single person passing the statue would glance at the weird paper and the person wrapped up tightly beneath it. Whoa, check that out. Performance art? Or a new club recruitment thing? Academic consulting? Is that guy insane? This early in the morning, Jiang Feng listened to the chatter. He hid deeper into his collar as a guard approached. Came over, swinging a rubber baton. He tapped the statue. Hey kid, what are you doing? Jiang Feng looked up. He fumbled a crumpled cigarette from his pocket and offered it over. The old man paused for a second. He knew the brand. Zhonghua, top shelf. Sir, Jiang Feng's voice was muffled by the down jacket. Waiting for someone. He pointed to a black Lexus. Family's making me build character. My girlfriend studies here. Waiting for her to get out of class. The guard followed his gaze. No plates, but the car was clearly expensive. Then he glanced back at Jiang Feng's clothes. Sloppy, sure, but that jacket was Canada Goose. Nodding, the old man tucked the cigarette behind his ear. Don't linger near the statue. Looks bad. Move along soon. As soon as she gets here. Jiang Feng did not reply. The old man just gripped his baton and resumed patrol. He burrowed his head back into the hood of his jacket. Minutes passed. Students gawked, then lost interest. Some took photos for the forum. Breaking. Fortune teller at Westgate claims to fix failing grades. Scam or publicity stunt? Anyone want to take one for the team? A reply came in fast. Wait, that outfit. That little camp stool. Isn't that Jiang, the semi-seer from online? No way, for real. What's he doing at our school? Let's go. We can see him IRL. The thread exploded with replies. Even the original skeptics found themselves stopping to linger, clustering at distance and pointing, whispering. Jiang Feng frowned. He'd specifically switched to a different down jacket today. Didn't think he'd still be made. Guessed that little camp stool was too much of a signature. Master, is that really you? A bold female student shouted out. Jiang Feng ignored her. All he wanted was to finish and go home to sleep. Just as the crowd began to thicken, a young man shoved his way in from the edges. He was mid-20s, give or take. Thick, flat lens glasses. His greasy hair was clumped into stringy locks. A wrinkled plaid shirt clung to his frame. His complexion was sallow. Sunken eyes, spiritless. He wasn't here for the spectacle. His hair was locked on a sheet of paper taped to the statue, pacing endlessly back and forth, hands in pockets, fingering a hard rectangle. He started towards Jiang Feng a few times, only to retreat again. Finally, he clenched his jaw and crossed the gap. The crowd moved closer to Jiang Feng. The chatter around them died down. The young man kept his head down, unable to meet Jiang Feng's eyes. He pulled a crisply folded piece of paper from his pocket. It was a withdrawal form from Jinhai University. The young man's voice was dry and hoarse. I saw your sign. He held the withdrawal form out to Jiang Feng. Can you calculate whether I should still be chasing this PhD? Jiang Feng looked up. As he turned his gaze on the young man, the system interface unfolded before his eyes. Before he could make out any specific details, Jiang Feng noticed only one thing. The man had a naturally prominent frontal bone and straight brow bones, the classic academic savant bone structure. It signaled smooth academic sailing and sharp intellect. Yet his entire face was shrouded in a thick, dark gray miasma, reeking of decay. Chapter 30. This PhD feels like a prison sentence. Jiang Feng watched him. The withdrawal form was still clutched in the young man's hand, its edges growing damp and soft from the sweat of his palm. The murmurs around them grew louder. No way, dropping out of a PhD? For real? I know this guy. Lu Wei from the physics department. Super genius. Even the genius broke. How did they grind him down? Jiang Feng ignored the surrounding noise. The system panel had materialized in his vision. Name, Lu Wei. Bone structure, parietal protuberance. Extended intellectual line. Academic savant apex. Talent assessment. S rank in academic research. Status, psychologically suppressed. Creatively sterile. Undergoing targeted fortune drain. Jiang Feng finished reading the system panel and returned his gaze to Lu Wei's sallow face. Sit. Jiang Feng pointed to the ground at his own feet. Lu Wei froze for a second. He glanced at the small folding stool Jiang Feng was sitting on, then at the cold marble floor, and didn't move. Sit here, across from me. Jiang Feng added. Lu Wei's lips twitched. In the end, he said nothing, and obediently sat down on the ground opposite Jiang Feng. He curled his legs up, hugging the withdrawal form to his chest. The posture made him look even smaller and more helpless. Give me your hand, Jiang Feng said. Lu Wei hesitantly extended his right hand. It was a scholar's hand, with long, slender fingers, yet grime under his nails. A thin callus on his hand. These aren't from a pen. They're for manual labor. Jiang Feng didn't touch his hand. Instead, he leaned forward, placing his bony fingers directly on the back of Lu Wei's skull, the occipital protuberance in physiognomy. Is your advisor going bald? Jiang Feng rose his. Lu Wei's head snapped up. Behind his glasses, his eyes were wide with shock. His smile drags down a dark mole by it. On his left cheek, near the nostril, Jiang Feng continued, his fingers moving slowly across Lu Wei's cranium. H, how do you know that? Lu Wei's voice trembled. The profile was too specific. It was the exact description of his advisor, Wang Jianhua. Because he's been siphoning your momentum. Jiang Feng withdrew his hand, pocketing it. You have a resilient pine stature. Born to be a pillar. He has the form of a parasitic vine, meant to be choked by climbing vines drained dry, and the pine withers. For the last 3 years, haven't all your gains become his fertilizer? Lu Wei's breathing turned ragged. He remembered the countless all-nighters, running experiments, processing datasets, drafting manuscripts. Every single time he brought his findings to his advisor, Wang Jianhua would immediately eviscerate him with a verbal lashing, declaring the work to be worthless. Then, a few days later, his research concepts and data would inevitably surface, with his advisor as corresponding author. His own name buried deep in the author list. Or not there at all. That recent paper of yours on quantum tunneling effect. You've finished it, haven't you? Jiang Feng stared right at him. Lu Wei's pupils constricted violently. He was the only person who knew about that. That paper was his 3-year masterpiece. Top journal material, but he didn't dare submit. Terrified his advisor would steal again, he hid the paper on an encrypted hard drive. He lied, saying the experiment hit a bottleneck. No progress at all. He said my hypothesis was flawed. Told me to switch directions. Lu Wei's voice cracked. He's not asking you to switch directions. He's asking you to hand him the ripened fruit yourself. Oh, smile at Jiang Feng's mouth. You're not a PhD. You're a work-release prisoner, doing unpaid labor for a con man. Those words finally broke through Lu Wei's defenses. This man, typically silent and withdrawn in the lab. He suddenly clutched his head. Years of suppressed sobs burst out. He wanted to drop out. He'd even thought about jumping from the library roof. He believed he was just useless, that he had failed everyone's expectations. But it was never his fault. Don't drop out. Jiang Feng's voice cut through. He reached out and pulled a withdrawal form from Lu Wei's grasp. Lu Wei lifted a tear-streaked face, staring at him in confusion. Jiang Feng offered no explanation. He took that paper, dense with all of Lu Wei's despair, and folded it methodically once then again, shaping it into a paper airplane. With a flick of his finger, the plane wobbled into flight, landing softly on a distant lawn. Your empathy trigger just activated. Jiang Feng looked at Lu Wei. Don't hide that paper any longer. Submit it tonight. Send it to the German Applied Physics letters. Response in 3 days. Go north. Not here. Leave this blood-sucking advisor, and you'll soar. Lu Wei listened in a daze. 3 days? Top journals take months. Germany. He never even considered submitting overseas. He said nothing, just sat on the ground, burying his face, in his knees, wailing. 3 years of bitter grievance. But mostly it was release. Ding. Valid divination count. 13. A system status report chimed in his mind. Jiang Feng tugged at his collar, drawing his face deeper into the warmth. Damn cold. The crowd of onlookers stood in silence. They watched the doctoral student crying like a broken child, then looked at the impassive young man. He burrowed in, emotions surging. So this was the Jiang Banxian. He didn't lecture or expose weaknesses. Pure reverse gaslighting. Crying for minutes. Lu Wei got his feet. He didn't look back at Jiang Feng. He scrubbed his face with a sleeve. Eyes red, he left, steps lighter, but charged with determination. He was going to gamble on himself. As Lu Wei vanished around the corner, the crowd stirred back to life. Master, give me a reading. Will I pass? Calculus is killing me. What do I do? A swarm of students rushed forward. Jiang Feng simply buried his head even lower. Just then, a booming voice cut through the crowd. Young man. Jiang Feng lifted his tired eyes. An old man in a gray tracksuit and plain running shoes stood beside him. He looked around 60, silver-haired, but bursting with keen vitality. He'd been doing his morning exercises nearby and had witnessed the whole scene from start to finish. Coercing someone to betray their mentor? That's low. The old man clasped his hands behind his back, looking Jiang Feng up and down. The surrounding students fell into a hush upon seeing him. A few even whispered, "Good morning, Chancellor." Jiang Feng's gaze landed on the old man's face, then drifted down to his feet. I call it showing him the light. Jiang Feng yawned, replying lazily. Also, old-timer, your shoelace is untied. Watch your step. Don't fall and get a concussion in your age. Chapter 31. The Chancellor. Maybe you should tie that shoelace. The old Chancellor ignored his words, and his fatigued face. He bent down, and under the crowd's puzzled stares, picked a paper off the ground. It was a page of scribbled notes that had fallen from Lu Wei's pocket when he was distraught, densely covered in formulas and derivations. The Chancellor unfolded it, smoothed it out, and scrutinized it. The students held their breath. I don't understand physiognomy. The Chancellor looked up, his gaze landing back on Jiang Feng. He asked calmly, but I know physics. What makes you so certain that if he submits this paper to that German journal, he'll hear back within 3 days? That question yanked the atmosphere back from mysticism to science. Everyone stared at Jiang Feng, awaiting his answer. A rational query, and a trial by authority. Jiang Feng shifted inside his puffer jacket, inching his face out just a fraction. His voice came out muffled. Because his paper is good enough. He paused, as if gathering his thoughts. And because that journal's editor-in-chief has been grinding on this exact problem for the past 2 years, with 0 breakthroughs. He's desperate for a high-impact article to solidify his academic standing. The Chancellor's eyebrows rose a fraction. Did your physiognomy tell you that too? No. Jiang Feng's answer was unexpected. I was bored last night. Read on a physics gossip forum. Fortune telling's just metaphysics. But forum posts? That's InfoWar. The room fell silent instantly. Whoa. Information warfare? That's a sharp term. So the master combines fortune telling with intelligence analysis? That's next level prestige. I told you, right? Even metaphysics needs a scientific foundation. A few literature students had already whipped out their notebooks. They'd even thought a title. The semiotic significance of metaphysical symbols in modern information dissemination. Jiang Feng ignored the whispers around him. Internally, he groaned. Here comes the hustle again. Still, this old man's a lot more palatable than the guy trying to bribe his way in yesterday. At least he didn't start by throwing cash around. He noticed the watch on the old man's wrist. An old model. The leather strap was frayed at the edges, but the brand was a custom Swiss piece from decades ago. This told him the man was sentimental, but practical. After listening to Jiang Feng's explanation, the old principal froze for a moment. Then he burst into hearty laughter. Interesting. A truly interesting young man. He carefully folded the scrap of paper and tucked it into his pocket. Master, look at me, look at me. With the principal laughing, the mood in the room instantly relaxed. The students started getting restless again. Principal, Jiang Feng's voice cut through again. He extended a single finger from his oversized sleeve and pointed at the old principal's feet. Your shoelace. The principal's laughter died. He looked down. The untied lace on his right shoe was still dragging on the floor. The wear pattern on this right shoelace
比左脚的严重很多。江峰的声音不大，却清晰地传进每个人的耳朵里，说明您走路的时候习惯性的用右脚先发力蹬地。最近右膝盖不太舒服吧？所以才下意识改变了走路的姿态。全场鸦雀无声。如果说刚才分析论文是信息战，那现在这个就是纯粹的观察和推理了，细致入微，令人头皮发麻。我劝他背叛师门，是因为他那个导师在偷窃，这叫止损。江峰的声音平静，却字字诛心。我让您系鞋带，是因为你是这所学校的顶梁柱。您要是摔了，学校的气就散了。江峰终于抬起头，露出了藏在帽子阴影里的眼睛。这不叫迷信，这叫风险管理。风险管理这4个字像一颗子弹，精准地击中了在场所有人的认知。原来算命还能这么解释，这哪里是封建迷信，这简直是把 MBA 的案例分析课搬到了校门口。老校长脸上的笑意彻底消失了，取而代之的是一种深深的审视。最后，那审视又化为了欣赏。他看着江峰看了很久，然后他什么也没说，只是再次弯下腰。这一次，他慢慢地、郑重地系好了自己的鞋带，一个标准的蝴蝶结拉得很紧。直起身，老校长对着江峰郑重地点了点头。他没再开口，转身背着手汇入晨练的人流，慢慢走远了。校长一走，压在学生们头上的那股无形气场也随之消散，人群像炸开的锅，瞬间沸腾。大师，轮到我了，我出500，我出1000，大师就给我看看毕业能不能找到工作。学生们的热情比刚才高涨了100倍，一个个挥舞着手机扫码界面往前挤。江峰把头又缩回了羽绒服里，准备装死。让一让，一个清脆又带着几分傲慢的女生像一把剪刀剪开了嘈杂的人生。人群被一股力量推开，一个女生挤到了最前面。她穿着一身剪裁得体的白色香奈儿套装，裙摆下是笔直修长的小腿，妆容精致的一丝不苟，连头发丝都散发着金钱的味道。她的目光里满是毫不掩饰的鄙夷，身后还跟着2个同样气质的男女，显然是一个小圈子的核心。女生抱着双臂停在江峰的小马扎前，居高临下的看着他，像是在看一堆路边的垃圾，装神弄鬼。他的声音不大，但足够让周围的人听清。你这么能算，算算我能不能进学生会主席团？他扬起下巴，红唇勾起一抹讥诮。算不准，我今天就让你在金海大学的论坛上出名。第32章，学生会的水可比你的论文深。李雪站在摊位前，手里晃着手机，身后一男一女2个跟班文生掏出手机，镜头对到江峰脸上，录像红点闪烁。江峰把羽绒服领子往上拉了拉，只露眼睛在外，视线扫过李雪，一行行数据在空气中浮现。骨相眉骨过高，压制田宅；气色子女宫卧蚕，晦暗纯白血虚；天赋评定表演型人格 B 级，当前状态众叛亲离，潜伏期身败名裂，即将触发。数据隐去。江峰盯着他的眉毛，纹得太直，眉尾拉得太长，而且压得极低，直接盖住了田宅宫。眉低压目，加上高耸的颧骨，典型的劳碌命，也是典型的送财童子。开始吧。李雪打开香奈包，抽出张红票子，手指一松，纸币飘落在江峰脚边水泥地上。算准了，归你；算不准，你就对着镜头大喊3声我是骗子。围观人群发出嘘声。江峰没看地上的钱，手从兜里抽出来，在小马扎底下摸索半天，掏出个掉漆的保温杯，拧盖，吹气，喝水。想问能不能进主席团哪儿？江峰嗓音有点哑。李雪皱眉，很不爽这种被忽视的感觉。外联部部长，他下巴一点，虽然已经内定了，但我就是想听听你怎么变。江峰放下杯子，进不去。他又补了一句，别说部长，干事都没你的份。语气平的像在念说明书。李雪没吭声，后面那个拿手机的男生先嗤笑一声，搞笑呢？上学期校庆500万赞助，学姐一个人拉了一半，这种业绩，外联部部长除了他还能给谁？另一个女生附和，就是整个学生会谁不知道学姐多拼？你一个摆摊的懂个屁！周围人开始嘀咕，这好像是金融系的李雪，家里有矿，我也听说了，他爸是校董，这摊主踢铁板上了。李雪双手抱臂，等着江峰出丑。江峰把保温杯盖好，塞回屁股底下，能力确实强。李雪刚要张嘴，江峰接着说，但人不行。他指指李雪的脸，颧骨高耸无肉，这叫孤峰独耸，刻薄难服众。李雪脸色一沉，还有这眼角的纹路，全是烂桃花。江峰竖起3根手指，最近同时吊着3个男生，挺累吧？现场顿时没人说话了，那2个跟班互相对视一眼。江峰继续，物理系的那个帮你写马哲论文。江峰掰下1根手指，体育系的那个负责占座买饭，又掰下1根。计算机系的那个最惨，为了你的竞选 PPT 熬了3个通宵。 李雪往后退了半步，抓着包带的手指发白。这些备胎互相都不知道对方存在，他管理的滴水不漏，这人怎么知道？这叫私德有亏。江峰拍拍手套上的灰，学生会要的是形象代言人，不是时间管理大师。你的竞争对手已经把你这点破事整理成文档，发给指导老师了，哪来的证据？李雪嗓门拔高，语音。江峰咳了一声，掐着嗓子模仿：哥哥最好了，没你我可怎么活呀？围观的人哄笑出声。江峰恢复正常嗓音，人家计算机系的懂技术，全录音备份了，说是防一手，所以别想主席团了。江峰看着他，先想想怎么写检讨吧。李雪僵在原地，早晨碰到那个死对头，对方看他的表情确实不对劲，既不是嫉妒，也不是挑衅，纯粹是看笑话。嗡嗡，包里的手机突然狂震，李雪浑身一抖，慌乱去翻，手一滑，手机啪的摔在地上，屏幕朝上亮着光，备注显示张老师，学生会指导老师。李雪盯着屏幕一动不动。啊！李雪尖叫一声，扑过去抓起手机，按掉电话又疯狂回拨，踉踉跄跄往外跑，高跟鞋差点崴了脚。两个跟班迅速收起手机，低着头钻进人群溜了。周围几十号人没一个出声，视线全集中在江峰身上。叮，有效算卦次数23。江峰搓搓手，弯腰捡起那张100块，弹了一下纸币，折好塞进内兜。第二卦搞定。人群还没散，让让，借过。外面传来喊声，有人用力扒开围观人群，硬挤了进来。是个穿篮球服的高个男生，满头大汗。他冲到摊位前，双手撑膝，喘的话都说不利索。大师，大师！男生抬头，满脸极汗，眼眶发红。帮我算算，我女朋友去哪了？第33章，大师，我女朋友好像被鬼抓走了。男生的吼声带着哭腔，回荡在刚安静下来的校门口。阳光正好驱散了晨间的最后一丝薄雾。李雪的闹剧刚刚收场，围观的人群还没从那种颠覆认知的震惊中回过神，这个满头大汗的篮球服男生就成了新的焦点。他很高，超过1.9米，但此刻却弓着背，双手撑着膝盖，胸口剧烈起伏，像一头搁浅的鲸。噗！人群里不知谁先笑出了声，这又是哪个系的活宝？演小品呢？还被鬼抓走了？他当这是拍聊斋啊？我看就是情侣吵架，这男的戏也太多了。议论声此起彼伏，带着毫不掩饰的嘲弄。刚才江峰揭露李雪老底时，他们是敬畏，现在他们觉得是来了一个哗众取宠的。江峰依旧缩在羽绒服里，只抬了抬眼皮，系统视野在他眼前展开。男生的头顶气运很正常，没有半点晦暗，只是夫妻宫，也就是眼尾的位置，缠绕着一缕极淡的清气，像是沾上了一抹水彩。极恶宫，也就是山根鼻梁处，光洁平整，没有丝毫损伤的迹象。夫妻宫清气缠绕，主惊吓、口舌。极恶宫无损，无血光之灾。江峰收回视线，人没事，就是蠢。不过看这气色，不像单纯的情侣吵架，我没开玩笑。篮球男直起身，通红的眼睛扫过周围的人群，声音因为激动而破音。我女朋友叫苏月，昨晚在图书馆自习，11点多的时候给我发微信，说听到书架后面有怪声。她掏出手机，屏幕因为手抖而晃动。她说像是指甲刮墙的声音，然后就给我发了一个救命的表情包，然后就失联了，电话不接，微信不回。我找了一晚上，宿舍也说她没回去。我怀疑她被图书馆那个传说中的鬼给抓走了。图书馆闹鬼的传说在京海大学流传已久。她这么一说，人群的哄笑声小了下去，一些胆小的女生甚至下意识地抱紧了胳膊。我听学姐说过，好像真的有怪声，别自己吓自己，学校都辟谣多少次了。江峰没理会那些传言，他现在只想赶紧算完这最后一卦，然后回去补觉。你们最近吵架了？他问。篮球男愣了一下，摇头摇得像拨浪鼓。没有啊，我们感情好得很。我昨天还去校门口那家网红店排了半个小时的队，给他买了他最爱喝的那个什么芝芝美美。江峰没说话，换了个问题，他最近有没有跟你抱怨过什么？抱怨？篮球男挠了挠头，努力回忆着，好像抱怨过，说图书馆总有人占座，还说自习室里有考研的翻书声音特别大，吵得他看不进去。哦对了，他一拍大腿，他还说总有一个戴眼镜的变态偷看他，他都快烦死了。江峰听着，在宽大的羽绒服袖子里伸出一根手指，又一根，最后停在3根，3个关键信息点：占座的、翻书的、戴眼镜的，足够了。他站起身，这个动作让所有人的目光都集中了过来。江峰拍了拍羽绒服上并不存在的灰，动作很慢。你女朋友没被鬼抓走？篮球男的眼睛里瞬间燃起希望。那他在哪？江峰伸手指了指不远处那栋高大的红砖建筑，他现在在教务处。篮球男傻眼了，教务处？江峰点头，写检讨呢。这3个字像一道惊雷，劈得篮球男外焦里嫩。周围的学生也全都懵了，失踪了一晚上，结果是在教务处写检讨，这是什么神展开？写检讨？篮球男的声音都结巴了。为什么？江峰看着他，像是看一个地主家的傻儿子。昨晚他嫌旁边一个考研的哥们翻书声音大，提醒了几次，对方可能看得太入神，没理他。然后他一气之下就把你排了半个小时队买的那杯芝芝美美。江峰拖长了声音，全倒在了那个哥们的书上，还有他的笔记本电脑上。全场死寂，只有风吹过树叶的沙沙声。篮球男的嘴巴慢慢张开，大的能塞下一个鸡蛋。他想起了女朋友苏月平时温柔可人的样子，怎么也无法和这种泼妇行为联系在一起。这不可能。他喃喃自语，人家那哥们是贫困生，省吃俭用攒了好几个月才买的电脑，现在主板烧了，几百块的专业书也全毁了。江峰的声音没有一丝波澜，却像一把锤子，一下下砸在篮球男的心口。现在人家正拉着你女朋友在教务 务处要求赔偿，顺便实名举报他恶意破坏他人财物。至于那个救命的表情包，那不是求救，是他干完坏事之后觉得很解气，发给你炫耀的。还有，江峰最后补充道，那个总偷看他的变态就是被他泼奶茶的那个受害者，人家不是变态，人家只是高度近视，不戴眼镜，连黑板上的字都看不清。真相大白，反转来的太快太猛，也太有戏剧性。篮球男整个人石化在原地，脸上的血色迅速褪去，变得青一阵白一阵。他引以为傲的温柔可爱的女友，在他不知道的地方竟然是这样一个形象。人群中终于有人忍不住爆发出惊天动地的笑声，这笑声像会传染。我靠，人才啊！这他妈是碳基生物能干出来的事，这反转比我看过的任何一部电影都精彩。心疼那个考研的老哥，更心疼这个篮球哥啊！这是被人当枪使了还不知道。篮球男在铺天盖地的嘲笑声中，身体晃了晃，像是随时都要倒下。江峰没有再看他，他的脑海里机械音准时响起。叮，有效算卦次数33。叮，3卦任务完成，正在结算奖励。恭喜宿主，脑癌细胞活性降低10%，剩余寿命增加45天。恭喜宿主，获得现金奖励300万。早起的疲惫和寒意一扫而空，江峰舒服地眯了眯眼，他弯腰把那个掉漆的小马扎折叠好，夹在腋下，然后他走到那尊思想者雕塑前，慢条斯理地撕下了那张打印着学业咨询的 A4 纸，揉成一团，精准地扔进了10几米外的一个垃圾桶里。做完这一切，他在众人混杂着敬畏、同情和狂热的目光中，转身悠哉地走向马路对面那辆黑色的雷克萨斯。老陈已经拉开了车门。上车前，江峰停下脚步，回头看了一眼那个还呆立在原地怀疑人生的篮球男。他想了想，开口：“小伙子，这恋爱谈的比高数还难懂，好自为之吧。”第34章，我只想低调，实力不允许啊！龙湖山庄观湖居，落地窗前，阳光照进客厅，工人们已经撤走。老陈指挥着最后2人，把一张白色软沙发摆在客厅中央。别墅里添置的家具都以柔软舒适为标准。江峰现在一张6位数的意大利云朵沙发里，整个人被柔软的填充物包围。他左手拿着冰可乐，右手刷着手机。金海大学的校园论坛已经爆了，置顶的帖子里，他坐在思想者雕塑下的照片被 P 成了各种恶搞图，有的给他 P 上佛光，有的身后 P 上天兵天将，还有的直接把他 P 成了一条锦鲤。拜江神不挂科，转发这个江半仙，你的导师下周就给你改论文。江神语录：风险管理，信息战，好自为之。江峰划过那些帖子，灌下一大口可乐。我只想续命，怎么就成了锦鲤了？他自语道。想在这个信息时代保持低调太难了，江峰现在只想安安静静没人打扰的待着。脚步声从楼梯上传来，老陈脱掉了黑色背心，换上一套灰色运动服，但肌肉轮廓依旧分明。老板，老陈走到沙发旁，站得笔挺。门口有几个人被我劝走了。江峰应了一声，从沙发缝里探出头，看向窗外。别墅院门外，一个扛着摄像机的男人正一瘸一拐地爬起来，他旁边的女主播在捡地上摔碎的手机，他们那台崭新的直播支架扭曲变形，报废了。江峰收回视线，月薪2万，海包吃住，这钱花得值。他在沙发上翻了个身，找了个更舒服的姿势，睡到自然醒，喝着可乐看别人倒霉，这种感觉比任务结算时还要舒坦。江峰决定出门犒劳一下自己，去尝长富人区商业街的馆子，跟以前吃的路边摊有什么区别？他从衣帽间里翻出一套最便宜的运动服，又戴上鸭舌帽，把帽檐压得很低。两人一前一后步行走出别墅区，商业街离得不远，路边种满了法国梧桐。江峰看中了一家装修考究的日料店，门口穿着和服的迎宾小姐正对着每一位客人鞠躬。就在他准备进去的时候，旁边传来一个声音：“哎呦，这不是新邻居吗？”江峰转过头，一个50岁上下的贵妇站在他旁边，打扮的珠光宝气，手腕上戴着一只满绿翡翠镯子，手指上那枚大钻戒在阳光下反射着光。他上下打量江峰那套普通的运动服，又看了看他身后站得笔挺的老陈，姿态拿捏的十足。小伙子，贵妇凑近了些，很自来熟的开口：“你就是新搬来给8号别墅那位老板开车的司机吧？”他指了指江峰刚出来的方向，8号别墅就是江峰买的那栋观湖居，看着挺精神的。贵妇拍了拍江峰的胳膊，语气很是和善：“好好干，我听说你们老板挺有钱的，不会亏待你的。”江峰怔了一下，司机？他看了一眼身后的老陈，老陈还是一样的站姿，但嘴角有压不住的弧度。他清了清嗓子，对着贵妇顺水推舟的点了点头：“是啊，阿姨。”江峰的语气朴实又憨厚：“我们老板人是挺好的，就是脑子好像有点问题。”贵妇的兴致一下子上来了：“怎么说？”江峰压低声音，一副神秘的样子：“他非要买个凶宅住。”凶宅2个字一出口，贵妇的话匣子就关不住了。他的脸色变了变，一把拉住江峰的胳膊，把他拽到餐厅门口的盆栽后面。“哎呦，我的天！我就说那房子不对劲吧。”贵妇的声音压得更低，语速却很快：“你是不知道啊，小伙子，那房子邪门得很，前面几任业主不是破产就是离婚，没一个有好下场的。”他说着还紧张地往四周张望：“你快跟阿姨说说，你老板怎么回事？他不知道这里面的道道吗？是不是被人骗了？”江峰看着他一脸渴求内幕的表情，心里觉得好笑，这比算命有意思。他酝酿了一下情绪，脸上挂着为难的表情：“我们老板他说他命硬。”江峰一本正经的胡扯：“他说他八字纯阳，火气旺，专克这些阴邪玩意儿，能镇住这里的邪气。”老陈站在不远处，背对着他们，双肩控制不住的抖动。贵妇听得倒吸一口凉气：“我的妈呀，还有这种人！”“是啊。”江峰叹了口气，表演得更投入了：“我们老板还说准备在院子里挖个坑，把以前那几任业主的坏运气都埋进去。” 他还说，江峰凑到贵妇耳边，用只有2人能听到的音量说，晚上要跟住在这里的老邻居们开个 party， 联络感情。他说，要是打麻将输了钱，就直接给他们烧纸。贵妇的脸彻底白了，他抓着江峰胳膊的手都在发抖。这太吓人了，谁说不是呢？江峰一脸无奈。所以阿姨，你以后晚上要是听到我们院子里有打麻将的声音，千万别害怕，那是我们老板在搞团建。江峰看着贵妇受惊的表情，对旁边的老陈使了个眼色。老陈转过身对江峰点头。江峰心里盘算着，今晚是吃火锅还是吃烧烤呢？这种扮演穷人的小乐趣，比在大学门口扮大师有意思多了。第35章新任务，这次要去和狗讲道理。江峰看见那贵妇快吓晕了，便对旁边的老陈使了个眼色。老陈忍着笑，转过身对江峰点了点头。那阿姨您先忙，我得去给我们老板买饭了。江峰用憨厚的口吻告辞，拉着老陈快步走进了那家日料店。一进门，江峰的腰背就挺直了，脸上的憨厚也不见了。憋坏了吧？江峰问。老陈的后背还在抖动，他从牙缝里挤出2个字：没有。走，今天我请客，最贵的那种。1周后，观湖区的草坪修剪得整整齐齐。江峰躺在太阳椅上，戴着墨镜，身上盖着薄毯，旁边矮桌上放着一杯冰可乐。不远处，老陈赤着上身，正用一把工兵铲吭哧吭哧的在院子角落挖一个大坑。贵妇那天被吓得不轻，第2天就找人送来一车礼品，说是给新邻居押金。江峰没收，但命令老板要在院里挖坑埋晦气的说法却传了出去。现在整个龙湖山庄的业主群里都在讨论8号别墅那个辟邪狂人。江峰吸了一口可乐，老陈，他喊了一声。老陈停下动作，你说我要是有你这身板，还需要算命吗？江峰开口，直接去抢。算了，我可是遵纪守法的好公民。老陈拎着工兵铲走过来，站得笔直。老板，你的身体经不起剧烈运动。江峰撇撇嘴，这1个星期是他过得最舒坦的日子，没任务，没病痛折磨，每天睡到自然醒，被老陈催着在院子里散步半小时，然后就窝在沙发里看电影，或是在草坪上晒太阳。银行卡里的数字让他体会到了废人的快乐，但他心里清楚，这种安宁是租来的，续上的命不是永久产权。脑子里那股让他痛苦的压迫感虽然消失了，但偶尔还是会有尖锐的刺痛，提醒他时间不多了。他抬起手遮住阳光，就在他昏昏欲睡的时候，脑中滋的一声电流窜过，江峰一下从太阳椅上坐直了身体。他摘下墨镜，揉了揉太阳穴，该来的还是来了。新任务发布，地点市中心宠爱医生高端宠物医院，时间每日14点16点，方式通感旺气宠物版，领域宠物心事疑难杂症，目标接待3位毛孩子家长并解决问题。江峰盯着空气中浮现的虚拟文字，半天没说话。通感旺气宠物版，这系统更新时混进了什么奇怪的代码？老板，怎么？老陈察觉他不对劲，江峰摆摆手，老陈去查一下宠爱医生宠物医院。老陈拿出手机在屏幕上点了几下，老板查到了。他汇报，本市最贵的连锁宠物医院，定位是宠物界的和睦家，一个常规体检套餐8888起步，挂号费都要500。江峰听完靠回太阳椅上，他明白了，系统这是嫌他最近赚钱太容易，开始增加难度。之前是跟人打交道，现在要跟畜生，不要跟毛孩子打交道，这活儿技术含量不低。江峰捏着下巴盘算起来，去这种地方，小马扎那套装扮肯定不行。能花小1万给猫狗体检的人，信的是科学，是专业，是权威，他们不会相信一个穿冲锋衣做小马扎的算命先生，只会觉得那是个行为艺术家或者脑子有病。老陈，江峰有了主意，给我去弄一套行头。江峰伸出手指开始下指令。第一，一件合身的白大褂，质感要好，不能是医院里那种洗得发黄的。第二，一副金丝边眼镜，平光，镜片要擦亮。第三，江峰顿了顿，去打印店给我做一张证件，带塑封和挂绳的那种，头衔就写国际认证动物行为心理学专家，名字下面再加一行小字，美国康奈尔大学兽医学院荣誉客座教授。老陈听完停顿片刻，老板，康奈尔大学的校徽要彩印还是黑白？江峰对他竖起一个大拇指，要彩印的，真一点。下午1点50，城南汽车园那辆黑色的雷克萨斯 LM 停在宠爱医生宠物医院对面的咖啡馆门口。车里，江峰已经换上了全套装备，崭新的白大褂，金丝眼镜，胸前还挂着伪造的专家证。他对着后座的化妆镜整理了一下衣领。老板，你这气质比我们部队医院的主任还像主任。老陈从后视镜里看着他，真心实意的评价。江峰没说话，看向车窗外，宠物医院门口停满了豪车，一个穿皮草的贵妇正抱着一只打石膏的白色泰迪抹眼泪，旁边的管家撑着伞，一个打扮新潮的青年正费力地拽着一只哈士奇，嘴里骂骂咧咧，一个提着猫包的女孩一脸焦急地在门口踱步，不停看手机。能来这里的非富即贵，而且状况都挺严重，不是宠物病了，是主人病了。老板怎么搞？老陈问。不摆摊。江峰回答，小马扎那一套跟这里的环境不搭，太掉价，他要玩点高级的。把后备箱打开。江峰下令，老陈照做。雷克萨斯 LM 的后备箱空间很大，江峰指挥老陈从车里拿出几张没拆封的羊绒毯子铺在后备箱里，他又从储物格里翻出几包宠物零食和几个磨牙玩具摆在毯子上，最后他拿出一块用相框裱起来的小白板立在后备箱一侧，白板上是手写的花体字：宠物低语者解你家主子心病，下面还有一行小字：每次只聊10分钟，随缘收费。做完这一切，江峰点了点头，他整了整白大褂从车上下来，没有坐，而是倚靠在车尾，双臂环抱在胸前，看着医院门口那些焦急的人们。一个穿白大褂戴金丝眼镜的专家 依靠在一辆200多万的豪车旁，身后是布置好的后备箱。这不叫摆摊算命，这叫移动行为咨询工作室。他这新奇的做派很快吸引了医院门口排队的宠物主人，他们先是好奇的打量，接着便小声议论起来。那人是谁啊？新来的医生吗？怎么在车后面看诊？你看他那车雷克萨斯 LM 顶配的吧？医生这么有钱，宠物低语者什么东西？听起来挺高级的。就在众人议论的时候，一个打扮艳丽的女士牵着一只穿粉色公主裙的白色贵宾犬，第一个走了过来。她身上的香水味很浓。她上下打量江峰在她胸前的证件和身后的豪车，上来回扫了几遍，撇着嘴角带着几分不屑。这种包装她见多了，无非是想骗他们这些有钱太太的钱。她停在江峰面前，抬了抬下巴，开口的语气充满怀疑。动物心理专家，他的声音有些尖锐。我家的贝拉最近总是半夜乱叫，还把我好几个爱马仕的包都给咬坏了。医院的医生检查了几遍，都说他身体没病，各项指标很好。他说着，拽了拽手里的牵引绳，那只叫贝拉的贵宾犬不耐烦地叫了2声。他用涂红指甲油的手指了指江峰，要是真有本事，就给我看看他到底在想什么。江峰推了推鼻梁上的金丝眼镜，他越过女人，看向那只穿公主裙的狗。系统视野开启，那只狗的头顶并非寻常动物的单纯气晕光晕，而是一团纠缠的粉红色气团，那气团里还混着几丝代表嫉妒和愤怒的黑气。第36章，你家狗的心事是嫌你太吵了。紧接着，一串尖锐混乱的音波直接冲进他的脑海，哒哒哒，高跟鞋敲击大理石地面的高频噪音，哗啦啦，麻将牌被用力搓洗的碰撞声。喂，李太啊，3缺1，赶紧过来啊！女人尖着嗓子打电话的声音，还有重低音音乐的轰鸣，以及各种男女混杂的高分贝谈笑声，这些声音在他的脑海中叠加放大。系统面板在贝拉头顶展开，目标贝拉贵宾犬，情绪状态烦躁 S 级，睡眠剥夺 A 级，领地焦虑 B 级。江峰结束了观察，这狗不是心里有病，是被主人折磨的快要神经衰弱了。夫人，江峰蹲下身，动作很慢，避免惊吓到那只已经很紧张的狗。他伸出手，没有直接去摸，而是在半空中停顿。贝拉犹豫地伸出鼻子，在他指尖嗅了嗅，然后用头蹭了一下。他不是不满意。江峰的语调平直，他是嫌你太吵了。贵妇的表情凝固了。吵？我哪里吵了？我说话声音向来是温声细语的。他拔高了音调，正好证实了江峰的判断。周围几个看热闹的宠物主人发出低笑声。对你来说是温声细语。江峰站起身，掸了掸白大褂，对他来说是噪音污染。江峰指了指贝拉的耳朵，犬类的听觉比人类灵敏很多，能听到许多我们忽略的声音。你穿着高跟鞋在家里走动，那个声音对他就是持续的敲击。你每天下午开麻将局、洗牌和出牌的碰撞声，对他而言就是巨大的噪音。还有，江峰的目光落到贵妇手腕上那只手表上。你晚上9点之后还喜欢在家里开派对，那些重低音音乐和嘈杂的人声会损害他的听力。江峰每说一句，贵妇的脸就难看1分。他确实是麻将爱好者，也经常在家里招待朋友开派对，这些都是他社交生活的一部分。怎么到了这个年轻人嘴里就成了虐待动物？胡说！我给他准备了那么舒服的窝，他困了自己去睡不就好了？贵妇不服气，他告诉我，江峰开始翻译，他每天需要长时间的深度睡眠来恢复精力，但他根本睡不着。他的窝就在客厅旁边，你打麻将的时候他能闻到烟味，你开派对的时候总有喝醉的客人要去抱他逗他。江峰看着贵妇，他不是你的孩子，是你的社交道具。这句话让贵妇的嘴唇哆嗦起来，说不出话。周围的议论声更大了。我的天，说的也太准了吧！我上次去王太家里，确实看到他们打麻将打到半夜，原来是噪音扰民，哦不是扰狗啊！这专家有点东西，这哪是看病，这是在给主人上课啊！贵妇的脸一阵红一阵白，周围人的注视让她浑身不自在。那他咬我的包又是怎么回事？她不甘心地追问，总不能是我的包也太吵了吧？他咬你的包不是因为恨你。江峰的语调没有变化，是因为你的包上有外面别的狗的味道。贵妇的表情定住了，江峰没有停顿，继续说了下去。他尤其讨厌你那个棕色的铂金包。这话说出口，贵妇身体一震。他有几十个包，他怎么会知道是哪个？因为你昨天下午拎着那个包去你朋友孙太太家里喝了下午茶。江峰的语速不快，但每个字都很有分量。孙太太家养了一只白色的萨摩耶，对不对？贵妇整个人都定住了，她张着嘴，一个字都吐不出来。这件事她没有告诉过任何人，昨天只是一个闺蜜小聚，这个年轻人怎么可能知道的这么详细？连他见过哪只狗都知道，这已经不是推理，这是天眼。狗的嫉妒心比你想象的要强得多。江峰最后总结，他认为自己的领地被侵犯了，他的主人身上沾染了其他狗的气味，这是一种背叛。他没有能力去攻击那只萨摩耶，所以只能把愤怒发泄在那个沾染了敌人气味的罪证上。他再通过咬包的方式一遍遍地告诉你。江峰顿了顿，用清晰的声音说出贝拉的心声：这个家里只能有我一只小可爱。噗嗤，人群里一个年轻女孩笑出了声。这句反差极大的翻译引得众人发笑。原来是争风吃醋啊，这画面感也太强了。这个家里只能有我一只小可爱，这狗也太霸道总裁了吧！我服了，我彻底服了。这大师不去写剧本真是屈才了。贵妇站在原地，手里还牵着那只一脸无辜的贝拉，脑子乱糟糟的。她看着脚边这只小狗，第一次发觉自己完全不了解它。江峰没再理她，他转身从雷克萨斯的后备箱里拿出一个小塑料盒子，他打开盒子，从里面捏出2团黄色的弹性物件，是2只隔音耳塞。他走到贵妇面前，把那对耳塞递了过去。解决办法很简单， 江峰开口，贵妇伸出手接住，要么你以后在家里保持安静，过上一种清心寡欲的生活。贵妇的脸部肌肉跳了一下，这比杀了他还难受。要么江峰指了指他手里的耳塞，你回家打麻将或者开派对的时候给他戴上这个。哦，对了，江峰补充，这是给人用的，狗用的专业降噪耳罩，你得自己去网上买。关键词我都替你想好了，宠物、降噪、睡眠。周围一下子安静下来。所有人都张着嘴看着这一幕，一个困扰了宠物主人和兽医许久的疑难杂症，最后的解决方案竟然是一对耳塞。贵妇看着手心里那对小小的黄色耳塞，再看看脚边一脸无辜的贝拉，紧绷的肩膀垮了下来。她什么都没说，没有争辩，也没有质疑。她从那个差点被贝拉咬坏的爱马仕钱包里抽出一沓厚厚的红色钞票，看都没看就塞进了江峰的白大褂口袋里，那厚度至少1万。谢谢，她低声说了一句，然后弯腰抱起贝拉，头也不回的快步离开。她的背影有些仓皇，步子也乱了。叮，有效算卦次数13，第一单完成。江峰从口袋里掏出那沓钱，抽出2张，剩下的都递给了旁边的老陈。去对面那家进口超市，把他们最贵的猫条、狗罐头、冻干零食一样来1份。江峰吩咐，咱们得备点货，好招待下一位顾客。老陈点点头，拿着钱转身就走。江峰重新倚靠在车尾，周围的人群非但没散，反而越聚越多。所有人都看着他，脸上混杂着敬畏与好奇，个个跃跃欲试，但又因为刚才那一幕，谁也不敢第一个上前。就在这时，让一让，麻烦让一让！一个急切的声音从人群外传来。一个穿着蓝色外卖服的小哥挤开人群，气喘吁吁地跑了过来。他怀里没有抱狗，而是提着一个印有方形纸箱，箱子被胶带封得严严实实，只在侧面扎了几个透气孔。一阵细弱的猫叫声从箱子里传了出来。外卖小哥跑到江峰面前，一张脸因为跑得太急而涨得通红，额头上全是汗。他脸上满是恐慌和无助。他把那个纸箱小心翼翼地放在地上。他抬头看着江峰，嘴唇哆嗦着，好半天才挤出一句话：大师，我这猫中邪了，您能给看看吗？第37章，这猫不是中邪，是中毒。江峰的视线从外卖小哥那张涨红的脸上移开，落在地上的纸箱上。箱子是普通的快递纸箱，侧面用圆珠比出了几个不规则的透气孔。一声微弱的猫叫从里面传来，更像是一声叹息。我早上出门送外卖的时候还好好的，活蹦乱跳的。外卖小哥的声音发颤，他蹲下身，但不敢打开箱子。中午回来就看见他口吐白沫，躺在地上抽。我赶紧送来医院，抽血化验什么都查了，医生说查不出原因，各项指标都正常，就让我回去观察。可他越来越不对劲了，现在连叫都叫不动了。小哥抹了一把脸上的汗，指着江峰，像是抓到了救命稻草。我在我们外卖群里看到有人发您的视频了，说您在大学门口算得特别准。我就想着是不是他招了什么不干净的东西。周围的人群发出小声的议论，是江半仙，真的是他，这身白大褂，这气质比视频里还神。江峰没理会周围的议论，他的目光穿透了纸箱，系统视野开启。箱子里一只橘色幼猫蜷缩着，毛发凌乱，身体在无意识的轻颤，嘴角挂着白沫。猫的身上没有健康的光晕，只有一团正在收缩的灰败死气。紧接着一行红字弹出：警告，目标生命体征微弱，状态神经毒素中毒，毒素来源分析中10%、30%、70%。江峰的表情严肃起来，打开。江峰吐出2个字，外卖小哥一怔，手忙脚乱地去撕箱子上的胶带，胶带撕开，箱盖打开，一股腥甜的气味飘了出来。那只小橘猫无力地躺着，看到光线，眼皮只是颤动了一下，没有力气抬起。大师，您看，这不是中邪。江峰打断了他，是中毒。这2个字让在场所有人都安静下来。外卖小哥的脸一下变得惨白，中毒？不可能，我平时都把他关在家里，他不可能吃到外面的东西啊。旁边一个抱着比熊犬的大妈忍不住插话：小伙子，是不是为了什么不该喂的东西啊？猫不能吃巧克力和洋葱的，你不知道吗？没有。小哥急得连连摆手，我租的房子小，就1个单间，平时就我1个人住，我只喂它猫粮和水，连零食都没给它买过，那怎么会中毒呢？毒源在你家里。江峰的声音不大，却让全场再次安静。他蹲下身，戴着手套的手指伸进箱子，没有去碰猫，而是拂过猫身旁的空处。在他的系统视野里，能看到那些肉眼不可见的毒素气流正从猫的口鼻处溢散。毒素来源分析完成，锁定石蒜碱、水仙花提取物。江峰站起身，看着外卖小哥：你家里很干净？对，我每天都打扫的，除了猫粮和水，没有别的东西。没有了，绝对没有了。小哥很肯定。江峰没再追问，而是换了个问题：你最近是不是觉得家里空气不好，想净化一下？外卖小哥一怔，下意识的点头：是啊，我那房子窗户小，有点闷。江峰盯着他：所以你买了一盆新的盆栽？这不是问句，一盆绿色的，叶子细长，现在正开着白色的小花，被你放在了阳台上。外卖小哥的嘴巴慢慢张开，半天合不拢。他像是想起了什么，一拍大腿：对，楼下那个花店打折，我就买了一盆，叫什么来着？他挠着头想不起来。水仙。江峰替他说了出来：对，就是水仙。老板说这玩意儿好养活，还能净化空气。外卖小哥脸上有了点喜色，以为找到了线索。大师，是不是那盆花有问题，被什么人下了咒？江峰看了他一眼， 花没问题。他的声音冷了下去。有问题的是你的无知。你的猫舔了那盆水仙的叶子，或者喝了花盆托盘里的水。水仙全株有毒，对猫是剧毒，尤其是它的球茎。主要症状就是呕吐、抽搐，最后神经麻痹、心跳停止。江峰指了指箱子里那只小猫，它的呕吐物里应该有植物的碎屑，只是你太蠢，根本没发现。外卖小哥彻底傻了，他呆呆地看着江峰，又看看箱子里的小猫，脑子一片空白。水仙有毒，就因为他想净化一下空气，就差点害死了这条小生命。悔恨和恐惧淹没了他。那怎么办？大师，我该怎么办？他的声音抖得不成样子。江峰抬手看了一眼腕表，时间在流逝，把他抱回那家医院，告诉医生是水仙中毒，让他们用最快的速度进行催吐、洗胃和解毒治疗。再晚10分钟，神仙来了也就不活，快去！最后2个字吼出来，小哥一个机灵，如梦初醒。他手忙脚乱地抱起地上的纸箱，连句完整的感谢都说不出来，只是一个劲地喊着谢谢大师，谢谢大师，朝宠物医院的大门冲了进去。他跑得太急，撞到了一个刚从医院里出来的人，人群自动为他分开一条路，所有人都目送着那个蓝色的身影消失在医院的玻璃门后。广场上再次恢复了安静，但气氛已经完全不同。如果说刚才看贵妇那单大家看的是热闹和新奇，那么这一单他们看到了敬畏。江半仙不只会算风水、算姻缘、算前程，他还会救命。叮，有效算卦次数23，系统的提示音在脑海中响起。江峰看着那个外卖小哥消失的方向，沉默不语。老陈不知何时已经走了回来，手里提着几个大购物袋，里面装满了宠物零食。他沉默地站在江峰身后。江峰从口袋里掏出墨镜，重新戴上。他准备等老陈把后备箱收拾一下，就进行今天的第3单生意。就在这时，一个带着质疑的声音在他面前响起：水仙中毒。江峰抬起头，一个穿着医院白色制服的年轻男人正站在他的车前。男人25、6岁，戴着黑框眼镜，胸前的名牌上写着主治医师王浩。他应该就是刚才被外卖小哥撞到的那个人。他听到了刚才发生的一切。王浩推了推鼻梁上的眼镜，双手插在白大褂的口袋里，上下打量着江峰。这位专家，他加重了专家2个字的发音，语带嘲讽。你刚才的诊断听起来很专业，就是不知道您是哪个学校毕业的，有国家认证的职业兽医资格证吗？第38章，兽医的诊断不如我的旺气。王浩双手抱胸，姿态摆得很高，用教训人的口吻开口。猫科动物的应激反应很复杂，呕吐、腹泻的原因多种多样，在没有做生化检测和毒理分析之前，凭空断定是某种植物中毒，是非常不负责任的行为。他的声音不小，吸引了周围所有人的注意。你这样做很可能会延误最佳的治疗时机，万一不是水仙中毒，而是其他更急性的病症，你担得起这个责任吗？这话一出，周围的宠物主人们也开始动摇。这医生说的也有道理啊。是啊，万一断错了，那不是害了那只小猫吗？我就说嘛，还是得相信科学，仪器总不会骗人。江峰听着周围的议论声，没什么反应，他只是看着王浩问了一个问题：那你刚才给那只猫做了什么检查？开了什么药？王浩的表情僵了一下。我建议他做全身检查，包括血常规、生化、DR 影像，但他付不起检查的费用。他梗着脖子补充：我只能先给他开了点肠胃调节剂，让他回去观察。肠胃调节剂？江峰推了推鼻梁上的金丝眼镜，声音听不出温度。所以你的负责任，你的科学，就是让一只马上就要毒发身亡的动物吃一堆对神经毒素毫无作用的益生菌。王浩的脸涨红了。江峰这番话直指他科学与流程之下对那只猫的束手无策，在昂贵的医疗体系和固化的诊疗流程面前，他所谓的负责任实在无力。我这是规范操作。王浩的声音拔高了，没有检查就没有诊断，这是最基本的原则。江峰摇摇头，你的原则会害死那只猫。两人对峙，气氛紧张起来。王浩身后的2个实习生看着自己老师被驳得面红耳赤，想开口帮忙，却又不知道从何说起。周围的宠物主人也分成了2派，一派支持医生，认为流程很重要，另一派则觉得江峰说的对，救命要紧，哪能管那么多条条框框。就在这时，让，麻烦让！人群再次被一个声音分开，那个蓝色的身影又一次冲了回来，还是那个外卖小哥，但这一次他脸上不再是恐慌，而是狂喜。他手里捏着一张皱巴巴的纸，像是捏着救命的药方。大师，神了！您真是神了！小哥冲到江峰面前，说话都有些不利索。他冲着江峰鞠了一躬。我跟医生说了，是水仙中毒，他们半信半疑，但还是马上给猫催吐了。真的，吐出来的东西里真的有花的碎片。他举起手里的那张化验单，像是在展示什么功勋。化验也出来了，证实了，就是您说的那个石蒜碱中毒。现在猫已经注射了解毒剂，医生说已经脱离危险了。外卖小哥几乎是喊出来的。他转过身，通红的眼睛盯着王浩。他3步并作2步冲过去，把那张还带着体温的化验单对到了王浩的脸上。医生，你不是说要全身检查吗？你不是说大师不负责任吗？大师看一眼就知道是什么问题了。你的仪器，你的流程还没大师的眼睛准。化验单上白纸黑字打印的清清楚楚。毒理分析结果，样本毒素与石蒜碱匹配度98.7%，诊断建议按生物碱中毒标准进行治疗。那一行行科学的文字让王浩说不出话来。他盯着那张单子，握着他的手垂了下去。他引以为傲的知识体系，他坚信不疑的科学流程被一张薄薄的纸否定了。他抬起头，看向那个倚靠在豪车旁没什么表情的年轻人，他的表情里不再是鄙夷，取而代之的是无法理解的震撼和对未知的恐惧。科学居然输了！ 输给了一个连职业资格证都没有的神棍。外卖小哥没有再理会他，他再次跑回江峰面前，从口袋里掏出破旧的钱包，把里面所有的现金都掏了出来，皱巴巴的，加起来也就200-300块钱。大师，我知道这点钱不够，但我现在就这么多了，等我发了工资，我一定。江峰摆了摆手，打断了他，他没有去接那笔钱，回去吧，猫还需要人照顾。江峰的声音很平淡，以后别在家里乱养花了。外卖小哥的眼眶又红了，他把钱收了回去，对着江峰又是一个90度的深鞠躬，然后他转身快步跑回了医院。王浩失魂落魄地站在原地，周围那些曾经支持他的声音，此刻都变成了议论他的杂音。我的天，真让他说中了，这哪是算命啊，这是活体 CT 机啊！还好小哥信了大师，不然那只小猫就没了。在众人的注视下，王浩和他那2个同样呆住的实习生灰溜溜地走回了医院大楼，那背影狼狈不堪。叮，有效算卦次数23，江峰没有动。危机解除，喧闹再起，年轻兽医的溃败成了江峰最好的广告。刚才还在观望的宠物主人们这次一拥而上，把江峰和他的雷克萨斯围了起来。大师，大师，看看我家的，先看我的，我出2万。大师，我这只猫不吃不喝好几天了，求您给看看吧。一张张焦急的脸，一双双渴望的眼睛，还有夹杂在人群中各种猫狗的叫声，让场面一度陷入混乱。老陈立刻上前一步，张开双臂拦在江峰身前，他那身肌肉和冷硬的表情比任何语言都管用。骚动的人群被强行遏制住。各位安静一下。江峰终于开口，他摘下金丝眼镜，用一块绒布慢慢擦拭着。我这里有我的规矩。他重新戴上眼镜，视线扫过全场。今天只剩最后一卦。这话一出，人群更是炸开了锅，谁都想抢到这最后的机会。江峰没有理会那些挥舞着钞票的人，他的视线越过一张张人脸，最终落在了人群外围。那里，一个光头戴着拇指粗金链子的大哥正一脸不耐烦地站着，他的肩膀上站着一只羽毛华丽、体型巨大的金刚鹦鹉。那鹦鹉正歪着脑袋，用一双黑斗士的眼睛打量着这场闹剧。江峰的手指指向了那个方向，就你了。人群顺着他指的方向看去，自动分开一条路。光头大哥愣了一下，指了指自己，又指了指肩膀上的鹦鹉。江峰点头，你不用过来，我过去。江峰说着，竟主动走下台阶，穿过人群，来到了光头大哥面前。所有人都屏住了呼吸，想看看这最后一卦又有什么玄机。光头大哥看着走到面前的江峰，眼神里带着几分警惕。大师，你看我干啥？我这鸟好得很，能吃能睡，比我都健康。江峰的目光没有看他，而是直直的看着他肩膀上的那只金刚鹦鹉。鹦鹉缩了缩脖子，把头埋进了翅膀里。江峰的嘴角动了动，开口：他身体是没病，就是你家这只鸟最近话是不是有点多？光头大哥闻言，脸上的不耐烦消失了。第39章，这鹦鹉不是话多，是嘴太碎。他身体是没病，就是你家这只鸟最近话是不是有点多？光头大哥脸上的肌肉绷紧了。他肩膀上那只五彩斑斓的金刚鹦鹉歪了歪脑袋，小黑眼睛里倒映出江峰那张被金丝眼镜遮住大半的脸。周围的喧嚣忽然轻了下去，所有人的注意力都从刚才那场科学与玄学的对决中抽离，聚焦到这只看上去漂亮又无辜的大鸟身上。亲爱的，开门呀！密码是4个8，藏在床底下，别告诉老婆。讨厌，你好坏哦。江峰的眉毛拧在了一起，他觉得这已经不是在算命了，这是在听云得社的现场，还是单口循环播放的那种。大师，光头大哥的喉结上下滚动了一下，声音干涩。他一把将鹦鹉从肩膀上抓了下来，捧在手心。这个动作有些粗鲁，鹦鹉不满地扑腾了2下翅膀。他就是学蛇，瞎说的，电视里学的，电视里。光头大哥尴尬的解释，试图把锅甩给黄金档的8点半档。江峰还没开口，那只鹦鹉非常不配合的用一种嗲得让在场所有女性都起鸡皮疙瘩的声音尖叫了一声：亲爱的，开门呀！这声呼唤婉转动人，充满了某种不可言说的期待感。噗！人群中不知道是谁第一个绷不住笑出了声，紧接着笑声连成了一片。我靠，这调调专业啊！这哪是电视里学的，这分明是实践里出真知啊！大哥，你家电视有点东西，能不能分享一下频道？光头大哥的脸黑了下来，他恨不得把这只破鸟的嘴给缝上。他身后的老陈一直站得笔直如松，此刻肩膀也开始不受控制的抖动。他努力地把视线转向别处，看着远方的天空，仿佛那里有什么绝美的风景。大哥，江峰憋着笑，一本正经地开口：这鸟不是话多，是嘴太碎。他最近是不是总学一些不适合在家庭环境下有女主人在场时播放的句子？光头大哥的冷汗刷一下就从锃亮的脑门上冒了出来。是啊，他声音发颤，快要哭了。我老婆最近正跟我闹呢，以为我在外面有人了，都要跟我分居了。我跳进黄河都洗不清啊！他望向江峰，满脸都是求助，指望江峰能帮他澄清。江峰清了清嗓子，决定帮他一把，也帮自己完成任务。他开始翻译那只鹦鹉的内心独白。他说他最近学会的新词都是从你车里的一个毛绒玩具身上学来的。这话一出，笑声戛然而止，所有人都竖起了耳朵，准备迎接更劲爆的内幕。光头大哥却愣住了。毛绒玩具？他没反应过来，我车里没那玩意儿，我一个大老爷们，车上放那东西，不被人笑话死？江峰没回答他，他只是看着那只在他手心里依旧不老实的鹦鹉。鹦鹉似乎感受到了江峰的注视，再次扯着他那独特的嗓音叫了一声：密码是4个8，清脆响亮。光头大哥的身体一震，脸上的血色退得一干二净。 江峰伸出一根手指，指了指光头大哥那股囊囊的裤兜。大哥，你副驾驶座位底下是不是藏了个备用手机？光头大哥的嘴唇开始哆嗦，说不出话来。手机密码是4个8。江峰的语气平淡，但每一个字都砸在光头大哥的心头。至于那个毛绒玩具，江峰看着光头大哥煞白的脸，也觉得他挺可怜。是你给这部手机里那个备注为“亲爱的”的联系人设置的专属来电语音提示。你那只鹦鹉记性太好，你每次在车里以为把它丢在后座，他什么都不知道，偷偷摸摸接电话的时候，他听得一清二楚。江峰的话音顿了顿，给了在场所有人一个消化的时间。现在他把你的来电提示音和你讲电话的内容全都学会了，所以你老婆在家里听到的不是他在学舌，是原声大碟现场重放，全场寂静，声落可闻。所有人都用一种混合着震惊、同情和憋笑的复杂表情看着那个已经石化在原地的光头大哥。这哪里是算命，这他妈是公开处刑，还是带现场配音和环绕立体声的那种。光头大哥呆立当场，大脑一片空白。他捧在手里的那只金刚鹦鹉完全不知道自己闯了多大的祸，还在不知死活的邀功。他用一种欢快的带着奶音的调子唱出了一句全新的歌词：藏在床底下，别告诉老婆。这句词是最后一下，彻底击垮了光头大哥。他双腿一软，差点直接跪在地上。就在这时，叮铃铃，叮铃铃，一阵急促的手机铃声从光头大哥的裤兜里响了起来。不是那个藏在车里的备用机，是他常用的那一部。广场上一片寂静，这铃声格外刺耳。光头大哥浑身一抖，手机险些脱手。他手抖得厉害，从口袋里摸出手机，屏幕上母老虎3个字让所有围观的人都倒抽一口凉气。光头大哥的手一哆嗦，手机差点掉在地上。他抬起头，绝望地看向江峰，嘴唇蠕动，似乎想求大师再救他一次。然而江峰的脑海里响起了另一道声音：叮，有效算卦次数33，叮，3卦任务完成，正在结算奖励。恭喜宿主，脑癌细胞活性降低8%，剩余寿命增加50天。恭喜宿主获得现金奖励200万。叮，检测到宿主行为涉及复杂因果链，任务评价提升，额外奖励发放中。恭喜宿主获得新能力灵犀之耳。灵犀之耳，宿主可选择性屏蔽或放大指定范围内的声音，有效对抗因病症带来的听觉过敏。注：此能力仅对宿主自身生效。大脑深处涌出热流，通达全身，那些恼人的背景噪音和刺痛感都被隔绝在外，整个世界前所未有的清静。江峰舒服地长出了一口气，他没有理会光头大哥的求救。功德，今天这活儿干得太损了，功德都快扣成负数了。他示意老陈关上后备箱的车门，准备收工回家。老板，上车。老陈拉开车门，声音沉稳。江峰转身迈步，光头大哥最后的指望落空了。他哭丧着脸，看着手机屏幕上那个还在不停跳动的来电提醒，认命一般划开了接听键。喂，老婆。他的声音发抖。第40章，一封来自华科院的邀请函。江峰没有回头，也没去听电话那头即将发生什么。在系统奖励到账时，他脑中那些持续不断的背景噪音全部消失，世界清静了。江峰拉开车门坐进去，真皮座椅隔绝了车外的动静。老陈启动汽车，黑色的雷克萨斯 LM 平稳地汇入车流，将那片是非之地甩在身后。1周后，龙湖山庄观湖居的后院草坪。呵，老陈的声音沉稳，古铜色的肌肉绷紧，他脚下步伐一错，手臂顺势一带。江峰只觉得一股大力从胳膊上传来，跟着就是一阵天旋地转，砰一声闷响，他被撂倒在草坪上，摔得不轻。靠！他躺在地上成一个大字，半天没动弹，全身上下酸痛。老陈收回姿势，垂手立在一旁，表情没有任何变化。老板，你的核心力量太弱，下盘不稳。江峰从草地上拔起脑袋，吐掉嘴里的草叶。我要是有核心力量，还用得着你教？他揉着腰，疼得龇牙咧嘴。自从上个任务结束，他的身体状况一天好过一天，那种盘踞在脑子里的钝痛消失，化疗带来的恶心和畏光也减弱不少。人一精神就容易闲不住。看着老陈每天早上在院子里打拳，虎虎生风，江峰也动了心思。他不需要练成高手，至少强身健体，以后跑路也能快2步。结果练了1个星期，他连老陈的衣角都没碰到过，每天就是在草坪上被摔。这不该是有钱人过的日子。江峰躺在地上哼唧，有钱人不都该躺在沙发里，左手可乐，右手零食，看80寸大屏幕吗？老板，那是肾虚的预兆。老陈一本正经的回答。江峰不跟他说话了，他翻了个身，趴在草地上。上次在宠物医院的事给他带来了意想不到的好处。那个命令老板要在凶宅挖坑埋晦气的谣言，经过光头大哥鹦鹉事件的发酵，已经在富人圈里传开。现在整个龙湖山庄的业主都知道8号别墅住着一个脾气古怪、手段高明的狠人。从此再没有网红和狗仔敢来他门口堵门，有几个想翻墙的也都在老陈手下留下了直播设备。江峰享受着这来之不易的清静，钱越来越多，身体越来越好。他有时候会想，除了续命，自己活着还能干点啥？就在他趴在草地上出神的时候，一阵引擎声由远及近，停在了别墅的院门外。老陈的耳朵动了动，身体肌肉绷紧，整个人进入戒备状态。江峰也听到了声音，他撑起身子朝门口看去。 不是跑车或商务车，那是一辆黑色的红旗轿车，车型普通，但车头的牌照却不是普通人能见到的。车门打开，从车上下来的是一个老人，他穿着一身熨帖的灰色中山装，头发花白，梳理的一丝不苟，戴着一副老式黑框眼镜，手里提着一个牛皮纸档案袋。老人下车后没有立刻按门铃，只是站在车旁，隔着雕花铁门望着院子里的江峰和老陈。他的神态温和，没有压迫感，但老陈却高度警惕。老陈上前一步，挡在江峰身前，重心下沉。江峰拍了拍身上的草屑，从地上爬起来。老陈，开门。老陈有些犹豫，但还是执行了命令。铁门缓缓打开，老人迈步走了进来，他对老陈礼貌地点了点头，然后看向江峰。江峰先生，对吗？老人的声音很儒雅，带着一股书卷气。江峰没说话，只是上下打量着他。冒昧来访，请不要介意。老人笑了笑，我姓钱，单名一个李字，目前在华科院担任一个特殊课题小组的顾问。华科院？江峰眉毛动了一下，这3个字的分量可比什么集团传媒重多了。找我有事？江峰指了指客厅的方向，进去说。客厅里，江峰把自己扔进那张巨大的沙发里，从旁边的迷你冰箱里拿出一罐冰可乐，啪的一声拉开拉环，灌了一大口。钱里被老陈引到对面的单人沙发上坐下，老陈没有离开，而是笔直地站在江峰的沙发旁，紧盯着对面的老人。钱顾问是吧？江峰晃了晃手里的可乐罐，语气懒洋洋的，喝点什么？水还是茶？不过我家只有可乐。钱里摆摆手，不用麻烦了，江先生。他将手里的牛皮纸档案袋放在面前的茶几上，没有急着打开。江先生，我们关注你很久了。第一句话就直奔主题，从市民政局门口的第一卦到刑侦大队楼下的塔罗牌。钱里的语速不快，像在叙述一件平常事，从幼儿园门口的摸骨到星光大厦楼下的那场直播。你的每一次预测，其结果的精准度都超出了常规逻辑和概率学的解释范畴。江峰喝可乐的动作停了一下，他把可乐罐放在一边，摊了摊手，还是一副无所谓的表情。我那就是瞎蒙，运气好而已。他开始了他惯用的表演。你也知道，我就是个快死的病人，脑子不太好使，有时候会胡言乱语。大家给我面子，捧个场就当看个乐子。我一个普通老百姓，对国家没什么用。他把自己摘得干干净净。钱里静静地听着，脸上的笑容没有变化。他等江峰说完才开口，是吗？他伸出手，将那个牛皮纸档案袋朝江峰的方向推了过去。我们知道你的病。钱里的目光落在江峰的脸上。胶质母细胞瘤4期，未分化。1个月前，金海市肿瘤医院的主治医师判断，你的预期生存时间不超过90天。江峰的瞳孔缩了一下，但是钱里的手指在那个档案袋上轻轻敲了敲。这是我们通过一些特殊渠道拿到的你3天前的最新一份体检报告。他顿了顿，一字一句的开口。报告显示，你脑内的肿瘤非但没有继续恶化，反而出现了钙化迹象，体积缩小了23%。癌细胞的活性正在以一个现有医学理论无法解释的速度持续降低。钱里看着江峰，脸上的笑容不变。江先生，你不是对国家没有用，你本身就是我们最感兴趣的那个非自然现象。这句话让江峰脸上那副懒洋洋的表情僵住了。他第一次在信息上被人掀了底牌。客厅里陷入沉默，只有冰箱压缩机发出的轻微嗡鸣。江峰慢慢地从沙发上坐直了身体，他伸出手拿过了那个档案袋，动作很慢，袋子没有封口。他从里面抽出一叠文件，第一页就是一张 CT 影像的打印件，上面用红色的箭头标注着他脑子里肿瘤的位置，下面是一连串他看不懂但无比熟悉的数据和分析。而在报告的最后一页，结论那一栏用加粗的宋体字打印着一行总结：该病例的逆向发展趋势已超越现有医学认知，建议作为特级研究样本上报国家生物科学中心。下面盖着一个他从未见过的带着国徽的鲜红印章。江峰把报告放回茶几上，低头看着自己的手。你们想怎么样？江峰的声音有些干涩。江先生，请不要误会。钱里摆了摆手，我们对你的身体没有恶意，恰恰相反，我们希望你能健康的活下去。今天来找你，不是为了强制你做什么，而是代表国家正式向你发出一个邀请。钱里的表情变得严肃。我们希望你能以特别顾问的身份协助我们进行一项特殊的研究。什么研究？江峰问。关于一些我们看不懂的东西。钱里的回答很悬，他停顿了几秒，像是在组织语言。半个月前，某处考古发掘现场出土了一批先秦时期的竹简，那批竹简的材质特殊，上面的文字既不是甲骨文，也不是金文，不属于任何已知的古代文字体系。我们动用了国内顶尖的古文字学家和破译专家，都无法解读其中任何一个字符。但这不是最关键的。钱里的脸色沉了下来。所有直接接触过那批竹简的考古队员、研究员，在之后的1周内都陆续出现了不同程度的精神异常，轻一些的是产生幻听、幻视，严重一些的会陷入长时间的呆滞，或者说一些谁也听不懂的胡话。目前已经有3名核心研究员被送进了精神康复中心，但任何药物都对他们不起作用。幻听、精神异常，这场景和之前金海大学图书馆的学生还有赵小雅的情况很像。我们怀疑，钱里的声音压得很低，那批竹简上记载的可能不是普通的信息，它可能是一种超越了我们现有认知体系的精神病毒，一种可以通过视觉直接感染甚至改写人类大脑认知模式的信息污染。精神病毒、信息污染。金海大学图书馆的事我们也调查过。钱里补充，沈老太太请你去看过，对吗？我们认为那可能是一种低烈度的同类型的现象。江峰没有承认也没有否认。你们找我想让我干什么？江峰问出了最关键的问题，让我去破译那些竹简。不，钱里摇了摇头，我们不需要你破译，我们只是想请你以你的视角去现场看一看那些竹简。钱里的目光里带着一种探究，我们想知道 当我们面对那些完全无法理解的符号一筹莫展的时候，你能从里面读出什么？这才是他们真正的目的。他们无法理解江峰的能力，但他们见证了这种能力的结果。现在他们想把这种能力当成一种工具去探测另一个未知领域，这对你有什么好处？江峰问得很直接，他做一切的出发点都是为了活下去。第一，安全。钱里竖起一根手指，江先生，你现在很有名，盯上你的人不只有我们，你的存在本身就是一种风险。但如果你接受我们的邀请，你的安全将由国家最高级别负责。第二，资源。钱里又竖起一根手指，我们承认无法解释你身体的变化，但是我们拥有这个国家最顶尖的医疗团队和不对外开放的生物实验室，或许他们能从另一个角度为你带来惊喜，比如一个真正的治愈方案。治愈。江峰的呼吸停顿了一下，系统给的是续命，是不断延长的倒计时，但国家许诺的是一个彻底摘掉这颗定时炸弹的可能。江峰沉默了，钱里看出了他的动摇，从档案袋里拿出了最后一样东西，那是一封制作精美的邀请函，白色的印制封套，上面用烫金工艺印着一枚庄严的国徽。他将邀请函放在茶几上，推到江峰面前，然后他站起身，整理了一下自己的中山装。江先生，我们不急。钱里微笑着，邀请的有效期是永久，你可以慢慢考虑，国家的大门随时为你敞开。第41章，国家发的铁饭碗，要不要接？钱里走了，客厅里只剩下冰箱压缩机的嗡鸣。江峰倒进沙发，身体陷进皮质坐垫，他伸出手，拿起茶几上的可乐罐，又放了回去。那封白色的硬靠邀请函就摆在可乐罐旁边，烫金的国徽在阳光下反着光，一个代表国家，一个代表可乐，两者放在一起不太协调。江峰看着那封邀请函，许久没动，他伸出手拿起那封信，信封很厚实，带着一股油墨味。这哪是邀请函？江峰对着空气开口，这是卖身契。他把邀请函翻来覆去的看，想从上面找出什么暗藏的玄机，什么都没有，只有那枚国徽，庄重肃穆，不带任何感情。江峰把邀请函放在鼻子前闻了闻，怎么还闻着一股长期饭票的味道？他嘟囔一句，然后把邀请函丢回茶几上。他站起身，在客厅里走来走去，从落地窗走到玄关，再从玄关走回落地窗。大理石地面凉凉的，触感从脚底传上来。接受还是拒绝？接受就等于他将完全暴露在国家的视线之下，他身体的每一次变化，每一次呼吸都可能被记录在案，成为数据。更重要的是，那个考古现场一听就不是什么好地方，能让一堆专家学者精神失常的竹简，听起来比他脑子里的瘤子还邪门。但是治愈的可能，这个吸引力太大了。系统给的是续命，是一场没有终点的倒计时，每一次任务完成，他都只是把终点线往后推了几天。而国家许诺的是一个彻底拆掉炸弹的机会。江峰停下脚步，他看着茶几上的那封邀请函，是被动的等着系统不知道什么时候在哪个角落发布一个新任务，还是主动跳进一个已知的坑里？哪个风险更大？江峰坐回沙发上，拿起可乐灌了一大口，冰凉的液体顺着喉咙滑下。他忽然冒出一个念头，一个在他心里盘踞了一阵的猜想：系统任务的发布真的是完全随机的吗？任务的发布总是和他所处遇到的事高度相关。如果他主动去到一个问题最集中的地方呢？比如那个埋着先秦竹简的考古现场，一个充满了未知、诡异和信息污染的地方，系统会不会直接给他发布一个和考古相关的任务？如果这个猜想成立，那他就不再是一个被动接单的木偶，他至少可以自己选择战场。这个想法比治愈本身更让他感到一种久违的掌控感。院子里，老陈打完了一整套拳，他收拾，吐出一口长长的白气，赤着的上身肌肉分明，汗水在皮肤上淌着。他走进客厅，看到江峰正对着茶几上的邀请函发呆。老陈没说话，走到饮水机旁，倒了一杯温水放在江峰手边。老陈，江峰头也没抬，问你个事。老陈笔直地站在他身旁，说。江峰拿起那杯温水，却没有喝。要是有个单位知道你所有的秘密，包括你哪只袜子上有个洞。江峰的语调很懒散，还非要请你去上班，工资待遇全球顶尖，五险一金交到你下辈子。还可能帮你解决你最大的难题，比如帮你找个老婆。江峰打了个比方，唯一的缺点就是这工作可能有点危险，一不小心就得为国捐躯的那种。江峰说完，抬起头看着老陈，你去不去？老陈的表情没有任何变化，他想了几秒钟，用他一贯沉稳的语气回答，老板，我的命是国家给的，如果需要随时可以还回去。江峰被他这句话噎了一下，他端着水杯看着老陈那张写满忠诚二字的脸，笑了，得当我没问。江峰把水杯放下，你这思想觉悟我赶不上。他靠回沙发里摇了摇头，他跟老陈不一样，他是个普通人，一个只想活下去的普通人。他拿起那封邀请函，用手指淡了弹，发出清脆的声音。他拿出手机解锁，打开浏览器，在搜索框里他输入了几个关键词：西北考古先秦竹简。搜索结果很快跳了出来，全是些官方新闻通稿，内容大同小异。我国西北考古取得重大突破，发现疑似先秦时期高级别墓葬群。专家称此次发现或将改写上古史，没有一个字提到竹简，更没有提到什么精神异常，信息被封锁得很干净，这反而证实了钱里所言非虚。江峰关掉手机扔在一边，他下定了决心，与其在家里干等着系统下一次抽奖，不如主动去那个麻烦的中心看一看。他要验证他的猜想，就算猜错了，大不了就当公费旅游了，国家报销还配保镖，不亏。江峰再次拿起手机，他从通话记录里翻出一个没有存名字的陌生号码，是钱里留下的。 他直接拨了过去，电话响了2声就被接通了。江先生，电话那头传来钱里温和的声音。江峰没等对方把话说完，直接开口。他靠在沙发上，双脚翘在黄花梨茶几上，就在那封邀请函旁边，姿态懒散，语气却不容商量。钱顾问，邀请我接受了，我有3个条件。电话那头沉默了。江峰也不催，静静的等着。他伸出一根手指，第一，我的人身安全和绝对自由，你们要保证。我去哪、见谁、吃什么、什么时候睡觉，都对我说了算，不能派人24小时跟着我，更不能限制我的人身自由。他伸出第2根手指，第二，研究期间所有事情我说了算，你们可以提建议，可以提供资料，但最后怎么做由我来决定，你们只需要听着，然后执行。他伸出第3根手指，第3也是最重要的一条，我随时可以退出，只要我觉得不爽了或者没意思了，我扭头就走。你们不能用任何理由阻拦。江峰说完，把脚从茶几上放了下来。答应这3条，我就去；不答应就算了，你们另请高明吧。电话那头长久的沉默，只有电流的微弱声音。江峰很有耐心，他知道对方比他更需要这次合作。过了大约半分钟，钱里的声音再次响起，那声音依旧温和，但答案很明确：可以，江先生，你的条件我们全部答应。我代表课题小组欢迎你的加入。江峰什么都没说，直接挂断了电话。他把手机扔在沙发上，成了。他从一个被研究的对象变成了主导研究的顾问，虽然只是名义上的，但性质完全不同。他站起身，伸了个懒腰。安逸生活结束了，他看向窗外，阳光很好，草坪很绿。老陈，他对着身后的人开口。收拾行李，老陈的身影动了。咱们去一趟西北。江峰转过身，看着院门口的方向，看看咱们国家的好东西。第42章，全副武装，阵仗堪比上战场。第2天清晨，观湖居的雕花铁门划开，一辆黑色商务车停在门外，车牌号数字很少。钱理站在车边，还是一身熨贴的灰色中山装，脸上带着笑。江峰打着哈欠走出别墅，老陈跟在身后。老陈肩上背着军绿色战术背包，侧面网兜露出一截折叠工兵铲的手柄。他2手各提一个32寸的硬靠行李箱，箱子撑得有些变形，每走一步，脚下的地砖都发出闷响。江峰2手空空，穿着运动服，戴着墨镜，只希望别半路把自己拉去切片研究了。钱理的视线扫过老陈的装备，在那把工兵铲上停顿了一下，脸上的笑容收敛了一些。他迎上2步，江先生，我们那边的安保措施很完善，不需要带这么多东西。江峰摘下墨镜，用镜布擦了擦。他拍了拍老陈旁边的行李箱，箱子发出咚的一声。钱顾问，你们负责科学，我们负责玄学，万一挖出点不干净的东西，你们的枪不好使，我这司机的工兵铲说不定能当桃木剑用。江峰重新戴上墨镜，有备无患。钱理被这套歪理说得张了张嘴，没出声。工兵铲当桃木剑用，他活了70多年，第一次听到这种说法。车门拉开，车里坐着一个司机和一名戴眼镜的中年男人，两人听到江峰的话都忍着笑，肩膀一抖一抖。钱理摇了摇头，江先生说的是。他侧身做了个手势，请上车吧。老陈费力地把2个行李箱塞进后备箱，把空间占满了。江峰坐进后排，钱理坐在他对面。车内很安静，车子启动，平稳驶出。江峰从随身的帆布包里开始往外掏东西，一副边缘磨损的塔罗牌，一个黄铜罗盘，还有几串用红绳串起来的铜钱。他把东西在自己面前的座位上摆开，然后闭上眼，手指在铜钱上拨弄了几下，嘴里念念有词。前排戴眼镜的男人从后视镜里看着这一幕，满脸费解。钱理也看得眼皮跳了跳，忍不住问江先生，这是？江峰睁开眼，把东西收回包里，起价钱补一挂。他把东西收好，大吉。钱理，他决定不再开口，尊重专家的习惯。车子没进市区，上了一条不对外开放的专用公路，直通机场的 VIP 区。江先生，我先跟你介绍一下情况。钱理坐直了身体，从公文包里取出一份文件。那批竹简目前封存在西北戈壁的一处地下军事基地内，代号深井，现场完全隔离，所有研究人员都穿着防护服进行工作。江峰没说话，听着。但我昨天说了，精神层面的影响，防护服是挡不住的。钱理叹了口气，从文件里抽出一张照片递了过来。这是竹简的高清扫描图，经过了脱敏处理。照片是磨砂质感，不反光，上面是一片竹简的特写，材质非木非骨，呈暗灰黑色。上面的符号不是文字，是一些扭曲盘绕的线条，结构复杂，没有规律。人只是看着照片就感到一阵心烦意乱，头也有些晕。江峰接过照片，只看了一眼，嗡，大脑深处一声轻响，纸上的扭曲符号在他的视野里蠕动起来，要钻进他的眼睛里。一股腐朽的能量从照片上传来，灵犀之耳启动。江峰屏蔽了车内的声音和那股能量的侵扰，闭上了眼睛。这感觉和系统任务开启前的征兆很像，但又不同。系统任务是指令，这个东西带来的是混乱和恶意。他清楚现在不在任务时段，算不出什么。他要做的就是扮演好自己的角色。江峰再次睁开眼时，已经恢复了常态。他把照片递还给钱理，这东西认人，他不喜欢在照片里被偷窥。车里一下安静下来，钱理接过照片的手停在半空。前排那个戴眼镜的男人回过头，他是课题组副组长周明，一个认知心理学专家，之前一直对江峰这个玄学顾问抱有怀疑。江先生，你这话是什么意思？字面意思。江峰靠回椅背，你们用机器扫描它，翻拍它，在他看来就是一种冒犯，它是有生命的。你们以为研究的是死物， 其实是在招惹一个活物，他当然会反击。周明呼吸有些不稳，有生命？你的意思是它是某种未知的生物？我没说它是生物。江峰纠正他，我说它有生命，一把会伤人的刀，你也可以说它有生命；一块会砸死人的石头，也可以说它有生命。这是一种性质，不是物种。江峰用一套歪理把周明绕了进去。周明听完，开始琢磨生命的定义和延伸。钱理不在乎江峰说的是哲学还是玄学，任人不喜欢被偷窥，有生命这几个词为他们遇到的诡异现象提供了全新的解释。我明白了。钱理把照片小心地收回文件袋，对江峰点头。江先生，多谢你的提醒，这个信息很重要。江峰摆摆手，靠在座椅上闭目养神。他心里有了底，这次来对了。那个代号深井的军事基地很可能会触发系统任务。商务车穿过数道关卡，停在一架客机舷梯旁。飞机通体银白，机身上没有航空公司标识。几名地勤人员在舷梯下等候。老陈提着行李先下车，在工作人员的引导下将行李送去货舱。江峰最后一个走下车，他伸了个懒腰，看着那架飞机，转头问身边的钱理。钱顾问，飞机餐有哈根达斯吗？江峰问得很认真。我这人运机得吃点甜的压一压。钱理准备了一肚子关于安全条例和保密协议的话，全被这一句问话堵了回去。他看着江峰的脸，好一会儿才从牙缝里挤出一句：我让他们尽量安排。第43章，欢迎来到非正常人类研究中心。引擎轰鸣减弱，飞机在颠簸中平稳降落。舱门打开，一股夹着沙粒的热风扑面而来。舷梯下方是一条藏在光秃秃山谷里的简易跑道，跑道尽头停着几辆军绿色越野车，车旁站着几个持枪的士兵，皮肤黝黑。更远处是一排排灰色活动板房和几个混凝土建筑，构成了一个基地。江先生，欢迎来到西北。钱理的声音在风中有些发飘。江峰拉了拉运动服的领子，心里嘀咕一句：这地方说是考古基地，倒更像军事禁区。他拿出手机看了一眼，屏幕左上角显示着无服务，差评。老陈背着战术背包，提着2个行李箱走下舷梯。一个坚硬的士兵上前帮忙，手刚碰到箱子，身子便是一沉，竟没能提动。老陈没说话，自己把箱子拎上了其中一辆越野车的后斗。钱顾问，江峰的声音懒洋洋的，你们这儿的安保费应该再加1倍。你看我这司机又是搬行李又是当保镖，多功能人才，得加钱。钱理的眼角动了动。江先生，你的薪酬待遇已经是我们能给出的最高规格了，是吗？江峰不置可否。那看来你们这活儿性价比不高啊。一行人上了车，越野车在颠簸的土路上行驶，卷起一阵黄沙。江峰看着窗外倒退的荒凉景色，心想这地方连个鬼都懒得来。车子穿过2道哨卡，最终停在一栋3层高的混凝土建筑前。这里就是基地的核心区。钱理带着他们走进一间最大的会议室，长条形的会议桌旁坐了7、8个人，有穿着磨损考古夹克、满脸灰尘的老人，也有穿着白大褂、头发乱糟糟的研究员。他们每个人脸上都挂着重重的眼袋，眼球布满血丝。江峰和老陈的出现让会议室里的交谈停了下来，所有人都看了过来，表情里混杂着审视和排斥。为首的是一个60多岁的老人，头发花白，戴着深度束眼镜，考古夹克上沾着干涸的泥点。他看到江峰一身休闲的打扮，年纪又轻，眉头随之旖旎。钱顾问，老人开口，声音沙哑，我们在这里等了2个小时。孙教授，给你介绍一下。钱理谦异地笑了笑，这位就是我跟你们提过的江峰先生，我们这次请来的特别顾问。那个被称为孙教授的老人从眼镜上方打量着江峰。特别顾问，他指了指桌上摊开的一堆资料和图片，我们这里需要的是能看懂这些鬼画符的古文字专家，是能解决精神污染的顶级心理学家。孙教授站起身，毫不客气地指着江峰，不是一个连毛都没长齐，不知道从哪里请来的江湖骗子。话音落下，会议室里没人接话。其他几位专家虽然没说话，但脸上的表情和孙教授也差不多。他们已经被那些竹简折磨得快要崩溃，现在上面派来的救兵却是个向来郊游的年轻人。钱理面露尴尬，正要开口解释，江峰却笑了。他没有理会孙教授的指责，环视会议室，最后看向角落里的一个年轻人。那个年轻人20多岁，穿着研究员的白大褂，独自坐在一个靠墙的椅子上。他低着头，双眼无神地盯着地面，脸色苍白，一动不动。江峰指着那个年轻人问孙教授：“这位就是你们说的3个病号之一吧？”孙教授一愣，没料到他会突然问这个。没等他回答，江峰径直开口：“他不是疯了，他是听得太多，脑子宕机了。”会议室里所有人都怔住了。宕机？这是什么形容？江峰没管他们的反应，继续解释：“你们的电脑同时打开几百个软件，运行超高负荷的程序会怎么样？会卡死，会蓝屏，会烧掉 CPU。”江峰指着那个呆滞的年轻人，他现在就是这个状态。那批竹简就是一种超高负荷的程序，直接灌进了他的脑子里。他的大脑为了自我保护，只能选择强制关机。这番用计算机科学做的解释，让在场的专家都陷入了沉默。你们最好把他隔离起来，单独关在一个完全安静的房间里。江峰说，不然他这台死机的电脑会通过一种你们理解不了的局域网，把病毒传染给你们，到时候你们就会跟他一样，一个接一个的变成安静的人形摆件。这番话一出，离墙角最近的几人不自觉地把椅子往外挪了挪。孙教授被江峰这套歪理邪说气的嘴唇发抖，正要发作，江峰却没再给他机会。他溜达到会议室的饮水机旁，给自己接了满满一杯温水。 然后在所有人注视下，他从口袋里掏出一个小小的圆柱形筒子，从里面磕出一片白色的药片，扔进了水杯里。滋啦，泡腾片在水中翻滚，升腾起细密的气泡。会议室里只剩下这滋啦声。江峰就这么拿着杯子，看着气泡升腾，这副悠闲散漫的态度让孙教授火气更盛。他指着江峰，气得说不出话。孙教授，冷静！钱理赶紧上前按住他的肩膀。钱理转向江峰，一脸苦涩：“江先生，我们都知道情况紧急，不急。”江峰打断他，吹了吹水杯上的泡沫，饭要一口一口吃，病人要一个一个看。他说着，抬眼看向会议桌的中央，那里摆放着一个半米长的银色金属手提箱，箱体上带着复杂的密码锁和生物识别模块，箱子外面还罩着一个厚实的防爆玻璃罩。钱理顺着他的视线看去，会议。他指着那个箱子对所有人介绍道：“江先生，那批先秦竹简就在里面。”话音落下的瞬间，江峰的脑海里那个久违的机械音毫无征兆地响起。新任务发布，地点西北73号研究基地，样本封存室，时间每日9点12点，方式灵犀通感学术版，领域信息污染溯源，目标接待3位受害者并解析其异常根源。江峰端着水杯的手指在杯壁上轻轻扣了一下，赌对了，他不再是被动的等待系统抽奖，而是通过选择战场成功的诱导了任务的生成。现在的他重新掌握了一部分主动权，水杯里的泡腾片已经完全溶解，变成了一杯橙黄色的液体。江峰仰头喝了一大口，酸甜的液体顺着喉咙滑下。他放下水杯，杯底和桌面碰撞，发出一声清脆的响声，吸引了所有人的注意。他看向那群专家教授，慢悠悠地开口：“行了，别研究我了。”他伸手指了指墙角那个呆坐的年轻人，又指了指门外：“明天早上9点，把你们那3个宝贝病号挨个儿带到放竹简的那个屋里来。”会议室里所有人都愣住了。孙教授张着嘴，忘了自己要说什么。钱理也一脸错愕。江峰拿起那杯泡腾水，晃了晃，看着里面细小的气泡再次升起。他顿了顿，补充道：“我要开始会诊了。第44章，我的诊室有点不一样。第二天早上9点整，样本封存室的合金门划开，露出内部。房间由一体成型的银灰色合金构成，墙壁、天花板和地板上看不到一颗螺丝。房间中央的金属桌上摆放着罩有防爆玻璃罩的金属箱。江峰没做准备好的高背椅，而是让老陈把他那个边缘掉漆的小马扎摆在玻璃罩旁。他就那么坐着，两手搭在膝盖上，姿态松弛。封存室外隔着单向防弹玻璃，钱理、孙教授和其他专家都盯着监控屏幕，他们对江峰的会诊抱持着好奇和不信任。江峰看着玻璃罩下的金属箱，系统视野已经开启，扭曲的黑气从竹简的缝隙中溢散出来，盘绕不休。他心里没什么起伏，只觉得这阵仗有些小题大做。开始吧。江峰对着衣领上的微型麦克风说。合金门划开，2个穿防护服的工作人员搀扶着一个穿病号服的年轻人走了进来，正是昨天江峰点名的张远。张远的双眼空洞，没有焦点，他的嘴唇翕动，重复发出模糊不清的音节。顾那西，没人听得懂。工作人员将他按在江峰对面的凳子上，然后退到墙角，保持着距离。江峰没碰金属箱，也没碰张远，他闭上眼睛，身体前倾。观察室里，孙教授通过对讲麦克风冷哼一声：“装神弄鬼。”他的声音在封存室里响起，我倒要看看他能搞出什么名堂。钱理抬手示意他安静，自己则紧盯住监控屏幕。封存室里很安静，只有张远喉咙里的呢喃和设备的电流声。突然，观察室里一位头发花白的语言学家身体前倾，凑近屏幕。你们看他的手。屏幕上，江峰闭着眼睛，放在小马扎边缘的右手食指正有节奏的敲击，读读读读。敲击的节拍和张远嘴里发出的音节节奏完全一致，分毫不差。观察室里的气氛一下就变了，之前只是看热闹，现在一种无法解释的协调感让每个人都集中了注意力。孙教授脸上的鄙夷不见了，他可以说江峰在表演，但这种节奏上的同步让他找不到反驳的词汇。封存室里，江峰对外界的反应一无所知，他闭着眼，手指敲击着节拍，给系统一个同步的基准频率。叮，频率同步完成，正在接入目标张远前意识信息流。解析开始，信息污染源样本001先秦竹简，污染模式潜意识共振放大，正在解码异常波段。江峰的脑海里不再是文字，系统将竹简的信息流与张远大脑的异常波段链接，把混乱的数据翻译成破碎闪回的画面。浑浊的河水，一个7、8岁的男孩在水里挣扎，手脚扑腾，水草缠住他的脚踝，阳光透过水面扭曲又遥远，水灌进他的口鼻，肺部灼痛，接着是黑暗和被活埋的窒息感。这些是张远童年最深的恐惧，是他遗忘却烙印在潜意识里的创伤。那些竹简没有创造新东西，只是找到了他最脆弱的裂缝，将那份恐惧放大，摧毁了他的理智。5分钟后，江峰的指尖停止敲击，他睁开眼，看着对面的张远，他的声音通过麦克风清晰地传进观察室。他不是在说胡话，他是在求救。江峰转向墙角那2个茫然的工作人员，又像是在对观察室里的人发问，去查查他的档案。张远7岁的时候，是不是在老家的河里溺过水，差点死了？话音落下，观察室里一片安静。孙教授的嘴巴张着，半天合不拢，眼睛后面的眼睛里全是震惊。他研究了一辈子文献和文物，相信逻辑和证据，可现在这个他眼中的骗子，只是闭着眼睛敲了敲凳子，就说出了一个深埋在20年前的童年秘密，这已经超出了逻辑的范畴。钱理第一个反应过来， 他一把抓起身旁的内部通讯电话，直接吼了出去：“马上去核实，动用一切资源，联系当地部门，查户籍档案，走访家人。3分钟，3分钟内我要确切结果。”电话那头传来一阵忙乱的回应。封存室里，江峰表现平静，他靠在小马扎上，冲墙角那2个呆住的工作人员摆了摆手：“把他带出去吧。”那2人回过神，上前一左一右架起还在喃喃自语的张远，拖着他离开了封存室。合金门在他们身后合上。江峰看着空荡荡的对面，又扭头看向观察窗。他清楚那些人需要时间消化和验证。他从口袋里掏出泡腾片筒子，磕出一片扔进保温杯里，滋啦，气泡升腾。他晃着杯子，看着水变成橙黄色。叮，有效算卦次数13，脑海里响起系统提示：成了。江峰心里没什么起伏，他赌对了，这个地方就是他最好的任务地点，他不需要招揽生意，国家就是他最大的顾客。时间1分1秒的过去，封存室里只有他喝水和泡腾片溶解的声音，观察室里乱成一团。江峰虽然听不见，但能看到那些专家教授脸上的表情，从震惊到争论，最后归于一种复杂的沉默。2分50秒，钱里办公室的电话响起，他一把抓起话筒，听着电话里的汇报，他握着话筒的手收紧，关节发白。他挂断电话，走到观察窗前，拿起对讲麦克风，他的手在抖。江先生，他清了清嗓子，想让声音平稳。核实了，张远，籍冠豫省周口市，下属张庄村，21年前，时年7岁，于村口淮河故道支流溺水，昏迷超过5分钟，被同村村民救起，抢救3小时后才脱离生命危险。钱里的每个字都让观察室里的人说不出话。孙教授身体晃了一下，靠在墙壁上，嘴里喃喃着：“不可能，这不可能。”他一直以来相信的东西，此刻出现了裂痕。江峰对这个结果并不意外，他拧上保温杯盖子，站起身，活动了一下坐麻的腿脚。他对着麦克风语气懒散：“好了，别浪费时间了。”他指了指合金门的方向。下一个，第45章，这不是解密，是心理疏导。这次进来的不是被搀扶的，而是被2个安保人员用束缚带捆在移动担架床上推进来的。那是个女人，30出头，穿着同样的病号服，她的头发凌乱，脸上有几道自己抓出的血痕。她没有张远的呆滞，而是在挣扎，喉咙里发出低沉的吼叫，身体在束缚带下扭动，发出砰砰的闷响。放开我，烧掉，全都烧掉！她喊叫着，声音尖利，透着恐惧。火，有火！观察室里，孙教授捏紧了手里的笔。相比于张远的安静崩溃，眼前这个女研究员李慧的狂躁情况棘手得多。她的情况最严重。钱里的声音从对讲机里传来，很是疲惫。3天前，她在整理扫描图的时候突然发病，试图用打火机点燃所有资料。如果不是发现及时，整个基地的核心数据都会被付之一炬。江峰没说话，只是看着那个在担架床上用力挣扎的女人。系统面板在眼前浮现，姓名李慧，状态信息污染重度，已与火灾创伤深度绑定，又是创伤触发器。安保人员将担架床固定在房间中央，然后推到墙角，姿态戒备。李慧的脑袋疯狂地转动，扫看房间里的每个角落，最后停在江峰身上。是你身上也有，烧掉你！他嘶吼着，挣扎得更厉害了，固定床的金属支架都在晃动。江峰转过身，背对着李慧，面向那面单响玻璃。他知道观察室里的人都在看着。孙教授，江峰开口：“你现在去找一篇小学课文。”观察室里的人都愣住了。小学课文？孙教授皱着眉，通过麦克风问：“什么课文？”江峰的语气平淡：“王二小。”这3个字一出，整个观察室鸦雀无声。一群国内顶尖的科学家、考古学家、心理学家，在国家最机密的地下基地里，被一个玄学顾问要求去找一篇几10年前的小学英雄故事。江顾问，现在不是开玩笑的时候。孙教授的声音里压着火气：“我没开玩笑。”江峰转过头，瞥了一眼还在嘶吼的李慧，他脑子里现在是一片火海。你跟他讲科学、讲道理，等于往火里浇油。你得用一个更强大的、更底层的、植根于他童年认知里的概念去覆盖那场火。江峰伸出一根手指，对他这一代人来说，在小学课堂上建立起来的那种对英雄最朴素的崇拜和安全感，就是最好的灭火器。这套理论让观察室里的人面面相觑。用童年记忆覆盖创伤记忆，听起来有那么点心理学的影子，但操作方式也太离谱了。找不到课文，找个会背的人也行。江峰补充：“找个声音洪亮、吐字清晰的男同志，对着麦克风把这篇课文给我从头到尾朗诵一遍。记住，要有感情。”钱里没有犹豫，他看了一眼还在发作的李慧，又看了一眼监控屏幕里江峰的背影，他不再犹豫，照他说的做。钱里对着身旁的副组长周明下令：“马上去办，用最快的速度。”周明点点头，转身快步离开了观察室。封存室里，李慧的嘶吼还在继续，江峰就那么背对着他站着不动，在等待。大约2分钟后，一个有些紧张但努力保持沉稳的男生通过封存室的广播系统响了起来：“牛儿还在山坡吃草，放牛的却不知哪去了。”声音响起时，李慧的挣扎停顿了一下。不是他，还能是谁？就是那从小看我长大的王二小。朗诵的声音继续，带着一种属于那个年代特有的朴实力量。李慧脸上的疯狂慢慢褪去，换上了一副茫然的神情。她通红的眼睛映出天花板上冰冷的灯光。江峰依旧背对着她，他的右手食指又一次在身侧的空气中轻轻敲击。读读读读，他在同步广播里朗诵的节奏。叮，频率同步完成，正在接入目标里会潜意识信息流。解析开始。信息污染源样本001，先秦竹简。污染模式潜意识共振放大，正在解码异常波段。 紧接着，火光与灼痛感涌入江峰的脑海。一个陈旧的筒子楼，狭窄的楼道里堆满了杂物，浓烟滚滚，呛得人无法呼吸。一个小女孩5、6岁被反锁在家里，窗户被防盗网封死。她惊恐地拍着门，哭喊着妈妈。外面是消防员破门的巨响和邻居的尖叫，火焰从门缝里舔了进来，烧着了她的裤脚。敌人把二小从山顶上扔了下来，我们的英雄王二小就这样被敌人残忍地杀害了。广播里，朗诵者用沉痛的语气读完了最后一个字，封存室里恢复了安静。担架床上，李慧不再嘶吼，也不再挣扎，她一动不动地躺着，眼角滑下2行眼泪，嘴里无意识地呢喃着：“二小哥，哥。”江峰转过身，他走到担架床边，俯下身看着这个被童年噩梦困住的女人，他伸出手，隔着空气拂过她的额头。火灭了，江峰轻声说：“你安全了。”李慧闭上了眼睛，呼吸变得均匀，沉沉睡去。观察室里没人出声，所有人都看着监控屏幕，看着那个被他们认为是疯子的女研究员，此刻安静地睡着了。孙教授扶着桌子边缘，身体轻微发抖。他研究了一辈子看得见摸得着的文物，相信的是碳14和地质分层。可今天发生的一切，把他几10年来建立的科学信仰砸得粉碎。这不是科学，这是神学。叮，有效算卦次数23。江峰直起身，对着墙角的安保人员摆了摆手：“带他下去吧。找个女护工给他擦擦脸，换身干净衣服，让他睡，什么时候睡醒了，什么时候就好了。”2个安保人员回过神来，连忙上前解开担架床的固定锁，小心翼翼地推了出去。合金门再次合上，江峰走回自己的小马扎旁坐下，他拿起保温杯，拧开盖子，喝了一口已经没什么气的泡腾水。他抬头看向那面看不见的玻璃墙，钱顾问：“我在。”钱里的声音从广播里传来，声音发颤：“现在我们可以聊聊这东西到底是什么了。”江峰指了指桌上那个被层层保护的金属箱，他站起身走到箱子前。这东西不是什么精神病毒，也不是什么超自然力量。江峰的语气很平实，它更像一面镜子，或者说一个搜索引擎。观察室里所有人都屏住了呼吸，竖起耳朵。它不产生任何东西，它只是检索。它会扫描每一个靠近它的人类大脑，检索你们记忆库里最深刻、最脆弱、最恐惧的那部分记忆。张远的溺水，李慧的火灾，江峰的手指在防爆玻璃罩上轻轻划过，他找到这些记忆碎片，然后用一种我们目前无法理解的技术把它放大，再用单曲循环的模式直接在你们的潜意识里播放。所以你们的队员不是疯了，他们只是被强行按在了一台 VR 设备前，没日没夜的一遍又一遍地重温自己人生中最恐怖的电影，一遍又一遍，直到精神崩溃，主板烧毁。搜索引擎，单曲循环 VR 设备。心理学副组长周明一拍大腿：“我明白了，这是一种基于记忆唤醒的强制性心理暗示，它的信息波可能直接作用于大脑的杏仁核和海马体。”孙教授也像是找到了合理的解释，他扶了扶眼镜，拿起一支笔，在一个全新的笔记本上写下了一行标题：关于信息污染的唯象理论与临床干预初步研究报告。在标题下方，他犹豫了一下，还是一笔一画的在课题顾问那一栏写上了江峰2个字。写完，他抬起头，通过麦克风用请教的口吻询问江顾问：“那最后一个呢？我们还有一个病人，刘教授，他的症状很奇怪，不哭不闹，也不疯不叫。”孙教授的声音里带着恳求：“他就是笑，从发病开始就一直坐在那里笑，谁跟他说话他都笑，我们给他打镇定剂，他还是笑。”江峰抬了抬下巴：“笑，带上来吧。”江峰重新坐回他的小马扎，语气恢复了之前的懒散：“正好今天3卦还没凑齐，抓紧时间，我还等着下班吃午饭呢。第46章，大师。”他笑得我心里发毛。合金门再次无声地划开，这一次没有束缚带，也没有人搀扶，一个男人自己走了进来。他50多岁，头发稀疏，戴着厚底眼镜，穿着合身的病号服，样子斯文，脸上挂着笑，那笑容裂开，从左嘴角一直到右耳根，露出2排烟熏黄牙。他的双眼空洞，没有焦距，直直地盯着前方。他就这么笑着，一步步走到房间中央，在江峰对面的凳子上坐下。他坐姿端正，双手放在膝盖上，然后他抬头看着江峰，继续笑。整个过程无声无息。封存室里一片沉闷，观察室里钱里的喉结滚动了一下。孙教授下意识推了推眼镜，后背有些发凉。前2个病人，一个痴傻，一个狂躁，还在情绪的范畴内。眼前这个举止不像病人，反而更接近一个出了故障的机械。江峰看着眼前的笑面人，心头冒出一个念头：前2个是系统死机和硬件过热，这最后一个是中了病毒变成了微笑小丑。姓名刘建军，状态信息污染，重度已与病态补偿心理深度绑定，深层映射，永恒的遗憾，无法终止的道歉。江峰的目光从系统面板上移开，重新落回刘教授那张笑脸上，牙根有些发酸。孙教授的声音通过广播响起，音调里有压不住的颤抖。他就是刘建军，刘教授，我们的首席古文字专家，也是第一个直接接触竹简的人。他发病3天了，不吃不喝，不睡不眠，就是这么坐着笑。我们给他注射了最大剂量的镇定剂，一点用都没有。江峰没理会广播，他站起身，绕着自己的小马扎走了2步，然后走到刘教授面前。他蹲下身与刘教授平视，然后他问了一个和竹简、考古、精神污染都毫不相干的问题。刘教授，江峰轻声问：30年前盛夏，你是不是丢过一个刚满5岁的女儿？观察室里所有人的动作都停住了，钱里张着嘴，忘了要说什么。孙教授猛地抬起头，满脸惊愕，话题怎么会跳到这里？一个30年前的家庭悲剧跟眼前的现象有什么关系？他下意识想开口反驳，却被身旁的钱里一个手势制止。 钱里什么都没说，只是注视着监控屏幕里那个蹲在地上的年轻人，直觉告诉他关键的部分要来了。封存室里，江峰的话音落下，刘教授毫无反应。刘教授依旧在笑，那笑容的弧度没有变化，固定在脸上。江峰就这么蹲着看着他，也不说话。就在观察室里，所有人都以为江峰这次算错了的时候，变化发生了。刘教授脸上的笑容，那道咧到耳根的弧线开始轻微地不规律地抖动起来，紧接着那笑容凝固了，它没有消失，只是僵在脸上，然后开始变形。刘教授脸部的肌肉不受控制的剧烈抽搐，他想维持那个笑的表情，可身体背叛了他，那笑容扭曲成一个古怪的表情，两行浑浊的黄泪从他空洞的眼眶里涌出，顺着脸上纵横的皱纹滑落。南，一个沙哑破碎的音节从他干裂的嘴唇里挤出。南，他想说那个名字，但声带许久未用，发音困难。南，终于一个完整的词伴随着泪水从他的喉咙深处吼了出来，那嘶吼不似人声，充满了压抑多年的痛苦。观察室里，所有人都站了起来，他们隔着防弹玻璃看着那个斯文儒雅的老教授，此刻正嚎啕大哭，哭声通过麦克风传过来，让每个人的心都揪紧了。江峰站起身，退后2步，给这个压抑了30年的人留出宣泄的空间。他开口，语气平直，只是在陈述事实，逐渐放大了他内心最深的遗憾。30年前，他是国内顶尖的青年学者，被一个重要的海外项目绊住，脱不开身，而他唯一的女儿突发急性脑膜炎，被送进医院抢救。等他坐最快的飞机赶回来，只看到了医院太平间里那具小小的身体。观察室里，心理学专家周明摘下眼镜，用力揉着太阳穴。他想起了什么，快步冲到一台电脑前，双手在键盘上敲击，调出了刘建军教授的个人档案。婚姻状况那一栏写着离异，子女状况是无。江峰的话还在继续，他错过了女儿最后的救治时间，他一生都活在愧疚和自责里，他觉得是他的研究杀死了他的女儿，他唯一的自我安慰就是一种病态的臆想。江峰看着那个哭到浑身抽搐的老人，他一遍一遍地告诉自己，女儿最喜欢看他笑，如果他当初在医院不是哭而是在笑，他的女儿看到也许就会开心，就会醒过来。这个念头成了他余生唯一的精神支柱。江峰转过头看向那面单向玻璃，仿佛在跟孙教授他们对话，而那个竹简，那个所谓的信息污染源，他扫描到了这个病态的执念，然后他把这份自我安慰扭曲成了一个无限循环的不可违抗的电脑指令。江峰的语气里没有同情，只有一种技术人员拆解代码的分析，所以他不是在笑，他是在用余下的生命对他那个再也回不来的女儿进行一场长达30年永不间断的无声道歉。竹简只是按下了那个循环播放键。观察室里一片安静，孙教授手里的笔杆被他无意识的捏得咯吱作响。周明看着电脑屏幕上刘教授的档案，又看看监控里那个痛哭失声的老人，感觉自己几十年的心理学知识在这一刻派不上用场。钱理闭上眼睛，长长的叹了一口气。他们一直以为面对的是未知的敌人，到头来只是一个人的伤口。封存室里，刘教授的哭声减小，变成了低低的抽泣。他趴在地上，像个迷路的孩子。江峰对着墙角的2个安保人员摆了摆手，那2个身材高大的汉子眼眶通红。他们走上前，没有用粗暴的动作，而是小心翼翼地将刘教授从地上扶了起来，带他去休息吧。江峰开口，找个心理医生陪着他，什么都不用说，让他哭出来就好了。2个安保人员点点头，搀扶着还在抽泣的刘教授，一步步走出了封存室。合金门缓缓合上，整个房间又只剩下江峰和那个装着竹简的金属箱。叮，有效算卦次数33。叮，3卦任务完成。江峰伸了个懒腰，骨头发出一阵噼里啪啦的声响。他走到小马扎旁，把它折叠起来，夹在腋下。然后他拿起自己的保温杯，拧开盖子，将里面剩下的泡腾水一饮而尽。他抬头对着观察窗的方向扬了扬手里的空杯子。行了，收工。他的声音通过麦克风传出去，带着一种下班打卡的轻松。前顾问、孙教授、各位专家，午饭时间到了。江峰把保温杯揣回自己的帆布包里，环视了一圈这个合金房间。午饭我要吃红烧肉，多加点冰糖，再来个拍黄瓜，要多放蒜。观察室里，一群国内顶尖的科学家、考古学家、心理学家看着监控屏幕里那个提着小马扎、背着帆布包开始点菜的年轻人，集体失语。江峰抬手敲了敲那扇合金门，他的脸上是朴实无华的对午饭的期待。第47章，这个奖励有点硬核。江峰现在只想吃午饭。门外，钱理和孙教授站得笔直，看到江峰出来，两人都松了口气。江顾问，这边请。钱理的姿态放得很低，侧身引路。基地食堂的小包间里，桌上摆着4菜1汤，一盘红烧肉在正中间。江峰没客气，坐下就抄起筷子。老陈在他身边盛饭倒水。江峰夹起一块最大的红烧肉塞进嘴里，满足的眯起眼。就在这时，脑海里机械音响起，叮，3卦任务完成，正在结算奖励。江峰嚼肉的动作一顿，可算来了，再不来饭都消化完了。他一边吃一边分神看着眼前的虚拟面板。恭喜宿主，脑癌细胞活性降低 15%， 剩余寿命增加90天。恭喜宿主获得现金奖励500万，命长了钱多了，常规操作。叮， 检测到宿主行为对国家级项目产生重大积极影响，任务评价提升，额外奖励发放中。江峰的筷子停在半空，又有额外奖励，恭喜宿主获得新能力因果世界。他差点被一口肉噎住，他放下筷子，端起水杯喝了一口水。面板上新能力的介绍浮现出来，因果世界脱离任务限制，宿主每日可主动使用一次，使用后可通过触碰特定物品观测到与该物品相关的能量最强的一段因果片段。注：该能力极耗精神，请谨慎使用。江峰飞快地扫过介绍，脱离任务限制，主动使用，触碰物品，这意味着他终于有了一点主动出击的能力。他不再是那个只能被动等待系统派单，在指定时间、指定地点用指定方式算命的木偶了。他有了一张可以自己决定何时打出的底牌。他心里翻江倒海，脸上却没露出什么表情。他重新拿起筷子，又夹了一块红烧肉，慢条斯理地吃着。这能力有点意思。包间的门被轻轻敲了2下，钱理和孙教授端着餐盘，姿态拘谨地站在门口。他们的餐盘里只有馒头和一碗白菜。江顾问，我们不打扰您用餐吧？钱理试探着问。江峰抬了抬眼皮，用下巴指了指对面的空位，坐。钱理和孙教授对视一眼，如蒙大赦，拉开椅子坐下。两人坐姿端正，双手放在膝盖上。孙教授看着江峰吃得满嘴是油的样子，几次张口想问什么，又咽了回去。最后他还是没忍住。江顾问，您辛苦了。他亲自拿起桌上的水壶，给江峰的杯子续满。关于那竹简，我们想……江峰抬起筷子打断了他。吃饭的时候不谈工作。他的筷子头点了点桌上的那盘红烧肉，这是规矩。孙教授被噎得满脸通红，后面的话全堵在了喉咙里。坐下。江峰又重复了一遍。钱理和孙教授只好苦笑着坐下，手里捧着自己的餐盘，看着江峰大快朵颐。江峰又吃了一块肉，咂了咂嘴。你们食堂这红烧肉不错，他评价道，就是冰糖放少了点，下次让厨子多放2块。钱理和孙教授愣住了，他们准备了一肚子的问题，关于信息污染，关于记忆唤醒，关于那3个研究员的后续治疗方案。结果这位江顾问跟他们聊起了红烧肉的甜咸。孙教授是个做学问的老实人，下意识就接了话。江顾问，红烧肉正宗的做法应该是咸鲜口的，用酱油提味，冰糖只是用来上色和中和咸度。停！江峰又一次打断他。孙教授，你是考古专家，不是美食家。江峰用筷子点了点他，我喜欢吃甜的。孙教授的脸更红了，张着嘴不知道该怎么接。一旁的钱理赶紧出来打圆场。对，江顾问说的对，我这就去跟后厨说，以后给江顾问开的小灶都多放糖。江顾问喜欢吃甜的，他喜欢。钱理在心里把这句话重复了3遍。一顿饭就在这种古怪的氛围里吃完了。江峰吃得心满意足，钱理和孙教授吃得食不知味。饭后，江峰被一群专家簇拥着回到了那间合金封存室。他走在最中间，双手插在运动裤的口袋里，姿态悠闲。钱理和孙教授一左一右，落后他半步，身后还跟着7、8个各个领域的专家学者。这些人对江峰的态度已经从早上的审视和怀疑变成了敬畏。合金门划开，房间中央那个罩着防爆玻璃罩的金属箱依旧静静地摆放在那里。所有人都停在门口，只有江峰一个人走了进去。孙教授站在门口，扶了扶眼镜，紧盯着江峰的背影。江顾问，他终于问出了那个憋了一中午的问题。现在您能直接读一下这东西了吗？他指着那个金属箱，不需要通过病人作为媒介，直接读取。观察室里所有人都通过单向玻璃盯着江峰，所有人都屏住了呼吸。江峰站在金属箱前，看着里面那些黑色的竹简，扭曲的符号在他视野里泛着不祥的黑气。他摸了摸下巴，正好试试新到手的能力。他转过身，对门口的孙教授和钱理勾了勾手指，你们俩进来。两人一愣，随即快步走了进去。江顾问有什么吩咐？江峰指着那个玻璃罩子，我想摸摸它。孙教授和钱理都变了脸色。不行！孙教授失口喊道。江顾问，这绝对不行！刘教授就是第一个直接接触竹简的，他的情况你也看到了。钱理也一脸凝重。江先生，我们不能拿您的安全冒险。江峰看着他们紧张的样子，笑了。你们是不是搞错了什么？他伸出一根手指，摇了摇。现在是我在给你们解决问题，你们的选项只有2个，要么听我的，要么我撂挑子走人。你们自己抱着这堆破竹子研究到天荒地老。他的语气很平淡，但话里的意思让2个加起来快150岁的老人说不出话。孙教授的嘴唇翕动，还想争辩，江峰没给他机会，他缓缓伸出手，伸向那个防爆玻璃罩。孙教授下意识想上前阻止，江峰的手停在离玻璃罩只有1公分的地方，他没碰，他的手指在空气中停住，然后抬头看向钱理。我的规矩是必须直接接触到物品本身。他嘴快说错了半句，又不动声色地圆了回来。隔着这层玻璃跟戴着手套挠痒一样，没用。钱理和孙教授面面相觑，还有这种规矩？打开它！江峰的语气不容商量。钱理的额头上渗出细汗，这道命令他不敢下，一旦出事，这个责任他担不起。江峰看出了他的犹豫，收回手插回裤兜里。算了，他转身就走。看来你们还没准备好，等你们什么时候想明白了，再来找我吧。他溜达到门口，做事要出去。等等！钱理急了，他快步冲到江峰面前，拦住了他。这位在外面跺跺脚都能让一方震动的老人，此刻脸上带着恳求。江先生，不是我们不相信你，他压低声音，实在是这东西的危险性超出了我们的认知，我们必须制定万无一失的方案。江峰看着他，突然笑了。钱顾问，你觉得这世界上有万无一失的事情吗？他拍了拍钱理的肩膀，我就是你们最大的那个万一。说完，他绕过钱理，继续往外走。老陈已经等在门口，见江峰出来，默契地跟上。江顾问，孙教授也急了，他追了出来。您别走， 有话好商量。江峰停下脚步，回头看着他们，没什么好商量的。他的目光扫过那群专家，最后落在钱理脸上。要么现在打开，他伸出手指点了点自己的太阳穴，我进去用我的方法给你们一个答案；要么你们继续用你们的方法开会、研究、写报告，等到你们下一个专家疯了再来请我。他笑了笑，不过下次出诊价格可就要翻倍了。没人说话了。钱理站在原地，脸上阴晴不定，一边是无法估量的风险，另一边是近在咫尺的真相。足足过了1分钟，钱理才从牙缝里挤出2个字：开箱。第48章，别问，问就是天机不可泄露。孙教授的脸色白了，他想阻止，却一个字也说不出来。命令已经下达，一名穿着白色无菌服的技术人员走上前，他用掌纹扫描，移贴在金属箱的生物识别模块上。滴，身份验证通过。他又取出一根细长的金属探针，伸进密码锁孔，快速拨动，咔咔嗒。锁芯内部传来机括转动的声音，在场的所有专家都停止了呼吸，眼睛盯着那只箱子。江峰站在那里，双手依旧插在裤兜里。老陈在他身后半步远的位置，身体紧绷，一只手摸向了自己战术背包侧面的工兵铲。咔嗒，最后一声响，锁解开了。技术人员退后2步，对着观察室的方向点了点头。钱理对着麦克风下令开。技术人员上前，双手搭在箱子的锁扣上，向上一掀，嗤，一股白色的冷气从箱子缝隙里喷出，箱盖被完全打开，几十片暗灰黑色的竹简静静地躺在深蓝色的丝绒衬垫上。房间里很安静，什么都没发生。孙教授提着的心放下了一半。江峰动了，他从裤兜里抽出手，走向那个敞开的金属箱。江顾问，孙教授喊了一声，江峰没理他。他走到箱子前，低头看着那些竹简，那些扭曲盘绕的符号在他眼中泛着微光。他伸出手，别。钱理的声音从广播里传来，带着颤音。江峰的手指没有停顿，直接落在了最中间的一片竹简上。他闭上了眼睛，在心里默念：使用因果世界。嗡！他的身体晃了晃，向后踉跄退了一大步，脸色变得苍白，额头上渗出冷汗。刚才那几秒，他看到了一段破碎的画面：一个由青铜铸造的巨大祭坛立在昏黄的天空下，祭坛下方跪满了穿着麻衣的人，口中发出意义不明的嗡鸣。祭坛中央，一个戴着青铜面具的祭司正高举双手，他的身前是一尊燃烧着幽绿色火焰的方鼎。祭司拿起一片片黑色的竹简投入鼎中，竹简处碰到火焰没有燃烧，反而发出更深沉的暗光。画面到此中断。江先生，老陈一个箭步上前，从侧面稳稳扶住了他。老板，老陈的声音里带着担忧。观察室里乱成一团，快，医护组准备急救。钱理对着麦克风大吼：江顾问，您看到了什么？您感觉怎么样？孙教授也急了，对着广播连声追问。合金门被紧急打开，2个穿着白大褂的医生提着急救箱冲了进来。出去！江峰靠在老陈身上，喘着粗气，对着那2个医生低吼。2个医生愣在原地，不知所措地看向观察室。江峰推开老陈的手，自己站稳。他抬起头，看向那个敞开的箱子，然后晃了晃脑袋，走到自己的小马扎旁坐下。这个动作让所有人的心都跟着提了起来。观察室里，钱理看到他还能自己行动，稍稍松了口气。江顾问，您的身体死不了。江峰摆了摆手，打断他。他抬起头，目光扫过观察室那面单向玻璃，声音有些沙哑：我看到的不是文字。所有专家都竖起了耳朵。江峰停顿了一下，像是在组织语言。是一场祭祀。祭祀？孙教授愣住了。江峰伸手指着那个金属箱，语气沉重：这东西不是用来记录的，是用来镇压的。镇压？心理学专家周明喃喃自语：镇压？镇压什么？一种思想，一种魔音。孙教授的呼吸急促起来，他想到了中国古代方术中的各种阵物、符咒。江峰的话还在继续：你们把他从古墓里挖出来，就等于拔掉了镇压那个瓶子的瓶塞。他抬眼看着观察室的方向，所以他不是在对你们释放什么信息病毒，他是在呼救，或者说，江峰的声音压得更低，他是在召唤某个我们所有人都惹不起的东西。召唤。如果说镇压只是让他们感到震惊，那么召唤这个词则带来了含义。观察室里一片安静。孙教授身体晃了晃，感觉一阵天旋地转，被身旁的研究员扶住。镇压，召唤，他嘴唇哆嗦着。那他在召唤什么？被他镇压的又是什么？这个问题问出了所有人的心声。他们都看向监控屏幕里的江峰，眼神里充满了恐惧。江峰看着他们那副样子，心里琢磨怎么说，总不能告诉他们自己看到一个戴着面具的人在往一个烧着绿火的炉子里扔木头片。江峰清了清嗓子，摆出一副极度疲惫的模样，他有气无力地摆了摆手：天机不可泄露。他叹了口气：今天就到这吧，我累了。他扶着自己的膝盖，慢吞吞地站起身。这东西邪门得很，能量太大，不能硬来，给我时间缓缓。说完，他冲着门口的老陈招了招手。老陈立刻上前，再次稳稳地扶住他。江峰把大半个身体的重量都压在老陈身上，拖着脚步向外走去。钱理和孙教授带着一群专家快步从观察室里冲出来，在门口排成一排，对着江峰的背影郑重地鞠了一躬。江顾问辛苦了。声音整齐划一。江峰脚步顿了一下，头也没回，只是无力地挥了挥手，然后继续往前走，直到走廊拐角彻底消失在众人的视线里。封存室门口，一群顶尖专家对着那个空荡荡的金属箱如临大敌，立刻封锁现场，启动最高级别的物理隔离。钱理的声音都在发抖。还有，孙教授补充道，把我们之前所有的研究报告全部推翻重写，研究方向就从镇压与召唤的符号学意义开始。另一边，走廊尽头， 江峰一离开那些专家的视线，立刻就直起了身子。他拍了拍老陈的胳膊，行了行了，别扶了，我还没那么虚。老陈松开手，看着江峰恢复正常的脸色，有些不放心。老板，你刚才的样子吓死我了，演戏懂不懂？江峰白了他一眼，我要是不表现得惨一点，怎么体现出我工作的危险性和重要性？怎么好意思让他们加钱？老陈张了张嘴，没说出话来。江峰没再理他，一边走一边揉着自己的太阳穴。这新能力用着是方便，就是这后劲真够大的。第49章，在国家基地里当咸鱼的日常。3天后，西北73号研究基地特别顾问休息室，房间里恒温恒湿，一张2米宽的大床摆在正中，床的对面一台最新款的外星人电脑摆在特制的升降桌上，旁边还专门拉了一根军用级别的光纤网线。江峰盘腿坐在电竞椅上，戴着降噪耳机，电脑屏幕上一辆黄色的重型卡车正以180码的速度从悬崖上飞驰而下，伴随着一连串的翻滚和爆炸，屏幕上弹出一行红色的字：任务失败。江峰摘下耳机，端起手边的可乐喝了一口，拿国家的钱，用国家的网打资本家的游戏，他打了个嗝，这日子不错。自从3天前那次强行通灵后，他就以元气大伤，需要静养为由，开始了在基地里的咸鱼生活。每天睡到自然醒，3餐由专人送到门口，闲了就打开电脑，在虚拟世界里送快递。基地里的人，从钱里到孙教授，再到普通的研究员和士兵，都默契的不来打扰他静养。在他们看来，这位江顾问每一次闭眼，都是在另一个战场上，与那些来自远古的力量进行着搏斗。只有老陈知道，他家老板只是在打游戏。休息室的门外，孙教授和心理学副组长周明，一人手里端着一盘切好的哈密瓜，一人捧着一摞打印出来的报告，在门口徘徊。两人已经在这里站了快10分钟了。孙老，周明压低声音，指了指门缝里透出的彩色光影。江顾问这都静养3天了，我听老陈说，他那游戏都快通关了，咱们那个课题。孙教授瞪了他一眼，用更低的声音斥道：“你懂什么？”他把手里的报告抱得更紧了。高人行事，岂容我等揣度？你以为那是在打游戏？我告诉你，那是在修行。孙教授一脸肃穆，开始了自己的分析。我查阅了大量道家的典籍，这叫持域，是在通过一种高速的信息交互，调整自身的频率，以对抗那竹简带来的信息污染。周明张了张嘴，他一个认知心理学专家，居然被一个考古学教授用玄学理论上了一课。而且孙教授继续道：“你没发现吗？江顾问选择的这款游戏核心是链接与建立，他在用这种方式对抗竹简代表的断裂与混乱，这是在用现代科技的理去中和远古巫术的乱。”周明听得愣住了，原来是这样吗？他看着那扇紧闭的门，眼神里多了几分思索。就在两人准备鼓起勇气敲门时，房间里传出一个懒洋洋的声音：“门外的朋友是为艺术模型的熵增难题而来吧？进来吧。”门外的孙教授和周明身体同时僵住，两人对视一眼，彼此的眼神里全是骇然。他们今天确实是为了一套模拟竹简信息扩散的数学模型而来。那个模型在计算过程中出现了无法解释的熵增现象，导致整个课题组停滞不前。他们还没敲门，一个字都没说。他怎么知道的？孙教授手一抖，差点把手里的报告扔在地上。周明扶了扶眼镜，深呼吸。孙老，江顾问他神人，当真是神人。孙教授喃喃自语，推了推周明，快进去。两人怀着异样的心情，轻轻推开了那扇门。房间里，江峰已经暂停了游戏，他转动电竞椅，面向门口，一手搭在扶手上，一手端着保温杯，姿态慵懒。坐。他用下巴指了指房间角落的沙发。孙教授和周明不敢坐，两人走到办公桌前，将手里的水果和报告放在桌角。江顾问，我们是来向您请教的。孙教授弯着腰，语气谦卑。江峰的目光落在电脑屏幕上，屏幕上是他的卡车坠毁在山谷里的画面，无数快递箱子散落一地。他指着那个画面，没头没脑地问了一句：“你们看，这像什么？”孙教授和周明都凑了过去，看着屏幕上的游戏残骸，一脸不解。这不就是游戏输了吗？江峰没等他们回答，自己解释起来。你看，这就像你们那个模型。他的手指在屏幕上划过，这些散落的箱子就是你们想要破解的信息，卡车就是你们建立的解码路径。他指着那个熊熊燃烧的卡车残骸，货物的总量是恒定的，但你们选择了一条错误的运输路径，强行要让一辆载重10吨的卡车去走一条只能让自行车通过的小路。孙教授和周明听得入了神，不自觉地跟着他的思路走。结果呢？江峰靠回椅背，喝了口水。结果就是系统崩溃，路径被毁，货物散落一地，最终什么都得不到。他下了结论：一地鸡毛。这番用游戏里的现象做的比喻，让两位专家脑中的迷雾散开了。周明猛地一拍大腿，眼镜都差点飞出去。我明白了。他激动的脸都红了。江顾问，您的意思是我们从一开始就错了？他指着那堆报告，声音都在抖。我们一直在试图去解码，去翻译那些竹简上的符号。我们默认了它是一种可以被理解的信息。但如果……周明的声音拔高，如果那些符号本身就是一种无法被解码的乱码呢？如果它的存在，其目的就不是为了传递信息，而是为了让任何试图解读它的系统强制过载呢？孙教授也被点醒了，他扶着桌子，嘴唇哆嗦。对，镇压。召唤，它的功能不是记录，是作为一种工具，就像一把锁。我们不应该去研究锁芯的构造，而是应该研究它锁住了什么，以及它在被强行破坏时会触发什么样的警报。 2位国内顶尖的专家在江峰的游戏机前，因为一个送快递的游戏找到了全新的研究方向。多谢江顾问指点。孙教授对着江峰深深的鞠了一躬，我们茅塞顿开。周明也跟着鞠躬，激动的说不出话。我们这就去组织会议，立刻调整研究方向。2人拿着江峰那个游戏启示，也顾不上桌上的报告和水果了，转身就往外跑。江峰看着他们火急火燎的离开，耸了耸肩。他重新戴上降噪耳机，嘴里小声嘀咕：哎，带这帮学霸也太累了，脑子太好使，就是容易想太多，还得陪他们玩角色扮演。第50章，我不是算命，是学术指导。江峰摇了摇头，转过椅子，重新面向电脑屏幕。屏幕上依旧是那片狼级的坠毁现场和那行任务失败。他拿起鼠标，准备点下了屏幕下方的那个重新再入存档点的选项。但与此同时，身后会议室的大门被推开，江顾问汇报会要开始了。周明探进半个头，语气带着催促。江峰退出游戏，伸了个懒腰，跟着他走向基地最大的会议室。会议室里坐满了人，孙教授站在讲台上，正对着投影幕布讲解。PPT 的扉页上，特别顾问江峰几个大字用加粗的黑体放在最显眼的位置。孙教授的声音都有些变调，语速飞快。根据江顾问提出的过载效应理论，我们摒弃了传统的解码思路，将竹简本身视为一种具备功能性的远古工具。它的作用就是强制性唤醒并放大特定个体的深层创伤记忆，从而达到一种精神层面的攻击效果。台下一片赞同的点头和低声讨论。江峰坐在第一排的正中央，百无聊赖地打了个哈欠。这帮科学家的效率还是太慢了，一个竹简研究了这么多天，还停留在理论阶段。他看着台下一个个愁眉苦脸、头发稀疏的研究员，心里冒出一个念头：一个一个来多麻烦，干脆搞个团建集体辅导算了。冗长的会议终于结束，灯光亮起，钱理快步走到江峰身边，神色忧虑。江顾问，他压低声音，虽然有了新方向，但下面各个子课题的研究员都遇到了瓶颈。搞材料的分析不出竹简的材质，搞信号的捕捉不到稳定的异常波，搞历史的找不到任何相关的文献记载。钱理叹了口气，整个项目进度依然很缓慢，大家都很焦虑。江峰听着一拍大腿，这好办啊！钱理一愣，看向他。江峰站起身，活动了一下坐麻的筋骨。你把他们都叫到那个放竹简的屋里去，我给他们搞个学术1对1的辅导。钱理的脑子没转过来，您的意思是？江峰背着手踱了2步，摆出一副高深莫测的姿态。我不能直接读竹简，但我可以读想读懂竹简的人啊。他这话一半是忽悠，一半是试探。他想看看系统是不是真的可以被他这样主动引导。话音刚落，嗡，只有他能看见的虚拟面板在眼前展开，熟悉的机械音在脑海中响起。新任务发布，地点西北73号研究基地主实验室，时间每日14点17点，方式文网卜卦，领域科研瓶颈，目标为3位研究员指点迷津。成了。江峰心里一乐，他再次验证了自己的猜想，他真的可以主动诱导任务，他不再是那个只能被动接受的打工仔，他已经成了可以主动选择战场，甚至影响任务内容的项目合伙人。钱理还沉浸在江峰那句读人的话里，试图用他贫瘠的玄学知识去理解。江峰咧嘴一笑，他煞有介事地抬起手，屈起手指，飞快地掐动了几下，然后他闭上眼，眉头时而舒展，时而拧起，嘴里念念有词。钱理大气都不敢出，紧张地看着他。几秒后，江峰睁开眼，长出了一口气。他看着钱理，声音里带着一股装出来的疲惫。钱顾问，我刚才心血来潮，掐指一算，今天下午2点到5点是及时最宜解惑。钱理浑身一震，这种我刚说完就掐指一算的无缝衔接，而且算出的结果正好就是为他解决眼下难题的方案。这是什么？这是天意。在他眼中，江顾问的形象愈发神秘，愈发深不可测。您放心，钱理腰杆挺得笔直，对着江峰保证，我马上去安排。他甚至没问江峰具体要怎么辅导，直接转身就走。在他看来，神人办事，凡人只需要听从安排，然后等着见证奇迹。不到10分钟，江顾问要开坛讲法的消息迅速传遍了整个基地。听说了吗？江顾问要亲自下场指导了。下午2点，主实验室，点对点解决科研瓶颈。我的妈呀！我的那个该死的非线性动力学模型有救了！别急，人事处正在发号，按课题组优先级排队。整个基地都沸腾了。正在对着显微镜发呆的材料学博士一把推开仪器，冲向走廊。正在为一组乱码数据抓狂的密码学专家把键盘一摔，夺门而出。正在图书馆里翻顾纸堆的历史系教授把手里的放大镜往桌上一扔，跑得比谁都快。他们纷纷放下手头的工作，争先恐后的去排队，等着接受江顾问的学术指导。老陈看着这混乱的一幕，默默走到江峰身边，低声问：老板，这阵仗您顶得住吗？江峰正在电竞椅上闭目养神，闻言眼皮都没抬。慌什么？他懒洋洋的开口，不过是换个地方上班而已。下午1点50分，基地最大的主实验室被完全清空，这里原本摆满了各种精密的仪器设备，现在都被移到了两边，中间腾出一大片空地。江峰没用他那个标志性的小马扎，而是让老陈从基地的仓库里搬来了一张不知道哪个年代的古朴书桌。桌子是老榆木的，桌面上有几道墨迹和刻痕。桌上没放电脑，没放报告，只摆着一副他从家里带来的有些磨损的龟甲和几十枚泛着暗黄色泽的铜钱。江峰换下了一身运动服，他穿着一件宽松的白色棉麻衬衫，黑色阔腿裤，脚上一双布鞋。他坐在那张书桌后面，焚上一炉从钱里那里借来的顶级沉香。